On the day of the divine blessing ceremony, no one expected the Ryan family's biggest gamble to become a disaster. Young Lucas Ryan steps up to the altar with a sword said to belong to Vulcanus, the fire god. The moment the blade touches the altar, the sky changes color and the crowd holds its breath, sure a great blessing is coming. Instead, flames erupt around Lucas. His soul is scorched, the sword burns to ash, and Lucas collapses unresponsive as Julia cries and their father begs for answers. At the same time, in another world, our boy who has already lost his father keeps getting pushed around, but he still lives for his mother and little sister. On his way home, Truk-kun hits him and he feels himself fading out. With blood on the road, he makes one last wish. If there is a next life, let him protect the people he loves with his own hands. That soul leaves his body and enters Lucas's broken one. In Vulcanus's domain, the fire god rages about the unforgivable sword, then sneers that the foreign soul is trash and not worth burning again. But in the martial god's domain, the spirits react differently. They see Lucas as their duty and fire the martial god's blessing into him like a weapon. They push it too far, granting the highest blessing and even breaking the old level limit. Lucas wakes with two lives colliding in his mind, terrified he will be cast aside as a child abandoned by the gods. Then Julia rushes in, hugs him tight, and cries that everyone said he would never wake up. Lucas pats her head, steadies his breathing, and makes a quiet vow. Since he has been given another chance, he will protect what's precious, no matter what. To do this, Lucas looks into the sky, letting the martial god know that he is counting on him for help. Meanwhile, a certain demon that was turned into a statue suddenly comes back to life after she senses that the martial god is no longer present in this world. Blood drips down her body as she tries to regain her strength, and she realizes that she has just a little power left. Nonetheless, she doesn't mind because she is pretty sure that the world belongs to her and her emissaries as long as the martial god is no longer active. 9 years later, Lucas is seen at the family's estate. He is on his way to pick up his sister from training when he is ambushed. A thorn vine suddenly grabs onto him, and he immediately figures out the only person capable of this, and that person is Jeremy. Jeremy Ryan is the Ryan family's fourth child, and he is a magic student who received a level 5 blessing, basically making him Lucas's half-brother. Even Jeremy's attendant makes fun of Lucas, talking about how he has not been kicked out of the house yet. Jeremy then tells Lucas to stop coming to the backyard, saying it is reserved for the family members who can use magic. Jeremy even threatens to break a few of his bones so he can learn not to come to the backyard again. As he tightens the vine, Lucas screams out, telling Jeremy that his sister's magic practice is finished and she will be back soon. Lucas suggests that Jeremy let him go if he doesn't want to get charred. Jeremy is scared, but at the same time he makes fun of Lucas for relying on his sister to protect him. Jeremy tries to act tough, saying he is not scared of lightning, and he hasn't finished saying this when he gets struck by lightning, causing him to scream in pain before getting knocked to the ground. His attendant screams out in panic, and just then, Julia appears in the distance. Julia holds out her magic staff, telling Jeremy that she won't hold back the next time he bullies her brother. Julia then uses her magic to strip the vines off her brother's body. While patting his sister for doing a good job, Jeremy finally manages to get back on his feet. Lucas mocks him, telling him to learn his lesson now so he doesn't suffer the same fate next time. Jeremy and his attendant then run off, but he tells Lucas that he is going to remember how he was humiliated. Lucas smiles, telling Julia that she truly held back because Jeremy still has the strength to run. After their departure, Julia asks Lucas why he didn't fight back because she knows that he can defeat Jeremy on his own. Lucas then reminds Julia that his true strength remains a secret between the two of them. In addition, he teases her sister, telling her that she will be the one to protect him, and Julia affirms this with a smile on her face. Lucas then narrates what happened the first day he woke up 9 years ago. Apparently, his father came to visit him, and even though he was already scared that he would be kicked out of the house for betraying their expectations, this wasn't the case because his father hugged him, thanking the gods that he woke up safely. It turns out that Holt leads a night order and he is always on the move, which is why he rarely gets the time to watch over the children at home. However, he is still a good father who cares deeply about his son and the others. When Holt learned that Lucas had started martial arts training, he immediately sent him a letter filled with all the information he was going to need. Holt told Lucas that there are old books about martial arts in the library, and let him know that he is rooting for him. Because of this letter, Lucas carried out a rather bold plan. Over the next 6 months, Lucas dug beneath his room, and he created a secret training ground, while the attendants were always wondering where he disappeared to. While digging the basement, everyone just assumed that someone was practicing earth magic. The basement he dug was divided into 4 areas: the study area, the training area, the storage area, and a makeshift bathroom. Because he had spent all of his money getting equipment for the other areas, Lucas could only get a bathtub for the bathroom. After he completed the training ground, he secretly devoted himself to training every single day. It turns out that he has an act of soaking himself in medicinal baths, which is considered the most efficient training method. Over the course of 3 years, he trained on a reference book called Chaos Tempering Arts that he found in the library. Thanks to this, he has gotten so strong that even level 5 magical attacks have nothing on him. He figures out that his defense has taken on a nice shape, and for his offense, Lucas decides to try out his skills. He whips out his sword, and with blinding speed, he delivers several cuts to his training dummy. He also trains with the spear, and using this, he shatters the training dummy thanks to his overpowered spear techniques. It turns out that he has reached the level of spear techniques already, and after this, he practices his fist techniques. Over the course of 9 years, he has been improving, but he has one particular concern. According to the books he has read on martial arts, when one reaches a certain level of ability, one is said to hit a ceiling, and the only way to break through this limitation is to gain enlightenment. However, gaining enlightenment is pretty difficult, which is why many practitioners have given up. This is also the reason why there are almost no practitioners of martial arts, which should be in no way inferior to magic. However, Lucas is different, and he shows this by tearing apart a big sack of sand with just a single punch. Thanks to how dedicated he is, his fist techniques have also hit level 5, and it appears that there is no ceiling for Lucas because his levels keep rising smoothly. Basically, all of his techniques are on the rise, and he believes that this is all thanks to the martial god's blessing. After training that day, Lucas remembers that his father is coming home that very day, and they are going to have dinner together as a family. After he has washed up, he joins the family at the dining table. His father welcomes him with a smile, saying it's been 6 months since they last saw each other. He urges him to take a seat, and Lucas calmly walks to his seat while Jeremy is fuming where he is. Holt then mentions that the Allen Magic School is opening a martial arts department, and as a special measure, his father has already applied for him. Holt admits that martial arts is difficult, but he believes that his son can do it, and Holt urges Lucas to prepare well for next week's entrance exam. Lucas smiles, and he thanks his father for this opportunity. Deep down, Lucas has vowed that no matter what world he finds himself in, he is going to protect whatever is important to him. However, at the same time, he is trying so much not to stand out because he doesn't want to attract trouble. Suddenly, Julia raises her hand, telling her father that she wants to enter the Allen Magic School with Lucas. Holt commends his daughter for having such a great attitude, but he lets her know that she is still 11 years old and she is not old enough to enroll. Julia then reveals that there is an elite course at the school and it has no restrictions. Julia whips out the letter she received from the school, telling her that she can take the elite course. Holt is surprised to hear this, but at the same time, he understands that Julia's reputation must have reached the school. Lucas's mother smiles beautifully, saying it appears that a great mage will be born from the Ryan family in the near future. This causes Julia to laugh out loud, while Jeremy is left fuming really hard. Their father then tells the two that he wishes that they both pass the exam. Jeremy is pissed that Lucas is getting special treatment when there is nothing special about him. Just then, his mother, Jessica, touches him, telling him to calm down because he has nothing to worry about, since there is no assurance that Lucas will pass the exam. 1 week later, Lucas and Julia prepare to leave for the academy. His mother urges him to take care of himself, and she assures him that she will come visit him once he settles down in school. She also gives Lucas the lucky coin that his father gave him. Apparently, the coin is from the Martial Fortune dynasty that unified the world about 10,000 years ago. Holt revealed that he obtained the coin after he defeated a magical beast, and the front of the coin bears the image of the first emperor, Mars, and on the back is engraved the weapons that he once used. When Lucas saw this back then, he realized that Mars is the martial spirit god. As he departs, Holt tells Lucas to always keep the coin with him. Lucas considers himself pretty lucky because he is blessed with a good family in his present life and also in his past life. Several hours after their departure, the butler, Forden, suggests that they camp in the nearest clearing because the sun will set soon. While they are resting and preparing to eat, the butler tells them that they are going to reach Dacktown, where the school is located, by nightfall the next day if they leave early in the morning. Julia is surprised to hear this, and she asks Forden if there is anything interesting in Dacktown. Forden lets her know that there is something to look out for because Dacktown is famous for the magical dodgeball tournament held every spring. In addition, he mentions that the town is famous as a gourmet town. When Julia hears this, she is already drooling because she imagines herself eating everything she wants. Suddenly, Lucas's senses kick into action and he realizes that 12 horses and 13 people are approaching them at high speed from 2 kilometers away. Lucas then asks Forden if bandits usually appear in the area, and Forden confirms this, but says the possibility of running into them is low. It turns out that Lucas is able to sense the danger thanks to the chaos tempering arts. Thanks to the incredibly sharp senses that he now has, he knows that he is not making a mistake. He analyzes the situation and realizes that they are greatly outnumbered, so he has to handle the situation very carefully. Lucas then gets on his feet, telling Forden that they need to prepare because a mysterious group is heading towards them at an incredible speed. The 2 soldiers with them are surprised because everywhere is pretty quiet, and they just assume that Lucas is messing around. Even Forden is surprised to hear this, but he still grabs his sword, telling the others to prepare their weapons. Even though Forden is a bit skeptical, he believes that it is better they are cautious than be sorry later. Moments later, bandits arrive on the scene, and this is when the soldiers realize that Lucas wasn't lying. The bandit leader excitedly rushes toward Lucas's group, talking about how they have found a new set of prey. They notice Julia and Lucas behind the soldiers and immediately deem the two as their targets. Fordon angrily tells the bandits what happens when they touch nobles, but the bandit leader says he doesn't care. He then tells his boys to kill the soldiers and leave the kids alive. Fordon and the soldiers then prepare to engage the daring bandits. The soldiers are able to initially hold their own against the bandits. Fordon also decapitates a bandit that got too close to him and the kids. Even though Julia wanted to help, Fordon tells her to leave the fight to him. Fordon and the soldiers continue pushing back the bandits. But to avoid any real issue, Fordon tells Lucas to escape with Julia. Suddenly, the soldiers get roasted by a mage's power. It turns out that the bandit leader is a mage, and this ultimately ruins whatever strategy Fordon initially has. Fordon becomes scared for the safety of the kids, and he screams at Lucas, telling him to escape with Julia into the forest. In that short moment of distraction, Fordon gets cut in the chest by one of the bandits, immediately reducing his efficiency. The bandit leader then tells Fordon that he is going to burn him alive for killing his comrade. However, Fordon is not scared, as he is ready to lay down his life as long as it means protecting Julia and Lucas. Meanwhile, Lucas has realized that there is no way Fordon would be able to win against the bandits because of the mage. Even though Lucas is willing to keep his abilities hidden, he remembers that Fordon has been the kindest to him, aside from his parents. Because of how nice Fordon is to him, Lucas now considers him family. And since he is family, Lucas decides that he cannot sit around and let his family be killed. Lucas then tells Julia to hide while he helps Fordon, and Julia affirms the instruction. Lucas then makes his move, and even though he is outnumbered, Fordon is still holding his own against the bandits. Just then, Fordon gets exhausted, and he crashes to his knees. One of the bandits appears from behind and leaps toward Fordon to impale him with his sword, but he suddenly loses his head out of nowhere. The bandits are shocked to see this, but before they know it, more of their comrades become headless from a high-speed projectile. No one knows where the projectiles are coming from, and, unknown to them, it is all Lucas's doing. Lucas is glad that he already upgraded his Gale Strike skill to level 4 while he was playing around, hitting flying birds with stones. Thanks to this, he knows that killing a mere level 1 bandit with a pebble is nothing but child's play. Pissed about how his comrades were all killed in an instant, the bandit leader raises his staff and fires off a large fireball at Fordon to finish him. Fordon can see the attack coming straight for him, but he is already too tired to dodge, and he also believes that a strange helper has shown up to protect the kids, so he can finally rest. Just then, Lucas appears before the fireball hits, and he cancels it out, shocking Fordon, who never thought Lucas was this powerful. The bandit leader is also stunned to see his magic canceled so easily. However, he believes that he still has time to fire off another shot, but Lucas lets him know that he has reached the end of the road, and he tears him to pieces with a powerful blow to his chest. After taking down the bandit leader, Fordon is left questioning everything he just witnessed. He considers Lucas being able to kill a high-level mage a totally unprecedented event. However, Lucas just turns around to smile at the old man, telling him that it appears he has talent for martial arts. Fordon is still celebrating with Lucas when they sense something sinister behind them. The piece of the bandit leader's body suddenly starts to transform into an ugly-looking creature that looks pretty dangerous. Seeing how terrifying the monster looks, Lucas concludes that he has to take it out as fast as he can because he can't allow Julia to see it. Lucas wastes no time leaping toward the monster, and he lands a punch, but it does absolutely no damage to the monster. The monster then launches a counterattack by hurling spikes at Lucas, forcing him to jump backwards. Surprisingly, the monster starts feeding on the bandits' dead bodies to power itself. Lucas wonders what sort of monster it is, and by using his all-seeing eyes, he is able to see the insignia controlling the monster. Before he knows it, the monster has grown to be a giant monster on all fours, and since physical attacks won't work on the monster, Lucas decides to try something else. Lucas imbues himself with explosive chi before lunging at the monster and delivering a powerful strike. This leaves a bright golden light that totally swallows the monster up and destroys whatever core is controlling it. After taking out the monster, Lucas sits down to catch his breath, and Julia comes rushing over to hug her big brother. Julia praises his brother, telling him how amazing he is for defeating the bad guys. Fordon, on the other hand, is left stunned because he can't even understand what just happened. Just then, one of the bandits' horses starts neighing, catching their attention. They turn around to see a girl who has been tied up on the horse, shocking them. Meanwhile, the demon from 9 years ago is getting stronger, and she just got the signal that one of her emissaries has been defeated. She wonders who might have defeated the dude, but she decides not to worry herself too much about this, because she is more focused on recovering her power. Back at the scene, Julia learns that the girl they just rescued is Maya Rasta. When Fordon hears the Rasta name, he mentions that he has heard it somewhere before, and Julia also says the same. Lucas then mentions that both the Rasta and Ryan families are nobles living near Dacktown. Julia confirms this, saying Lucas is right. Julia then asks Maya why she was attacked by bandits, and with tears in her eyes, she narrates her ordeal. Apparently several hours ago, bandits suddenly appeared and attacked her carriage, killing all of her guards. Even her maid tried to protect her, but she ended up suffering a terrible fate. Maya mentions that all of her efforts to tell the bandits that she is a noble fell on deaf ears. In fact, it appears that their goal is to abduct noble children. Julia then comforts her, telling her that she has nothing to worry about because the bandits are now dead. Later that night, after the girls have slept, Lucas asks Forden what he thinks about what Maya said earlier. Forden then mentions that bandits are habitual offenders because it appears that they have been targeting noble children for a while. Lucas then tells Forden that a demon might be helping the bandits because it is weird enough that they can use magic and also control the dead. Forden then tells Lucas that he has nothing to worry about because he is going to report the matter to Holt. Forden believes that the Rasta family would also be open to helping them once they report the situation to her. Lucas lets Forden know that he has a suggestion to make to avoid trouble in the future. The following day, they arrive at Dacktown, and Lucas tells Julia that there will be no sightseeing in the town to avoid trouble. Lucas says there might still be bandits in the area, and for safety's sake, it would be better if they go directly to the magic school. Julia is a bit disappointed, and Lucas tells her to understand the situation because it is for her safety and Maya's. Maya agrees with Lucas, but Julia remains in a bad mood. To please his sister, Lucas tells Julia that he is going to buy her everything she wants from the town's gourmet district once they pass through there. Julia is happy to hear this, and Maya is blown away by the closeness between the two. Forden then suggests that they open the window so that they can get a view of the town. Julia quickly agrees to this, and she is astounded by the beauty of the town. Even Maya talks about how lively the town is. Deep down, Lucas agrees with them because the town has the same atmosphere as the city he lived in during his past life. As they pass through the food center, Lucas buys his sister all the food that she wants, just as promised. Not long after this, they arrive at the academy's gate, and Forden lets them know that this is as far as he can go. Lucas tells Forden that he has nothing to worry about because he is going to protect Julia. Julia also jumps up in joy, telling Lucas that she is going to protect him too. Lucas eggs her on by telling her that he is counting on her. Lucas is left with tears in his eyes as he says farewell to the two. Maya, on the other hand, is pleased to have met Lucas and Julia because they appear to be two interesting siblings. In a quick revelation, Forden had told Lucas the night before that Maya was once his fiancée when they were younger. However, the engagement was called off after the incident that left Lucas talentless. When talking about the Allen Magic School, it is located south of Dacktown, and it is one of the 3 most prestigious schools in the Carmina Empire. All the new students are required to take an exam 1 year after their enrollment, and based on those results, they are divided according to their characteristics into the Earth Department, Fire Department, Wind Department, Water Department, and Special Department. If one studies at the academy for 6 years and graduates successfully, they can obtain a mage qualification. In addition, excellent students receive special treatment too. Also, students who pass the mage examination during their studies can graduate without having to stay until their 6th year. Meanwhile, Lucas and Julia are seen at the school plaza, and Julia expresses her disappointment that Maya has left. It turns out that she is reunited with her family, and Julia had initially thought they would be taking the exam together. Lucas, on the other hand, is pleased that Maya has reunited with her family because she is no longer in any danger. Lucas then tells Julia that if they all pass, they are going to see each other every day as classmates, so she has nothing to worry about. This is enough to lift Julia's mood because she knows that Lucas is right. While running around the plaza, Julia catches the attention of basically everyone who sees her because of how young and cute she is. Not long after this, they run into Mina, the vice president of the school's student council. Mina looks cool, and she immediately becomes interested in Julia too. She then asks her if she followed her brother to the school, but Julia reveals that she is there to take the exam with her brother. Mina is shocked when she hears that Julia is there to take the entrance examination, and this tells her that she is the girl who was given the elite course. Mina immediately asks Julia if she is from the Ryan family, and this shocks Julia, who asks Mina how she knows who she is. Mina tells Julia that she is going to find out soon enough, and she suggests that she follows her so that she can lead her to the reception desk. Lucas is shocked to see that Mina didn't even say a single word to him, as if he were a walking ghost. It is Julia who then reminds Mina that her brother also wants to register. It finally dawns on Mina that she totally forgot about Lucas. Mina then turns around to nervously talk to Lucas about his interest in taking the martial arts department exam. The moment she says this, it catches the attention of the other students. They start talking trash behind Lucas about how he is an idiot for choosing martial arts. One even talks about how hilarious it is that Lucas came to a magic school to learn martial arts. Lucas is somewhat surprised that he is being looked down upon even in a magic school. He knows that mages believe that they are above martial arts, but in reality, they are just a bunch of weaklings. Lucas is pretty confident that no mage can stand toe-to-toe with him because they are all insects compared to him. In fact, Lucas knows that there is no reason for him to come to the school if not for the fact that his parents want him to come. At this point, Mina has realized that Lucas is getting backlash because of how loud she spoke. Mina then finds a way to fix her mistake by telling Lucas to follow her because, after the registration, she is going to lead him to the exam venue. Lucas is surprised to hear this, and he realizes that Mina is actually a nice person compared to the rest. Every other person who has looked down on Lucas is shocked to see Mina talking to him, casually. Moments later, Mina requests their registration forms, and after this, she gives the two their emblems. She adds that their examinee number is stored inside, and she urges them to wear it when entering the venue. Apparently, there are 3 test items in total. The first test is to measure their magical potential with magic light. The second one is the compatibility test, where they use spirits of different attributes to determine which elements suit the examinee. And then the last one is a test using dummy dolls to measure magical destructive power. Lucas then asks her if martial arts examinees follow the same process, and she says yes. Mina says all the departments follow the same process for fairness. However, Lucas doesn't think they were thinking about fairness when creating the tests, because they would have specifically created a test for the martial arts department. Nonetheless, Lucas is not worried, and he plans to show a bit of his power to dispel the students' prejudice against martial arts. Moments later, they make their way to the potential measurement area. The candidates are expected to place their hands on the magic light. When Lucas touches the light, his potential displays 0, which shocks even the examiner because this is a phenomenon that happens once every 1,000 years. This immediately sets Lucas up for a mocking session from the other students who are watching. However, Lucas is not really worried because he already expected this. Julia soon steps forward to touch the light, and it displays a bright purple light which represents a potential value of 7 out of 10. Even the examiner admits that Julia is going to be among the top of the year's examinees. While everyone else is surprised, Lucas is not really surprised because he knows what his sister is capable of. In fact, he knows that his sister is capable of more, and he tells her not to hold back. Julia acknowledges this and releases more mana into the orb, which immediately transforms into golden light, leaving everyone stunned. The examiner realizes just how talented Julia is because there was a student 2 years ago who also produced golden light, but she was much older than Julia. After Julia is done, she runs back to her brother with a big smile on her face, asking if she was amazing. Lucas pats her on the head, telling her that she is really amazing. Lucas even adds that she's going to become an archmage in the future. While the two are celebrating with each other, one of the candidates talks trash about Lucas, saying he is a talentless piece of trash who is a big brother to a genius mage. The dude's friend quickly covers his mouth, telling him to stop saying trash because they don't know what Lucas's sister might do if she hears. Lucas is pleased to hear this because everything is going the way he planned it. Lucas wants Julia to be in the limelight so he can lead a peaceful student life. Apparently, the past 3 years have been consistent efforts to enhance Julia's talent, and Lucas is glad that his efforts are paying off. Once everyone is done with the potential measurement, they are required to move to the spirit hut, and deep down, Lucas believes that the day to make his efforts bloom has finally come. The candidates are informed that they are going to undergo a compatibility test here. Just as expected, all of the spirits are swarming around Julia, shocking the other students. One of the students, who received a level 6 wind god's blessing, mentions his frustration that no wind spirit came to him during his test. Since all of the spirits are going toward Julia, they believe that this means she is compatible with all magical elements. It turns out that Lucas has a hand in what is happening, because he was the one who created a mage circulation technique skill for Julia, which has helped her raise her potential. Even though she is still level 2, Lucas knows that she has shown enough to pass the entrance exam. The examiner soon announces that Julia's compatibility is 90, which is the highest score among all examinees. The examiner thanks Julia for her success, and while she is still enjoying the compliment, she turns around to see the other students staring at her in such a bad way. Julia cannot handle this, and she rushes toward her brother, telling him that she is scared of how the other students are staring at her. Lucas then tells Julia that it can't be helped because she is a genius, and she is bound to receive a lot of bad looks. Lucas then tells her that she has nothing to worry about, and he urges her to get used to it. Julia then agrees with her brother, saying she has to become stronger so she can protect him. Deep down, Lucas is worried about his sister, and he figures out that he has to help her build a thick skin. While everyone is praising Julia and talking about her talent, they are also trash-talking Lucas for being talentless. Apparently, during Lucas's compatibility test, the spirits didn't even try to go near him because they were all disgusted. However, one of the students told his friend that something strange happened during this test. He tells his friend that after Lucas came out, one of the fire spirits lost its arm, which left him scared. When his friend heard this, he believed that he was seeing things because the spirits are tiny, and there is no way he would have seen a tiny hand flying off. Lucas is surprised to see that there was someone who actually saw what happened. It turns out that the dude was actually right because during the second test, the fire spirits displayed a bad attitude towards him, probably because he was rejected by the fire god. After the test, Lucas tried to leave, but one of the spirits decided to spit on him because it held a grudge. However, Lucas taught the spirit not to be arrogant by subtly tearing his arm off with a pebble. After they are done with the compatibility test, Lucas suggests that they head to the final testing area, and he asks Julia if she thinks she can take first place this time too. Julia humbly tells her brother that the first place is reserved for her as long as her brother doesn't go all out. Lucas smiles, telling Julia that he has no plan to go all out because he is planning for Julia to protect him. They soon arrive at the magic destructive power test venue, where there are several metal dummy dolls laid out for the test. Lucas overhears one of the students talking about how he plans to punch the doll with everything he has because he doesn't want Julia to take first place. Another dude mentions that there is a possibility of Julia totally destroying the doll, but the dude argues with this, saying it is impossible. The dude mentions that the dummy dolls are made of special metal with defensive magic, which means that they can withstand attacks below curse class. The dude is confident that Julia doesn't have what it takes to unleash said attack at her current age. Lucas takes a closer look at the dolls, and he admits that they look pretty sturdy, and he believes that it is his chance to test his level 6 skill. Lucas finally admits that it might have been a good decision to come to the school because he would get to play around with expensive equipment. Just then, Lucas hears some students behind them telling a girl, who just arrived, not to jump the line. The new girl activates her magic and stares at the leader of the protesters with such an overwhelming aura that fear creeps through her body. The new girl then walks over to Julia and Lucas, and she uses her mental magic on Julia, causing her to fear. Julia quickly hides behind Lucas, telling him that the new girl is scary. Lucas then asks the new girl who she is, and she replies that she is Iwa Miranda, granddaughter of Duke Miranda. The moment Lucas hears this, he figures out who she is. Apparently, the Miranda family is one of the 3 great houses of the Empire's northern region, and they are a clan that once produced a legendary mage. This basically means Iwa is the daughter of his mother's younger brother, Cyan Miranda. Once he knows who she is, Lucas asks Iwa how old she is, and she replies with a stern face that she is 15 years old. Lucas urges her to stop staring at him like a hawk because they are cousins. Iwa is shocked to hear this because she was never informed about having a cousin or cousins. She then decides to embarrass Lucas in front of everyone. She activates her mental magic, hoping to make Lucas shit his pants. But Lucas doesn't even budge, shocking her. Lucas scolds her for using mental magic on the family she is meeting for the first time. Lucas mocks her, asking her what type of education the Miranda family is providing. Iwa is shocked that her magic didn't work because this was basically her best magic, but Lucas easily tanked it. Deep down, Lucas is surprised that Iwa believes she can control a strong-willed martial artist with such flimsy magic. Not long after this, Lucas is called forward for his test. After Lucas's departure, Iwa turns to Julia, telling her not to get cocky because she is going to take first place in the test. When Lucas stares at the leaderboard, he realizes that Iwa is in second place, and this basically means she is there to declare war on Julia so she can get first place. Lucas then concludes that he has to interfere because he needs his peace and cannot let Julia lose the first place position. Lucas then goes back to Julia to give her what he claims is candy. Julia excitedly collects it, believing that it is going to be sweet. However, it turns out to be a medicinal pill, which is super bitter. Lucas pats Julia on the head, telling her that it is a special magic medicine, which is made with rare ingredients, and he assures her that she is going to understand its effects soon enough. The examiner is forced to call on Lucas again, telling him to make his way into the test arena. Upon arriving at the arena, the examiner tells Lucas to attack the doll with his full magical power, and they are going to evaluate its destructive force to produce his final grade. Since he can't use magic, Lucas asks the examiner if he can use physical attacks instead. When the other students hear this, they start laughing at Lucas because he is seriously daring to take the test with a physical strike. They consider this a barbaric art and use that to talk down on martial artists in general. One of them believes that Lucas is just going to break his hand, and that will be the end of it. While they are all mocking Lucas, Julia hears this and stares at them with her side eyes, causing them to quickly rearrange themselves. Julia is pissed that Lucas told her to behave at the school because she would easily beat all of them up. Just then, Iwa asks Julia if it is true that Lucas can't use magic because Iwa can't believe that someone without magic is able to block her mental magic. Julia then tells Iwa that her brother really can't use magic, but he is still amazing. Nonetheless, Iwa believes that Julia has been tricked by her brother because there is no way a martial artist can do anything impressive. Suddenly, a loud bang hits the test area, shocking everyone present as they wonder what just happened. 2 minutes earlier, the examiner had told him that his method of attack didn't matter. Lucas acknowledges this, and he figures out that he should have enough power to deal with the dummy. Lucas then gets himself into position, and he dashes toward the dummy, landing a powerful punch that sends it into the distance. The dummy hits the wall and displays a golden light on its head. When Iwa sees this, she is ultimately shocked because Lucas's speed was comparable to high-ranking wind magic. In addition, the dummy glowed gold, which means the attack hit with curse-class power. Even the other candidates who were watching couldn't believe their eyes because there is no way a talentless dude is damaging a dummy. It then dawns on Iwa that she is the only one who noticed Lucas's true ability. Iwa could also sense that Lucas is trying to keep his abilities hidden because he is not even bragging about it. To the examiner, he assumes that the dummy malfunctioned, but he tells Lucas that he is going to give him the perfect score. Lucas thanks him for this and then asks where he should put the fallen dummy. The examiner lets him know that he doesn't have to worry about this because it is too heavy and they are going to move it with magic. Lucas then makes the peace sign to his sister through the screen after seeing that he managed to keep his strength hidden while also obtaining a score that is high enough for him to be granted admission into the academy. As the exams went on, everyone totally forgot about Lucas's power and focused on Julia's overwhelming talent. When Julia walked to the front to display her power, she unleashed red lightning, which is pretty powerful and second only to the gold thunder. The students are all impressed when they see this, and one of them even wishes that she could at least reach Julia's current level before graduating. After showing her extraordinary power, Julia sits down, totally stunned by what just happened. When it is time to grade her, the examiner announces that she scored 9.5. When Julia reunites with her brother, she talks to him about the red lightning, saying she could only produce purple lightning in the past, even when she was pushing at full force. Julia talks about how fierce the red lightning is, and unknown to her, the pill Lucas gave her earlier is what boosted her strength, but he decides not to tell her about it. Apparently, in this world, both the mages and the martial artists have their own pharmaceutical skills. For the mages, they practice potion alchemy, and for the martial artists, they use Dan refining. Basically, magic potions always need a medium, but pills made by martial artists can be directly absorbed into the body. It turns out that in the past, there used to be a lot of pills, but after the decline in martial arts, Dan refinement is almost a lost art. It is very rare to see a martial artist capable of creating a magic storage pill that can boost someone's abilities like Julia's. This is because a martial artist has to reach level 6 before they can make such a pill. Basically, there is only one other person in the Empire aside from Lucas who can make the pills, and this is the only level 9 martial artist alive, Duke Retsuzan, who is the Minister of Martial Affairs. It turns out that even the greatest mages lower their heads and beg Retsuzan for magic pills, and if people find out that Lucas can make the pills, there is definitely going to be a lot of chaos, which is why it has to stay a secret. Shortly afterward, Lucas and Julia sit on a bench to rest, and Lucas lets her know that she will soon get enough rest once they retire to the dorms, which is after the class assignments. Just then, Mina shows up, and Lucas asks her what she is doing there. Mina replies that she is there to post the class assignments, and she congratulates them, saying they both ranked first in the elite and the martial arts classes. Julia celebrates really hard when she hears this, and Lucas congratulates her before telling her that he is going to be counting on her. Mina then asks Julia if she has any department she would be willing to join next year, and this confuses Julia. Mina doesn't hesitate to explain to her that there are 5 departments, and they are Earth, Fire, Wind, Water, and Special. Mina lets her know that after a year, everyone is sorted into a department based on another set of tests. Julia thinks about it for a minute and replies that, according to her attribute, it would be good for her to choose Wind. And Mina excitedly agrees with her, since she got the blessing of the Thunder God. Mina grabs her, shaking her out of excitement, while telling her that she is going to be waiting in the Wind department. Lucas is surprised to see that the departments are already hustling to secure Julia, who is the top talent. Mina then offers to take Julia to the girls' dorm, and Julia bids her brother farewell, telling him that they are going to see each other later. Lucas waves to his sister, urging Mina to take care of her. Lucas also decides to head to the martial arts dorm, and elsewhere, Iwa has checked the results. She realizes that Julia came first, but she is not ready to give up because she believes that she is going to take first place in the coming years. Moments later, Lucas arrives at the martial arts department, and even though he wasn't expecting much, he was left totally disappointed because the whole building looked like a rat house. He wonders if they can even live in such a damned place that looks like it is about to collapse. On the bright side, Lucas believes that he would be able to live peacefully without anyone having to bother him. Lucas enters the building only to run into a white-haired dude who excitedly introduces himself as Kai Taroy, who claims that he is also in the martial arts department. After shaking hands with the dude, Lucas simply moves over to the desk to sign whatever he is supposed to sign, but Kai remains glued to him, talking about how impressive it is that Lucas punched the test dummy. Lucas acts humbly, telling Kai that there is nothing special about it because he only got lucky. The attendant then tells the two that they are going to be staying in room 205, which means Kai and Lucas are going to be sharing a room. While Kai is excited about the whole experience, Lucas is dreading it already. As they walk through the lobby, they can't believe just how much worse the whole thing is. They finally arrive at their room only to find out that they are going to be sharing the room with 2 other dudes, Collins and Sharp. As if this is not enough, the entire room is a mess, as if a pig had previously lived there. Kai holds his nose in disgust and even almost faints when he sees a spider hanging down a wall. Frustrated by everything, Kai whips out a gold coin, saying he is willing to offer the coin to anyone who cleans the room. Surprisingly, Collins and Sharp waste no time in offering that they are going to clean the room. Lucas is not surprised by this because Collins and Sharp are both commoners, and the money will go a long way for them. It turns out that the Toroi family is also one of the 3 great noble houses of the Empire's north. While Collins and Sharp are busy cleaning the room, Kai is venting out his frustration, talking about how he didn't sign up for living in a dump. Lucas tries to calm him down, telling him that the situation would eventually improve given the school's reputation. Kai agrees with him, but just as he is about to relax, another spider appears beside him, causing him to scream out like a girl while complaining that the dorm is basically a prison. Not long after this, Sharp and Collins finish cleaning the room, and just as promised, Kai pays them their fee. Even Lucas gets a share of the money, and even though Kai is arrogant, he has no choice but to admit that he is quite generous. Just then, the attendant shows up to deliver their uniforms, and he urges them to change into the uniform so that they can attend the entrance ceremony taking place in the hall. Kai's blood pressure rises again when he sees the dirty and tattered uniform that was provided for them. Collins and Sharp cannot even complain because it looks good to them. Lucas then tells Kai that the school has a system where they can listen to student requests, and if they ask for better treatment there, Lucas is convinced that they can get their uniforms changed. When Kai hears this, he suggests that they hurry to the hall so that they can complain, and Lucas can't believe just how gullible the dude is. Shortly afterward, Lucas and his roommates arrive at the hall with their trash-looking uniform. Collins is blown away by how luxurious the hall is, but Kai says the hall is nothing compared to his house. Meanwhile, Lucas is trying to locate his sister, and when Kai notices this, he lets him know that his sister is seated in the front row where the elite course students are seated. Kai also notices that their uniforms are different, and he suggests that Lucas talk to his sister before the ceremony begins, since the martial arts students are seated far away from the front row. However, Lucas says there is no need for this and suggests that they return to their seats. Deep down, Lucas is glad to see his sister wearing such a prestigious uniform. Once Lucas and his roommates are seated, he notices a girl who appears to also be in the martial arts department seated close to them. Not long after this, the student council president, Theod Formal, shows up in a cool-looking way to introduce the school's point system to the students. The students are all blown away by how cool-looking Theod is because he has also reached level 6 before graduation, which means he is a genius. Theod then starts by informing the students that the point system in the school is fundamental to almost everything, from the magic skills, precious books, subordinate magical beasts, and rare materials. In fact, all of these, including guidance from great masters, can be obtained with points. He continues by saying there are many ways to earn points, but points earned through labor are only 1 to 5 points per hour, which is extremely low. Rather than labor, it is more efficient to earn points by participating in events for each department. He mentions that the orientation being held for the new students that very day is prime earning time for current students. Lucas finally understands why Mina was helping them. Theod continues further, saying that if a student becomes a student council member, they're going to receive a stable monthly point income. The president is going to get 500 points per month, while the vice president gets 200 points per month, and the members get 100 points per month. To round it all off, he mentions that there is the risky method, which is monster hunting. Apparently, there is a magical beast mountain range located behind the school. This mountain is famous for housing several magical beasts. Theod says if the students hunt beasts there and submit the materials, they are going to receive corresponding points. When Lucas hears this, he immediately becomes interested because he considers it a training ground made just for him. Several hours later, Lucas is able to sneak out of his room thanks to the effects of the tranquility incense that he lit up in the room, causing his roommates to sleep soundly. He's excited to visit the magical beast mountain range, and when he gets to the back of the school, he runs into a tall wall. However, this is nothing to hold a determined Lucas back. He easily leaps past the wall, and with excitement written all over his face, he lands in the magical forest. The first monster he comes across is a horned frog, and Lucas toys around with the monster before easily pulling out its horn, leaving it incapacitated. The horns of the poisonous black horned frog are said to be commonly used in magic potion concoction, and Lucas believes that they would fetch him some really nice points. Lucas has found out that the school has legendary martial arts manuals in its collection, which is why he needs to earn points to obtain the skills that were rumored to have been used by the martial god. Since he is running on borrowed time, Lucas decides to quickly assess the locations of the magical beasts, and using his overpowered eyes, he is able to pinpoint the locations of the monsters in his surroundings. Roaming around is the level 1 shell mouse, level 2 one-eyed bat, level 3 magic crest leopard, but all of them pose no danger to Lucas as he trashes all of them pretty easily. All of the monsters he meets are one-shotted with ease, and in no time, he has gathered a big haul. He is confident that he can exchange the materials for points so he can get ingredients for Dan refining. Nonetheless, Lucas doesn't feel fulfilled as he notices that the whole area is strangely quiet. In addition, there are extremely few traces of magical beasts, leaving him to wonder if there is a powerful magical beast living in the area. Lucas then employs his sharp senses to see if there is any, and he soon locates one hiding out in a cave. At the same time, the beast locks onto Lucas, but Lucas doesn't mind as he dashes toward the cave, which is 1 kilometer away. Upon reaching there, he realizes that the beast is a level 6 ice fire wolf, and it looks pretty dangerous. Lucas finally understands why the beast has a strong sense of territory, and this is because it is a wolf. However, Lucas is a battle maniac, and he wastes no time lunging toward the wolf. The wolf then meets him halfway with an ice breath freezing up his right arm. Surprisingly, this isn't enough to stop Lucas, who still lands a powerful punch on the wolf's jaw to send it flying into the distance. Lucas is a bit disappointed in himself that all he could do was send the wolf flying without being able to punch a hole in its body. Excited to use the wolf for training, Lucas tells it to get back on its knees because he is pretty sure that it is not done yet. The wolf gets back on its feet and fires off a powerful flame at Lucas, totally leaving him shrouded in flames. The wolf maintains the fire breath for a couple of minutes to make sure it kills Lucas. When the wolf believes that Lucas has been taken care of, it raises its head to howl in victory, but before it knows it, Lucas appears behind it. By the time the wolf realizes this, Lucas has closed in on it, and he delivers a powerful punch imbued with chi on its body. This punch is powerful enough to cause the wolf to cough up blood, and the force from the punch also sends it flying really far into the distance. This leaves the wolf on its back, and Lucas commends it for being able to freely manipulate opposing attributes like fire and ice skillfully. While receiving praise from Lucas, what the wolf sees is an overwhelming horror-like figure standing above it. Nonetheless, the wolf still tries to fight back by unleashing a combination of ice and fire at Lucas to create water vapor. However, Lucas easily dispels this, and when the wolf sees this, it tries to escape, but Lucas chases it down. Lucas easily grabs its tail and gives it a proper WWE smackdown. Even though Lucas is fighting a large magical beast, he doesn't feel any kind of threat, and he is even exhilarated. Lucas is already seeing the wolf as a large portion of points to be obtained, but suddenly the wolf sends him into the wall with a powerful wave blast. Believing that it had cornered Lucas, the wolf unleashes a powerful flame breath, but Lucas easily dodges the flame and leaps toward the wolf. Desperate to keep Lucas away, the wolf releases another blast of flames, but Lucas moves through the flames this time around. By going through the waves, Lucas closes the gap between himself and the wolf. Lucas then punches the wolf so hard that it destroys the ground it is standing on, releasing a massive shockwave. Lucas doesn't stop as he punches the wolf in the head again, and at this point, the wolf realizes that death is coming for him if it continues this way. It immediately decides to employ the last tactic it has, and it raises its arms to surrender. The wolf then bows before Lucas before releasing a blue and red core. Lucas is surprised to see this because magical beasts in this world are sometimes born with a core inside their bodies. This is basically a rare magical material that becomes the beast's lifelong source of power. But if even one drop of human blood touches the beast's core, the magical beast becomes the human's subordinate. Seeing the wolf release its cores tells Lucas that it actually wants him to become his subordinate. Since the wolf has surrendered itself, Lucas decides to accept it as his subordinate. Lucas considers this a rare find because even among mages, it is rare to have a level 6 subordinate magical beast. However, Lucas believes that the wolf is not very intelligent because strong magical beasts are always proud and would never submit to humans. Just as the wolf wanted, Lucas cuts his blood and combines it with the cores, giving off a bright light. When everything settles down, the wolf swallows the cores again. Suddenly, Lucas hears someone calling him master, and he is confused. But the wolf lets him know that it is the one talking to him. It then dawns on Lucas that he can finally understand the wolf's words. Lucas is proud of the wolf, and he decides to call it Uru. Since he is now Uru's master, Lucas wonders if everything in the territory also belongs to him. Lucas wonders if Uru has collected anything useful over time, and just then, Uru tells Lucas to follow it because its treasure is located deep in the cave. Lucas arrives at Uru's supposed treasure room, and he finds a bunch of materials ranging from pelts to bones and even gemstones. Lucas starts drooling when he sees this because he has just stumbled upon a treasure trove. Just then, Uru tells him that what he is looking at is not his real treasure trove. It then shows Lucas its real treasure trove, which is filled with beast cores of level 3 beasts, and there are even 2 level 6 cores in the cave. Uru then reveals that it ate the water and fire attribute beast cores to level up. When Lucas hears this, he figures out that to level up, a beast has to eat beast cores from magical beasts of equal or greater strength than itself. This means Uru killed at least 2 opponents of equal strength, which is a really good feat. As a reward, Lucas feeds Uru recovery medicine that works on magical beasts too. Lucas then tells Uru to continue guarding the treasures in the cave while it is busy recuperating. Uru then tells Lucas that he can trust it with the mission since it is his first mission. The next day, Lucas arrived at the classroom, and even though he was up all night, he didn't suffer any fatigue thanks to the tranquility incense. Soon afterward, the students start complaining that time is running out, and the teacher has not even shown up for their first lesson. Kai is pissed at this, and he wastes no time assuming that the administration has forgotten to assign a teacher for the martial arts department. Moments later, a drunk dude enters the room, introducing himself to the students as Sigald, revealing that he is their homeroom teacher. When Kai sees the drunk dude, he cannot believe that he is supposed to be their homeroom teacher because Sigald appears to be dirty. Suddenly, Sigald screams out loudly, almost turning Kai into a deaf dude. When Lucas sees this, he figures out that Sigald's movements show that he is at least a level 5 or 6 martial artist. Sigald then tells Kai that there is no talking in his class without his permission. After saying this, Sigald starts taking his attendance, and the kid Lucas saw at the entrance ceremony, Teishi, is the first to answer the attendance list. After Sigald is done calling out the attendance, he is pleased to see that everyone is present. Just as he is about to start the lesson, he realizes that he has forgotten his textbook, and he decides to appoint Teishi as the class representative so she can go to his research lab and get the textbook. Teishi is shocked to hear this, and she is forced to ask again if the teacher meant what he said. Sigald confirms this, but Kai gets mad. He gets off his seat, saying the class representative should be decided fairly through competition among candidates. Kai starts boasting, talking about his pedigree and ability, saying all of these should qualify him as the class representative. Just then, Sigald hits him in the head with a projectile, reminding him that he already said there is no talking in class without his permission. As he leaves the room, Sigelt tells Teishi to distribute the textbooks to everyone and have them study on their own. Teishi is proud of herself because not only did she pass the entrance exam, but she was also chosen as the class representative. Teishi then vows to change her fate with the opportunity she has been given. Meanwhile, Kai is still nursing his swollen head, and Lucas mentions that something is off about the teacher. Kai immediately agrees to this, suggesting that they report Sigelt to the administration so that he can be fired. However, Lucas is left analyzing the situation, and he figures out that Sigelt has suffered serious injuries before, which is why he moves the way he does. This leaves Lucas wondering just how strong Sigelt was before he got injured. Lucas then tells Kai that he has no intention of reporting Sigelt because deep down, Lucas is excited to see what Sigelt has to offer. Several hours later, Kai and Lucas are seen in front of the cafeteria. Kai complains bitterly about how Sigelt left them to self-study for hours. Kai considers Sigelt an irresponsible teacher who even decides who is going to be their class representative. While Kai is busy raging about this, Lucas meets with his sister and he pats her on the head, asking her how her first class went. Julia reveals that her homeroom teacher, Linda, is such a nice person because she cheered her on to motivate her into becoming the class representative the following week. This only gives Kai more avenues to talk because class representatives are always chosen 1 week after enrollment. Julia is surprised that the class representative of the martial arts class has already been decided, and she asks Lucas if he is the one. However, Lucas lets her know that he is not the one. Lucas then suggests that they head to the cafeteria to eat because he heard that the cafeteria's food is pretty good. It turns out that meals at the school also follow the point exchange system, and new students who just enrolled without any points can exchange cash for points, but this is only once. Surprisingly, the exchange rate differs for each department. Julia ends up getting a really nice meal, which she consumes excitedly. Apparently, for 1 coin, other departments get 100 points, but the martial arts departments get just 10 points. Kai cannot believe that even the teachers discriminated against the martial arts students. One of the teachers tells the complaining martial arts student that status doesn't matter in the school because everything revolves around points. While eating the dry bread that he got, Kai concludes that enrolling at the school is more or less giving up on his human rights. Julia pities how bad Kai looks, and she even offers him her food. Kai shed tears as he declared that Julia is such a nice girl. Moments later, Maya shows up, and Julia suggests that they eat together, but Maya reveals that she has already eaten, so she is fine. Maya then mentions that she baked cookies as thanks for helping her the other day. She asks Julia if she is interested, and she excitedly accepts the cookie. Lucas also accepts the cookie, and he commends Maya's skill, saying the cookies are delicious. Kai, being Kai, jumps in to collect cookies, and after tasting it, he mentions that the quality rivals the Teroy family's special sweets. Kai and Maya end up getting to know each other, and Kai teases Lucas for knowing such a beautiful lady as Maya. Unknown to the dude, he just doesn't know Maya, but she was once his fiancée, and Lucas obviously cannot say. After Maya is done feeding them cookies, she leaves, and Lucas finally gets to breathe a bit. Lucas figures out that the cafeteria is basically a hotspot for meeting familiar faces. Just as he predicted, Mina soon shows up, and not long after this, Theod also moves around the cafeteria just to aura farm by flying around with his fire magic. When Lucas sees this, he realizes that Theod is a dude who likes to show off. However, Lucas has already lost all respect for him because after the entrance ceremony, he overheard the fact that Theod is only able to use level 6 magic thanks to medicine. Lucas is busy eating when he notices Sigelt exiting the cafeteria, and he wonders where he is going. Meanwhile, the teachers are also complaining about Sigelt's trashy behavior, but some sympathize with Sigelt because they know he only changed after what happened to him. Sigelt soon joins the other teachers and the headmaster. Once they are all present, the headmaster lets the teachers know that their agenda for the day is all about the magical beast taming tournament. It is no news that magical beasts frequently attack in the Carmina Empire, and because of this, taming skills are required. This also makes it an annual tradition for Allen Magic School's new students to participate in the magical beast taming tournament. Julia's homeroom teacher then reveals that over 2,000 level 1 magical beasts have been prepared for the competition. She suggests that they hold the tournament in the next 6 days just as they usually do. One of the teachers, Greg, then cuts in saying he is fine with holding the tournament in the next 6 days, but he believes that the martial arts students do not need to participate because they can't compete against magical beasts. However, Sigelt disagrees with his take. Greg tries to act cool, saying he was thinking of the students while making the suggestion, but Linda cuts in, telling Greg that Sigelt is right. Linda tells Greg that as new students of the school, the martial arts students are allowed to participate. Another teacher agrees with Linda, saying all the students should be treated equally. Deep down, Greg is pissed when he hears this because he can't believe that there are still teachers who agree with Sigelt, especially Linda. Greg believes Linda is supporting Sigelt because she believes that he can go back to his former self, who was a level 8 powerhouse. Greg has no choice but to back off, but he believes that the martial arts students will just break down in tears after seeing the monsters. With everyone agreeing to it, the headmaster makes it official that the martial arts students will be participating. After the meeting, one of the teachers approached Linda, asking her if she was really okay with the martial arts students participating in the tournament because Greg kind of had a point in what he said. Another teacher tells Linda that it is true that martial arts require real combat, but reminds Linda that the magical beast taming tournament is harsh. Linda then smiles, telling them that a long time ago someone taught her that a coward without spirit to overcome difficulties has no right to call themselves a martial artist, and this person is none other than Siegelt. Linda adds that any student who refuses to participate in the tournament will eventually be expelled from the martial arts department by him. When Siegelt returns to class, he lets the students know about the beast taming tournament. Because of this, Siegelt tells the students that they are going to be doing combat training outside, and he is going to make sure all of them have the strength to defeat magical beasts. Just as usual, Kai opens his big mouth to talk about the issue of the class representative, saying the tournament is usually held to decide the class representative. Since their class representative has been decided, he mentions that they have no reason to participate, but Siegelt hits him in the head again to silence him. Lucas, on the other hand, is thinking about the combat training, and he is worried about how he is going to hold back to make sure he doesn't blow away his sparring partners. Moments later, they report to the training grounds, and after observing Teishi for a few minutes, Lucas realizes that Teishi is pretty strong, and it appears that he is the only one even stronger than her in the class. This then tells Lucas that Siegelt knows what he was doing when he picked Teishi as the class representative. After hours of training, the bell for lunch finally rings, and Siegelt tells them that training is over. Kai thanks his stars because he is already excited about the whole thing. Collins and Sharp then reveal that they are heading to the cafeteria. Collins tells Kai that they are going to bring food for him, as promised. Sharp is shocked when he hears this, forcing him to ask Collins if he made another deal with Kai. Kai then reveals that he told Collins to bring back 2 points worth of food in exchange for 2 coins. This is basically a situation where Collins saves money and Kai saves points, so he considers it a win-win situation. Sharp is pained when he hears this because he would have jumped on the deal if he knew about it too. Collins smiles and then tells Sharp that he will leave him to take the next one. Deep down, Lucas sees Collins as a very smart dude because he is making pocket money properly while keeping human relations smooth. Kai then walks over to Lucas, talking about how smart he is because of the deal he made. He even suggests that Lucas follow his footsteps, but Lucas ignores the advice, leaving Kai in the cold. Kai initially wants to feel bad, but then he comes to the conclusion that Lucas has a sister in the elite course, so he doesn't even need to worry about points. However, Kai doesn't know he is totally wrong about this because without Julia, Lucas would still not go hungry. Lucas can easily step into the forest and just hunt down beasts to make himself a nice meal. While roasting meat on the fire, he remembers that Mina was trying to get close to Julia again. Because of this, Lucas figures out that he has to stay on guard to make sure that Mina has no ill intentions. Just then, Lucas notices that Uru is already drooling from looking at the meat being prepared on the fire. Lucas then decides to feed him because he is such a nice beast. Lucas then tells Uru that after he is done eating, he will have to spar with him in training, but he promises to go easy on him. Uru is already crapping himself when he hears this. Meanwhile, at the Ryan family estate, Holt notices that his wife, Catherine, is feeling sad because of the children, and since she is missing them that much, he suggests they go visit them. Holt mentions he is passing through Dacktown for work, so he is going to take her. Catherine is happy to hear this, and she hugs her husband, thanking him. Elsewhere at Count Grind's estate, a group of masked noble ladies is seen meeting, and one of them is Holt's second wife, Jessica. The leader of the group is none other than the demon lady, who is slowly gathering her power. She offers the ladies drinks, telling them that it is the new Jade Dream, and the moment they drink it, their whole body will start to glow. Unknown to them, the drink is none other than her blood, and knowing fully well that women will do anything to obtain the glass body, she uses this to her advantage. Once they have all consumed the drinks, she suggests that they start the day's game. Later on, the demon lady calls Jessica into her room to ask her questions about how Julia survived the bandits' attack. In Jessica's story, she tells the lady that it was Julia who defeated the bandits because she received a level 7 blessing. This is when it dawns on the lady that Julia inherited Miranda's family talent, but at the same time she doesn't think it is possible for a level 7 to defeat the bandit leader. The lady then asks Jessica if she would like to kill Catherine and her daughter so she can become the Baroness. Jessica confirms this while asking the lady what she is supposed to do to achieve this. Just like the evil lady she is, she immediately crafts her insignia on Jessica, ultimately putting her under her control. Back at the academy, Teishi informs her classmates that they are going to be continuing combat training that morning, and Kai and the others complain about how tedious the whole thing is. One student reveals that his whole body is sore, and another dude reveals that he couldn't even sleep all through the night. Teishi admits that the training is cruel, but she lets them know that it is all to improve their abilities, and because of this, she urges them to do their best. Meanwhile, Lucas's roommates are all fine, and they immediately assume that they are fine because they are tougher than anyone else. Unknown to them, they are hale and healthy thanks to the tranquility incense that Kai used in the room. Even Teishi assumes that Lucas and his classmates have good stamina because they all look fine. Moments later, training begins, and Kai pairs up with Lucas. Kai charges at him as usual, but Kai easily pushes him backwards. The spar between the two continues, and Kai believes that he is holding his own, but little does he know that Lucas is really holding back against him. As the fight continues, Lucas notices that there is someone watching him from a distance. It turns out that he is right because there is an old man sitting under a tree in the distance, and he is watching everything that they are doing. Kai notices that Lucas is distracted, and he tries to use this opportunity to land a strike, but Lucas's reflexes are way above his level, and he easily dodges the punch, causing Kai to crash to the ground. However, Kai gets back on his feet, saying the fight continues until there is a definite victor. Lucas gets back into position, and he accepts the challenge. It turns out that the old man who was watching Lucas is known as Otani, and on his way back to the library he runs into Mina, who offers to walk him, but he refuses the gesture. It turns out that Otani has already figured out that Lucas is hiding his true abilities, and because of this, Otani decides that he is going to continue monitoring Lucas. Hours later, they finally get to finish combat training, and fortunately for them, Sigelt had taught them massage techniques. Thanks to this, everyone is able to relieve their tense muscles, and Lucas believes that this is a good deal, because everyone else will forget that only he and his roommates were energetic in the morning. Lucas then decides that it is time for him to build his new training ground. But to do this, he figures out that he needs to buy materials for the training ground. Apparently, the school's magic shop has a lot of rare items that are not readily available to the general public. Upon entering the shop, Lucas is impressed by how spacious it is, and he compares it to a shopping mall. Lucas looks around and realizes that the items in the shop are a bit expensive, and given how things are, there is the possibility that he is going to be spending 100 points a month. Even though Julia gets tons of points, Lucas knows that he can't always rely on her because if her allowance runs out, it will be very bad. Lucas then decides to buy only magic potions for the day. And the next time he comes, he is going to exchange materials stored in Uru's cave for points. The attendant is busy sleeping when Lucas shows up at her desk with a bunch of items, telling her that he wants to buy them. After checking out the items, the lady reveals that the total cost for everything is 5 points. The lady notices that Lucas is from the martial arts department because of his uniform, and since they can only spend 10 points, he is already using half of the points all at once. After Lucas is done paying, he proceeds to leave, but as he reaches the door, the lady urges him to be careful with his spending, because he might just regret it later. Lucas just smiles at the lady, telling her that the things he bought are not even enough, and he is still going to come back to buy more. At the same time, the lady is surprised that Lucas bought a lot of potion items when the martial arts class doesn't even make them. She wonders how Lucas is going to use the items, but she just assumes that Lucas is spending recklessly because he is a noble. Later on, Lucas makes his way to Uru's cave, and he mixes the potions in a bath to soak in the medicinal effects. After he is done bathing, he realizes that there are still a few effects left, and it would be wasteful to throw away the water. At the same time, he can't just feed someone bathwater to drink. After stepping out of the bath, Lucas is thinking about his next move when he senses something weird behind him. He turns around to see that Uru is drinking the bathwater, and before he knows it, Uru has finished it. Lucas is initially disgusted, but then he pats Uru on the head, telling him that the water would actually strengthen his body too. Uru excitedly thanks his master before revealing that he wants beef. Lucas is just glad that the bathwater issue has been solved, and he plans to exchange the materials in the cave for points during low traffic hours. He also plans to hide whatever tools he bought at the materials shop near the dorm. After this, he plans to transport them to the cave at night. When Lucas bought the training dummy, he easily lifted it on his arm even though it was heavy, and the attendant offered to help him move it with magic. The teacher waves at him, calling him a good boy, while urging him to come back anytime he wants. Lucas has managed to escape suspicion because the shop attendant believes that he got the materials from his family. Not long after this, Sigelt is seen scolding his students for slacking off, reminding them that the taming tournament is the next day. He tells them that they are free to drop out if they are not ready for training. Sigelt walks around the training ground giving advice to the students he believes are lacking. He scolds Kai, telling him that he is so weak, but Kai argues, saying he has actually beaten Lucas, Sharp, and Collins. This only earns him another painful flick to the head to send him crying to the ground. Sigelt then turns to Kai's roommates, telling them that he is disappointed that they even lost to a weakling like Kai. Unknown to him, Sharp and Collins intentionally lost because of the money they were getting, and Lucas just didn't want any trouble. To curb the situation, Sigelt tells Teishi to spar with Kai. Kai excitedly walks to the training ground, telling Teishi that he has no intention of holding back because he is going to prove to her that he is more suitable to be the class representative. The spar begins, and Kai makes his move, blindly charging toward Teishi. Kai believes that he has landed a hit, but to his surprise, Teishi easily dodges and lands a counterattack on his belly. Kai then frantically throws a straight kick at Teishi, but this only earns him a counter kick to the head, resetting whatever trash sits in his brain. Kai still wants to fight back, but Teishi shows him that she is above him by smacking him into the wall with a palm strike. When the other students see how capable Teishi is, they finally understand why Sigelt chose her as the class representative. Sigelt then tells the class that they need to give it their all because magical beasts won't show any mercy to them. On the other hand, Lucas has already analyzed the fight, and he realizes that Kai went all out from the start without any defense, which is what Teishi exploited to beat him. After the sparring session, Teishi walks up to Kai to ask him if he is fine. However, Kai remains silent, and Sigelt figures out that he is pissed. Sigelt then tells the students that they are required to tame at least one magical beast during the tournament because failure to do this means they are out of the martial arts department. As Sigelt leaves the training ground, he tells the students to stay and train till nightfall. After his departure, Lucas walks up to Kai. And before Kai can say anything, Lucas lets him know that his defense is completely lacking. Lucas lets him know that if he fixes the bad habit and attacks the enemy's weak points, he is going to be fine. Suddenly, Kai tells Lucas that he is getting it all wrong. Kai boldly reveals that he has fallen for Teishi because she is the first girl who has kicked him in his entire life. He adds that Teishi's moves are also cool, and because of how much he has fallen, he has even thought of names for their kids. This is when it finally dawns on Lucas that Kai is a hopeless masochist. The next day, the students report to the arena, and they are blown away by how big the arena is, leaving them to wonder just how many magical beasts are being kept there. Kai almost crapped his pants when he realized that there are literal terrifying beasts roaring below them. Meanwhile, Greg's students are pissed that martial arts students are allowed into the venue. They start trash-talking the martial arts students, but Sigelt stands up for his students, telling the fellows to drill the tournament rules into their heads instead of thinking about unnecessary things. Lucas is surprised to see Sigelt actually standing up for the martial arts students. Kai, on the other hand, talks about how nervous he is, but Lucas assures him that he is going to be fine. He tells Kai to think of the magical beasts as Sigelt, but Kai is confused when he hears this. Lucas explains to Kai that he should think of Sigelt when fighting the magical beasts. Kai is excited when he hears this, and he talks about how pumped he is. Meanwhile, Sigelt can actually hear them, but he doesn't mind. Lucas continues with the advice, telling Kai that low-level magical beasts can't break through his defense, and if he can focus on defending, he is definitely going to win. Kai accepts the advice, assuring Lucas that he is not going to make the same mistake he made while fighting Teishi. When Sigelt hears this, he realizes that Lucas is actually pretty good when it comes to giving advice. Moments later, the examiner shows up, and he tells the students that whoever tames 10 magical beasts will receive a perfect score. He adds that points will be deducted accordingly for those who kill any beast. He mentions that the time limit is 10 minutes, and if anyone gets injured during the test, they are to scream loudly for a teacher outside the arena. Once he is done explaining, he kicks off the tournament, telling the first group of competitors to enter. Julia is the first to enter, and she realizes that the test area is covered with a space barrier. She finally understands how they were able to fit 50 magical beasts in such a small building. The moment she steps into the area, the beasts are already roaring at her, but Julia is excited to take them on. She dashes at the beasts, unleashing a wave of lightning at them. Meanwhile, on the outside, the examiner tells the students that the beasts used in the taming tournament are coated with a special magic potion, and the moment the beast submits, vivid smoke rises from its body. The teachers outside the barrier make use of magic circles to sense the situation inside, which allows them to track each student's taming count and assign scores accordingly. 3 minutes later, Julia steps out of the exam venue after getting a perfect score. She immediately runs up to Linda, who tells her that she is amazing because she finished in just 3 minutes. Julia then reveals that she would like to check on her brother. She asks where the martial arts venue is located, and Linda reveals that they will be holding it at venue 10. However, Linda lets her know that the martial arts students will enter last, so it might still take a while. Since this is the case, Julia decides to go get snacks first. Meanwhile, Iwa is eager to see if Lucas will do something extraordinary just as he did at the entrance ceremony. 2 hours later, the martial arts students are still waiting, and Kai talks about his worry. However, Lucas lets him know that there is nothing to worry about because in terms of actual ability, martial arts students are not inferior to the mage classes. Sigelt hears this, and he gets off his seat to clap for Lucas, then tells the rest of the students that they don't have to look down on themselves. He adds that the reason no one has been injured so far is that level 1, magical beasts can't hurt humans. Sigelt adds that martial artists are superior to low-level mages in terms of physical strength and close combat ability. The students are surprised to see Sigelt encouraging them, which is quite weird. Teishi also shows up, revealing that she has gone to check, and no one is injured. She mentions that most people are just exhausted from using too much magic power, and in addition, she reveals that she picked up some important information. Apparently, the beast's movement range is restricted by barriers so that the students won't get surrounded, and if one thinks they can't win, they can just run from the spot and look for weaker beasts. Teishi lets them know that they are definitely going to score points if they manage their stamina and take it seriously. The students are happy to hear this, and they start hailing their class representative, calling her the best one ever. Deep down, Sigelt is pleased that he chose Teishi because it appears to be the right call. Just then, Greg shows up to mock the class, telling them that they can only get grades by using trash methods. Sigelt is surprised to see Greg, and he asks him what he is doing there. Greg scornfully reveals that he is there to tell them that the martial arts department will be entering shortly. As he walks away, he mocks the students, telling them to work hard because the department might just disappear. He even adds that he doesn't mind if the martial arts department disappears because the department shouldn't have been established in the first place. Lucas is pissed when he hears this because he sees Greg as part of the same people who bullied him in his past life. Lucas then gets off his seat, and he tells Siegelt that he would like to enter the venue first, since he was ranked first in the class at the entrance ceremony. Siegelt lets him know that he can actually have someone else go ahead if he is nervous, but Lucas insists that he wants to be the first to enter. Lucas assures them that he is definitely going to get excellent results to take a dig at those who mock the martial arts department. The rest of the class is glad to hear this, and they cheer Lucas on, telling him to get it done. Siegelt was impressed to see this because the students had completely changed from their timid selves. 10 minutes later, Lucas enters the venue for the exam, and the moment he steps in, he realizes that there is a detection magic circle hanging above the space. He figures out that if he avoids the detection circle while he is moving, he won't have to worry about the teachers knowing what is happening inside the barrier. Lucas also knows that the moment a beast recognizes one as its master, their souls connect, making communication possible. This also allows for the temporary use of the beast's abilities. Uru is playing around in the cave when he notices that Lucas is using his power even though he is substantially stronger than Uru. The moment Lucas clouds himself in Uru's aura, the magic beasts start running for their lives, believing that they are under attack from a high-level magical beast. It turns out that it is Lucas's plan to mentally corner the magical beasts to crush their will to fight. And this is going to be possible by making them think there is a high-level magical beast in the area. Lucas is glad that Uru's power is coming in handy, which is ultimately causing the magical beasts to submit pretty easily. However, Lucas is not ready to step out until he makes all of the beasts in the venue submit. In addition, he blocks the magic potion smoke from leaking outside. After making an owl beast submit, Lucas tells it that they are going to see each other again later. But deep down, the beast is already crying because it never wants to see Lucas again. 5 minutes later, Lucas still hasn't gotten a point, and Kai is worried that Lucas might not be able to get it done. However, Julia shows up, telling Kai that he has nothing to worry about because Lucas will definitely get a perfect score just like she did. Seeing how things are going, Greg quickly rides the moment to make fun of the martial arts students, telling them that they are too weak to even beat the lowest level magical beasts. Greg says this is exactly why mages are superior, but Julia cuts in, telling Greg not to make fun of her brother. She admits that her brother might not be able to use magic, but he is definitely amazing. Greg is surprised to hear a mage defending a martial artist, and he believes that Linda's poor judgment is already rubbing off on her students. Greg then tells Julia that she might argue all she wants, but in the end, the result will speak for itself. Just then, the announcement comes on, telling everyone that Lucas has earned 1 point. Kai is glad to hear this because this means Lucas will be able to remain in the martial arts department. Greg still mocks them for celebrating 1 point because the highest point his class got was 5 points. Suddenly, the announcement comes in that Lucas has successively earned 4 more points, giving him 5 points in total. Greg almost loses his mind when he realizes that a martial arts student just got the same 5 points as the highest score in his class. Meanwhile, in the venue, Lucas figures out that he has been able to intimidate all of the beasts, which means his classmates can easily score points. Since he is done with this, he concludes that the last thing on the list is getting a perfect score. Lucas then runs a rampage against the beast, easily taming all of them until he gets the perfect score, which is 10. Greg's mouth is left wide open when Lucas actually came out with the perfect score, looking really sharp. Julia celebrates her brother's win, but she is not entirely surprised because she knows the type of person her brother is. Julia then rushes over to hug her brother, who pats her on the head. Greg immediately raises an argument, saying there is no way a martial arts freshman can make 10 magical beasts submit. Greg then turns to Siegelt, asking him if he did anything to sway the result in his favor. Siegelt is about to defend himself when the chief examiner steps forward, asking Greg if he is trying to say that he is a crooked examiner who accepts bribes and condones fraud. The moment Greg hears this, he realizes that the examiners are people he would not want to have issues with because of how capable they are. Greg then swallows back his statement, saying he didn't mean it that way. He claims that what he meant was that during the entrance exam, the dummy doll broke, and Lucas was able to get a perfect score, which is quite suspicious. Since Greg is concerned about the integrity of the exam venue, the examiner suggests that they inspect the barrier space. Kai cannot believe that they are seriously holding a review because a martial arts student got a perfect score. Lucas then tells Kai that they have nothing to worry about and they are free to inspect all they want because he has nothing to hide. 10 minutes later, the examiner opens the barrier space and the beasts immediately make an effort to escape, but they are all restrained. The examiner admits that the beasts are agitated, but they are not weakened enough to change venues. One of the examiners then asks the chief examiner if it is true that Lucas obtained the points legitimately, and the dude says he couldn't find anything wrong. However, he knows that something happened with the magical beasts. Since there is nothing to see, the examiner suggests that they continue the tournament, while the 10 beasts that were defeated by Lucas are put under inspection. The examiner then announces that the exam continues. Lucas is disappointed that they didn't find anything wrong, but this was still not enough for them to believe in his capabilities. However, he is not worried because the real surprise is just about to begin, since Teishi and the other students will start entering after him. Teishi excitedly rushes into the venue with the determination that she can't lose to Lucas. Upon entering, she goes after the beasts, aiming to make them submit in 30 seconds. The moment the monsters see Teishi, all they can see is Lucas all around her, and they start panicking. Before Teishi even touches them, they have started submitting. Teishi cannot believe that a level 3 dark wolf submitted to her easily when she hasn't even landed a hit. Teishi wonders if it is a coincidence or if it is a sign that martial arts students aren't that weak, contrary to what people believe. Teishi then goes after the beasts, forcing them to submit, and in no time, she also gets the perfect score of 10 points. The martial arts students start celebrating because they just recorded another perfect score, and her time was even shorter than Lucas's. The examiners are confused when they see this, and they decide to send the defeated beasts out for inspection too. Teishi steps out with a smile on her face after remembering what Lucas said about the beasts not being scary. This then creates a sense of confidence in Teishi that martial artists are not inferior to mages. After Teishi, Sharp, and Collins also scored perfect scores, the streak continued with Kai too. In fact, by the end of the tournament, all of the martial arts students achieved perfect scores, ultimately claiming spots in the upper rankings. Sigalt lets off a short smile when he realizes that all of his students came out in flying colors. Later on, the headmaster learns that there were no abnormalities with the beasts, leaving them to wonder why it was only martial arts students who got outstanding results. The chief examiner then reveals his assumption, saying it might have happened because the beasts were frightened by the attacks from the mage class students who competed before the martial arts department. His counterpart adds that the tournament has been held for the past couple of years, and they have never recorded something like this before. However, it is important to note that this is the first tournament since the martial arts department was established. The examiner believes that the martial arts students' close combat confrontations with the beasts likely amplified their fear. Because of this, the headmaster suggests that they let the martial arts department compete first the following year. Nonetheless, he lets them know that the year's result will stand as it is. Greg bursts into the room arguing that this only means the martial arts department will push aside the mage classes and tie with the elite course for first place. The headmaster confirms this before asking Greg if he objects to it, and he nervously says no. However, Greg argues that it is unfair that the martial arts department is taking first place through luck. Just then, Otani, who is also present in the room, cuts in, saying luck is also part of one's ability. Otani tells the group that they cannot revoke the results, since it is not the student's fault. The headmaster agrees with Otani and tells the teachers and examiners to announce the results. Greg is totally salty about this, and he silently vows that he is going to remember what just happened. The headmaster then asks Otani to give his insight on the whole thing, since he is a level 9 martial artist, and he must have figured out the real cause of the whole thing. Otani then replies that he cannot say the details, but he assures the headmaster that it is not a bad thing for the school. Deep down, Otani has decided to keep quiet about Lucas's true strength, since this is what he wants. Elsewhere, Kai and the other martial arts students are seen celebrating because they all got perfect scores. Lucas tries to give all the glory to Sigalt, saying it is thanks to his special training. Apparently, Lucas does this to make sure that no one suspects him of anything. Kai then asks his friends what they are going to use their first place bonus of 20 points for. Sharp mentions that he is going to save it, since he still has to treat Kai to meals. Kai, on the other hand, believes that the right move is to buy high-level materials for next month's combat training. Lucas is surprised when Kai mentions combat training, and Kai explains that there is an event called Allen Tower. Apparently, this is called the school's unique trial grounds, and inside the tower is a phantom world with various races like magical beasts, beast people, and even giants. Since the beasts are phantoms, the students are not going to die, and they can use this to learn how to fight different races, which builds real combat strength. However, only 100 freshmen can enter, and all 12 elite course students already have automatic slots, meaning they have to find a way to secure the remaining spots. Kai explains that participants are chosen on the Taming Tournament rankings every year, and since they all got perfect scores, Kai is confident that they are going to be chosen. Just then, Sharp and Collins get up, claiming that they are going to the material shop to buy training equipment. When Lucas sees this, he realizes that the martial artists are vying to actually get stronger. This makes him even happier that he helped everyone get perfect scores in the tournament. Kai then grabs Lucas, suggesting that they go to the materials shop, but Lucas says no, revealing the pendant given to him by Sigalt. The pendant looks like a beast's tooth, and Lucas says he wants to examine it. Apparently, it is the only thing that was given to the first 3 who got perfect scores in the tournament. Kai teases Lucas, saying, if the order had been different, the pendant would have belonged to Teishi, and Lucas smiles, saying his luck is pretty strong. Kai then tells Lucas that he is heading to the materials shop to catch up with the others. Meanwhile, the mage department has found out that everyone in the martial arts department scored, and this pisses them off, especially those in Greg's class. One of the students, Lila, talks about their dream to stay at the top for 3 consecutive years and become the top class after the elite course. Lila is extremely mad because her dad has put in so much effort over the past 10 years. Another student shows up, totally pissed because the martial arts students have taken the spots for the Allen Tower event. One of the students tries to pacify his guys, reminding them that the martial arts students didn't cheat, but the dude claims that the martial arts department bribed the examiners. The moment he says this, he is able to sway everyone's opinion to the fact that this is possible. They remember that Kai is in the department, and since his family is filthy rich, they could have easily bribed the teachers. Another student with glasses, Andre, mentions that he just saw Sharp and Collins moments ago. He mentions that the two have bought the last training equipment at the school materials shop. He then tells his comrades that by the time the department is given their 20-point bonus, they are going to start stealing all the precious materials that are supposed to belong to them. Just then, Lila tells her comrades that martial artists' meridians are more fragile than glass. She suggests that they mess with them, and moments later, the trio corners Sharp and Collins. Sharp is the first to go down, and when Collins sees the injury on his back, he realizes that he has been poisoned, which will require immediate treatment. Collins then tells the trio that he is ready to hand over all of their points, but Lila knocks him down with a poison shot, saying they are not there for points. Collins then asks her why she is attacking them, and Lila reveals that she has a simple demand, which is for the two to crawl back to the martial arts department the way they are. Lila wants them to tell the whole class that their lives are worth less than weak insects. Hours later, Lucas and Kai are stuck looking for Sharp and Collins. They walk around the yard calling their names. Lucas is seriously worried, but Kai believes that the two are only running late. However, Lucas lets him know that the situation is pretty different, because this is the first time he has ever smelled such strong blood on the road they are taking. Just then, Lucas locks onto where the blood is coming from, and he dashes in that direction. Kai is surprised to see the dude suddenly running. Kai runs after him, and shortly afterward, they find Collins and Sharp bloodied in the bush. Anger immediately takes over Lucas, who starts demanding to know who did this to the two. Lucas quickly grabs the two to check on them, and with his last strength, Collins tells Lucas that they were attacked by Lila and her goons from Greg's class. The moment Lucas realizes that their meridians have been severed, his anger jumps the scale. Kai screams out in fear, but Lucas lets Kai know that they are still alive, but unconscious. Lucas then tells Kai to go find medicine while he tries to stop the bleeding. Kai acknowledges this and runs off, and after he is gone, Lucas reassesses the situation. He quickly figures out that their bones were shattered into pieces, which is clearly the bone-crushing technique used by black market assassins. Lucas immediately swears that he is going to destroy the perpetrators for using such a cruel technique on his roommates. He considers it attempted murder because what they did is in no way bullying. Lucas hears Sharp struggling to breathe while calling out to his mother. Lucas assures him that he has nothing to worry about because he is going to avenge him. Moments later, Kai returns with Taishi, whom he ran into on his way. Taishi is shocked to see the two unconscious, but Lucas assures her that they are not in any mortal danger. Nonetheless, he says they are going to have to rest for several days. Kai is glad to hear this, and he says they are lucky that Lucas was able to give them first aid. Taishi angrily reveals that she will be going to the student council the next day, but Kai thinks this is a waste of time because even the teachers are turning a blind eye to whatever happens to them. However, Lucas replies that he doesn't care, and the moment he says this, his expression totally changes. Taishi notices this, and she realizes that Lucas has changed from his usual gentle self into something scary. Lucas confidently declares that he is going to make sure he settles the grudge no matter what. The next day, Lucas heads to the student council room to tell Theod that they would like a duel with students from Greg's class. Lucas lets Theod know that an apology will be demanded if they win, but if they lose, they are going to hand over their S-rank bonus instead. Theod then casually replies that there is no proof that Greg's students are the culprits. He also asks Lucas if he is talking about the pendant when saying S-rank bonus. Theod throws down the pendant, saying it is worthless. Theod then suggests that they bet something more valuable if they really want a duel. Kai almost loses his mind when he sees the pendant on the floor, but Lucas stops him from overreacting, and he asks Theod what he would like them to put on the table. Theod wastes no time suggesting that they give up their Allen Tower qualifications. He mentions that the losing side will completely lose their entry into the Allen Tower, and Lucas immediately agrees to this. After coming to an agreement, the duel was scheduled for 2 days later, and this immediately attracted the attention of all the students. The freshmen who were not happy with the martial arts department securing Allen Tower slots wasted no time cheering for Greg's class. In fact, Greg also commends the trio who had attacked Sharp and Collins. Meanwhile, Sigelt remained silent all through, but made sure he intensified the combat training. On the day of the duel, the students are already present at the arena, and just as expected, most of the students are there to support Greg's class. Lila opens her loud mouth as usual, telling Lucas that there are many people watching, and he is free to back out before they are disgraced in the arena. Lucas simply replies that they have no idea how the match is going to turn out. The referee then tells both sides to prepare for the duel. Kai is the first to step into the arena to represent the martial arts class, and he is going up against Andre. Once the match begins, Kai makes the first move, and he dashes toward Andre, and Andre sets an ice attack, but Kai deflects everything. Andre is shocked to see this, and Kai makes fun of him, asking him if he has done his best. Unknown to Kai, Andre has already set a trap for him, and he is counting on the fact that Kai is a dullard. Before Kai knows what is happening, he suddenly finds himself trapped between giant ice spikes. And Andre confidently tells him that there is no escape for him. Andre then shrinks the ice spikes, piercing Kai's body, causing him to bleed. Andre starts to boast, telling Kai that this is what he gets for provoking a mage. Kai remains hanging from the ice spikes as Andre walks up to him, asking him if he is ready to surrender. On the outside, Lila wastes no time laughing at Kai for being trash. She even tells Lucas that she is going to spare his life if he quickly admits defeat. However, Lucas stares at him with a scary face, asking her how long she plans to keep trash talking before she is satisfied. In the arena, Andre has gotten totally close to Kai before he realizes that he is holding lava he got from the magical beast in the mountain range. Lila also sees this and she screams at Andre, telling him to run away. Before he knows it, an explosion emerges from the lava, but Andre manages to leap backward with no serious injury. However, this leaves him shaken up because he realizes that Kai is a crazy dude to have detonated the lava slime jelly at close range when he is also open to danger. Andre is still thinking about this when Kai appears behind him and cuts his underarm with his knife. Andre pushes backward in pain, but the audience is totally focused on Kai because his legs are completely charred. They can't believe just how crazy Kai is to have blown up his own legs to escape from the ice prison. It turns out that Kai is following Lucas's advice because he had already told him how to engage Andre in a fight. Meanwhile, Andre is still pissed that he got injured by a martial artist. Nonetheless, he believes that Kai has no way to escape again because his legs are already burned. Andre launches another long-range attack, but Kai meets it halfway with another bag of lava slime jelly. This leaves a loud explosion, leaving a cloud of smoke. Kai then uses this to close down on Andre, and he looks like a maniac while doing so. As he descends on Andre, all Andre can see is a terrifying madman coming for him. He screams out as he frantically shoots out an ice barrier, but Kai punches through it. As he reaches Andre, Kai smiles, telling him that he hates ice users because they always slip up at the end. Andre screams like a baby, telling Kai not to come near him, but Kai delivers a powerful headbutt to shatter Andre's glasses and then knock him out. Andre flies through the arena and ends up crashing into the wall. Andre cannot believe that Kai actually destroyed his ice shield with brute force. At the same time, Andre is surprised that he is losing to a mere martial artist. With this, Kai comes out on top as the winner. Kai walks back to Lucas, talking about how impressive he is. Lucas then throws him a recovery potion, and Kai mentions that he has been in peak condition since the start of the day, but he doesn't even know why. Unknown to him, he is operating on an optimal level because Lucas slipped a homemade ability enhancement drug into Kai's morning breakfast. Since Kai has won his match, the next to enter the stage is Teishi, and she will be going up against Lila. Kai is worried, and he asks if Teishi will be fine. Lucas assures him that he has nothing to worry about because as long as it is Teishi, she will be fine. In the arena, Lila believes that Andre lost because he was holding back against Kai, since he is from the Taroi family. This only makes Teishi angry because she can't believe that no one is ready to accept the fact that Kai won through skill. Teishi is thinking about this when Lila hurls a surprise attack at her. Teishi manages to dodge the attack, but she knows for sure that she would have been torn to shreds if she had been hit. Lila then starts talking about how martial artists care about moral principles, but she lets Teishi know that mages only care about results. Lila launches another wave of attack, but Teishi is fully ready this time around. She easily breaks through everything Lila throws at her and closes down on her at full speed. Teishi hits Lila on the face, shocking her. She can't believe just how fast Teishi is, even though she is just level 1. Before Lila knows it, Teishi has grabbed her hand, while she is ready to school her on principles. Teishi squeezes her arm while telling her that martial arts value human life compared to trash mages. Before Lila knows what is happening, Teishi has delivered several fast blows to her body, and she is making sure to target the meridians. By the time Teishi is done with her, everyone is left stunned. Lucas is impressed, and he is glad that he wasn't disappointed by Teishi. Lila ends up passing out in the arena, and the second victory also goes to the martial arts department. It turns out that Lila even had poison needles with her, but Teishi never gave her the chance to use them. Apparently, Theod was the one who permitted it, and when Mina hears about it, she is pissed. But Theod downplays this, saying nothing bad actually happened. The whole arena is already in chaos, as no one expected the martial artist to be dominating. Even the third student who wants to go up against Lucas is worried because they are the ones getting humiliated. Nonetheless, he thinks he has a chance because of the dangerous technique he knows. Moments later, the third match begins, and Lucas's opponent dashes toward him at great speed. Apparently, he is trained in physical techniques, which is why he believes that he has a chance. In fact, he is confident that Lucas will not be able to track him down because of how fast he is. Teishi notices that Lucas is not moving, which means he is focusing on defense instead of recklessly attacking. Even though Lucas is not going to show his true abilities, he decides to see what his opponent has under the hood. Lucas shocks the dude by suddenly appearing in front of him with a punch aimed straight for his head. Lucas intentionally misses, allowing his opponent to leap backward. The dude then throws his knife into the distance. Fear creeps through the dude's body when he senses the scary aura coming from Lucas's body. However, the dude already has a plan cooked out. He activates his secret plan and recalls the knife he previously threw into the distance, and as it returns, it cuts Lucas on the neck, but Lucas doesn't even budge. The dude starts boasting about his bone-crushing technique, saying no one can withstand it. He goes after Lucas again because he sees that he is not moving, while boasting that he is going to shatter every bone in his body. Just as he gets close to Lucas, Lucas suddenly moves to the side, telling him that he is not going to go unscathed. The dude is shocked that his technique didn't work, and Lucas can still move. Meanwhile, Kai is worried that Lucas is still struggling, and he believes that something is wrong. Lucas's opponent then creeps up behind him, believing that he holds all the cards. Just as he is about to push his knife into Lucas's neck to finish him, Lucas grabs his arm, telling him that he has had enough, and it is finally his turn. Lucas then smashes the ground with one leg, releasing a cloud of dust to cover them. The dude gets scared when he sees the amount of force Lucas is able to generate with just one leg. With the dude in Lucas's range and the dust obstructing external vision, Lucas lets him know that he no longer has to worry about anyone seeing what is about to happen. The dude still thinks he has a chance, but Lucas slams him into the ground and stabs his hand with his own dagger. The dude screams out in pain, and Lucas asks him how he feels now that he is getting stabbed by the same weapon he used against Collins and Sharp. Lucas then continues punching him around like he is a toy, and it soon dawns on the dude that he can't use magic, which means Lucas's last attack severed his magical meridians. Realizing that he is going to get beaten to death, the dude quickly begs for his life, telling Lucas to stop. At this point, the dust has cleared off, and Lucas has no choice but to let him go. However, Greg cannot believe that the dude is conceding defeat because he thinks he can still defeat Lucas with his abilities. Sigelt is disappointed in Greg because he can't even see through the injuries that his student has sustained. Nonetheless, Sigelt is worried that the whole thing might become trouble for the department. With Lucas winning, the martial arts department wins the 3 matches, and the martial arts students start celebrating. Lucas is walking back to his friends when the dude suddenly attacks him from behind, aiming to push his knife into his neck. However, Lucas vanishes right before his very eyes and appears right behind him. Lucas then hits the dude on the neck with a special technique, and the moment Lucas does this, the dude realizes that something is leaving his body. The dude crashes to the ground, losing consciousness while wondering what Lucas just did to him. Lucas stands above him, asking him if he didn't know that he could also be counterattacked by the same technique. When Iwa sees what happened, she freezes in fear, and Julia notices this. She then asks her what the issue is. Apparently, Iwa recognizes the technique that Lucas just used as the Meridian Severance technique, which is an advanced technique from the ancient texts. It turns out that no martial artist in the Empire has been able to use the technique in the past 100 years. This further leaves her wondering just who Lucas is. After the match, the martial arts students are seen celebrating their win, and they finally have the bragging rights, calling mages cowards, who only rely on surprise attacks. The students are now confident that they have what it takes to challenge mages to a duel. Suddenly, Sigelt shows up, telling the students that they are already overestimating themselves because he has always told them not to get cocky. One of the students argues that they also won the taming tournament. Sigelt then tells the students that the department was only able to win because the magical beasts were under intense stress from prolonged attacks. Sigelt concludes that what they had was luck. However, he admits the duel was won through skill. But he says only those who participated in the duel have incredible talent. Since this is the case, he asks the group if they are willing to continue living their lives depending on the strong ones. Sigelt asks them if they are willing to remain weak and susceptible to attack, just like Collins and Sharp. He lets them know that they are never going to become strong if this is how they want to live their lives. As he walks away, Sigelt tells them that it would be better for them to quit immediately if that is how they want to live their life. Sigelt's words sink deep into the students, and as they all vow that they are going to get stronger to prove themselves. Lucas cannot argue against this because he knows that the teacher is right. It is good for them to have confidence as a martial artist, but at the same time, having confidence without training is no way to improve. Sigelt then runs into Linda, who commends him, saying he is starting to act like a proper homeroom teacher. Sigelt then says he is only doing this to prevent the kids from ending up the way he did. Sigelt asks Linda what she wants, and she shows him an envelope containing the details of what happened to Lucas's opponent. Apparently, his meridians have burst like a spiderweb pattern, which is similar to the ancient forbidden technique, Meridian Crusher. The dude is seen in the infirmary writhing in pain because he has lost all access to magic. The dude's father soon comes to the school, raging about how his son can never use magic again. He demands severe punishment for the perpetrators by disbanding the martial arts class. Just then, Sigel enters the room, telling the man that he is right to demand punishment against the perpetrators because the magic Lila and her goons used during the duel perfectly matches the one used on Sharp and Collins. Sigelt says this basically makes it clear that Lila and her friends are the culprits who severely injured his students. Sigelt then tells the headmaster to punish Greg and his students because they are the perpetrators in this situation. Greg is surprised that Sigelt is bringing up the issue at the weirdest possible time. Greg cuts in, telling Sigelt not to change the subject, saying they are currently discussing who is responsible for his student Break being hit with the forbidden technique. Sigelt then replies that it hasn't been confirmed to be the forbidden technique yet, since Meridian Crusher isn't something a rookie martial artist could possibly wield. The son's father secretly agrees with Sigelt because he believes that there is no way an incompetent person like Lucas, who was rejected by the gods, could control an ancient forbidden technique. Greg then argues that an advanced martial artist can actually wield the technique. And looking back at the whole thing, Greg says the only advanced martial artist at the arena was Sigelt. This immediately sparks the tension between the two, and Sigelt walks up to Greg, telling him that if he could actually use the forbidden technique, he would have used it on him a long time ago. The headmaster then asks Sigelt to explain Brake's current condition, and Sigelt says there is a possibility that karma caught up to him. Apparently Sigelt had asked Lucas about the whole thing, and Lucas maintained the fact that he didn't use a forbidden technique. Lucas then shared his own theory about the whole thing. Lucas says Brake had paid huge sums of money to learn methods of tormenting people from black market assassins. And because of this, he was famous in these circles as a problem noble child. Lucas then says a certain powerhouse from the underworld must have been scared that information from the underworld is at risk of leaking, which is why they took advantage of the duel to make a move. After sharing the theory with the headmaster, he also kind of believes it, but Brake's father is pissed that the whole situation is about to be swept away because of a rumor. Greg also claims that it is a hypothesis, and Sigelt agrees, but lets them know that it is more credible than saying a beginner martial artist used an ancient forbidden technique. Nonetheless, Sigelt says the possibility that someone capable of wielding such a technique was present. Sigelt then tells Greg that he might find himself in a bad spot if he ends up earning this person's resentment. Sigelt reminds Greg that the Meridian Crusher technique is a terrifying one that can instantly destroy even the most talented mage. Later on, Otani visits the library to check out books in a certain section, and just as expected, he realizes that the book containing the forbidden technique was recently used. In fact, the hand shape that Lucas used on Brake was the same as displayed in the book. Meanwhile, at the hot springs located in the mountain range, Lucas is carrying out a treatment procedure for Collins and Sharp. The two scream in pain as all the muscle fibers that have been lost in their bodies start to regrow. Lucas knows that they are in pain, but he can only wish they bear the pain a little longer because martial artists can use healing techniques just like mages. Days later, Holt and Catherine arrive in Dak Town, and Holt excitedly tells Catherine that they are going to see their children soon enough. However, they make their way to the Miranda estate first, and Catherine looks absolutely worried as she stands at the entrance. Holt asks her if she is fine, and she assures her husband that she is, but only remembers something about the past. Moments later, Catherine's younger brother, Cyan, rides out to meet them, and Catherine sheds tears because she has not seen her brother in a long while. 10 years ago, the Beastfold tribes launched a massive assault on the Empire's borders, and frequent wars broke out there. The people united to resist the Beastfolk armies, and after 3 days and nights of fighting, both sides had sustained heavy damage. It was during this war that the young knight commander, Holt Ryan, and the mage Catherine Miranda met. Since they faced death together, the two vowed that they are going to spend their lives together. However, Catherine's father heavily opposed the marriage, which in turn severed family ties, cutting Catherine off all contact with the Miranda family. Cyan expresses his disbelief that the children actually met at the academy for the first time. Cyan tells Catherine that their father heard a lot about Julia, who is said to resemble her from back then. Catherine is surprised to hear that her father actually acknowledged Julia and Lucas's existence. Cyan then suggests that Catherine come back because her father has always wanted to see her. Catherine is excited to hear this, but Cyan lets her know that seeing her, it means only her. Holt quickly figures this out, and he tells Catherine to go ahead to visit her family, since he is even going to the front lines. Catherine wants to argue, but Holt lets her know that it is fine because he is just glad that his wife can finally return home. He tells her that he will come pick her up when the campaign ends. When Cyan sees this, he realizes that Holt is really a good husband because he swallowed his pride and even secretly asked him for help just so Catherine can reconcile with her father. Even with all of this, their father still doesn't care because his daughter went ahead to marry a martial artist. Cyan wishes that someone would appear one day and dispel society's prejudice against martial artists. Back at the academy, Kai, Lucas, and Julia visit the cafeteria as usual. The rumor about an outside assassin attacking Brake has already spread across the school. Moments later, Kai leaves to deliver food to Collins and Sharp, leaving Julia with Lucas. Lucas soon notices Julia's new hairpin, and she reveals that it was Iwa who gave it to her, saying it is a gift from the Miranda family. Lucas is pleased to hear this, and he also figures out that the Miranda family is trying to get close to Julia since she is a genius mage. Lucas then urges Julia to get along well with Iwa for their mother's sake. Just then, Julia says she has to write to her mother to inform her that she is the class representative. She is in the middle of this when Mina shows up, and she congratulates her on her new position, saying she is definitely going to become the pillar of the school in the future. Suddenly, Iwa gets up from her seat, and she angrily walks out of the cafeteria. Some minutes earlier, Iwa had gone to Linda's office to complain about Julia's appointment as the class representative. Linda calmly explained to her that Julia surpasses her in every other aspect, which is why she believes that Julia is more suitable as class representative. Linda urged Iwa to understand the decision, But it appears that Aiwa cannot accept the fact that she just lost to Julia again. She is determined to prove that the teacher only chose Julia because she likes her. As she walks out of the cafeteria, Julia can see that she is angry, and she hasn't been eating properly either. Mina then asks Julia if she is close with Aiwa, and Julia says yes, since she is her roommate. Julia mentions that Aiwa's mental magic is amazing because she saw it for the first time. Mina admits that mental magic is rare, but before she continues her conversation, she activates a mute magic circle to prevent anyone else from hearing them. Mina then says mental magic users are a bit of a problem when they are smart because they are always hard to handle. Mina then tries to get into the conversation by talking about her wind magic, but Lucas can see through her, and he suggests that she get down to why she is there. Mina immediately figures out that Lucas is on her guard, but she believes she can have her way with Julia as long as Julia adores her. Mina admits that Lucas is perceptive, and she replies that she is going to be direct. She asks the two if they know about the dangerous place called the Magical Beast Mountain Range behind the school. She mentions that there's been a sort of ecological anomaly in the forest. Mina reveals that lower-level magical beasts have drastically decreased in number, and even magic crest leopard cubs that used to be everywhere have totally disappeared. Apparently, 3 days ago, the Empire's investigation team discovered a high-level magical beast's lair. Julia immediately reacts to this out of fear that they have discovered Uru's hideout, but Lucas is able to get control of the situation by coughing to distract Mina from what Julia said. Lucas then asks Mina if she wants them to do a field mission in the forest. Lucas also asks about the mission's difficulty, and when Mina realizes that Lucas is not serious about the whole thing, she reveals that they are going to get 100 points if successful. The moment Lucas hears this, he immediately becomes interested, saying he and Julia should be able to handle it. Meanwhile, at the Miranda estate, Catherine is having dinner with her brother and her father, Soa Miranda. Cyan cannot believe that his father is actually making Catherine stay in the guest room even though her room has been cleaned. This just shows how stubborn the old man is. In addition, Catherine hasn't even touched her food, making the whole atmosphere look like that of a funeral. Just then, Soa opens his mouth to address Catherine, and he says he has heard about Julia's incredible skill. Because of this, Soa mentions that he is ready to recognize her as his granddaughter, and Catherine thanks her father for this. Catherine then mentions that Lucas is also an excellent martial artist, but Soa replies that he doesn't really care. Soa says the only thing the Miranda family seeks is those with the talent to become holy archmages. When Catherine hears this, she realizes that her father would never change his mind about martial artists. Just then, one of the attendants enters the room, telling them that the investigation team that went to the Magical Beast Mountain Range has sent new information. Cyan and Catherine are both shocked to learn that an investigation is being carried out in the Magical Beast Mountain Range. Soa reads the letter, and the team informs him that a new area has been discovered beneath the den, but the danger level remains unknown. Cyan and Catherine immediately stand up to ask their father if something happened at the Magical Beast Mountain Range, because the school is close to the mountain range. Their father calms them down, reminding them that the teachers are at the school and even his subordinates are there, so nothing will happen to the kids as long as they stay quietly in the school. Soa steps out of the room, telling Catherine to wait until the matter is settled before going to see her children. Catherine acknowledges her father's order, but deep down, she is worried about her children. Back in school, Mina heads to the mission desk to accept the mission, but she is surprised to hear that the mission criteria have been changed and can only accept the mission if she has at least 5 members on her team. The dude reveals that the president of the student council was the one who changed the rule overnight because there was an anomaly in the cave within the mountain range. When Mina hears this, she realizes that Theod must have changed the conditions because he believes that Mina would fail to gather 5 people. When Lucas sees this, he realizes that Mina is not very popular, which is why it is hard for her to gather 5 people. It then dawns on him that this is the reason she has been cozying up to Julia since the entrance exam. Mina walks back to the two, telling them that they might have to abandon the mission, but Lucas tells her to leave recruiting to him and Julia. Mina thanks them for the help, and deep down she is already feeling bad that she is using them as pawns. Just as expected, Lucas recruits Kai to the team, and he excitedly accepts. Kai is even more excited to join because his parents just bought him some advanced equipment, and he is eager to try them out. Julia also goes ahead to recruit Maya, and when Mina sees the team, she can't believe that she is about to roll out with freshmen. Lucas then subtly asks Julia why she called Maya instead of Aiwa. Julia sadly replies that Aiwa is not ready to listen to her. Even though the team looks totally inexperienced, Mina is relying on her strength and that of Julia for the mission's success. She then suggests that they leave immediately because even with acceleration magic, it is going to take them half a day to get to the magical beast's den, which means they have to hurry. Some hours later, they arrive at their destination, and they can see the Empire's survey team flag on the outside, which shows that they are currently investigating the cave. Lucas, on the other hand, is glad that they didn't find Uru's cave, but suddenly, a monster appears above them. Before Lucas can make a move, Mina swings in, cutting down the monster with her wind magic. They are about to relax when another appears behind Mina, charging towards her. However, Kai jumps in to block the incoming attack with his shield. Kai then tells Mina to leave the close combat to him and Lucas. Lucas also swings into action and takes down a few monsters, telling Kai not to take all the praise. Kai immediately considers it a competition, as he asks Lucas if he can keep up with his speed. At the same time, Maya creates a water barrier, assuring the team that they can leave support to her. Mina is pleased to see that everyone is coordinating, which is exactly what she wants. Since Julia has been staying back, Mina tells her to have a go at the monster. Julia then cooks up a powerful barrier magic made from lightning, and it roasts all of the monsters flying toward them. Kai is totally blown away by how powerful Julia's magic is. Even Mina subtly says something, but when Julia asks her what she said, she claims that it was nothing. It turns out that Mina is already realizing that she underestimated Lucas and the rest of the team because they are actually up to the task. After clearing out the monsters, Maya takes her time to heal the team, and Kai, being Kai, starts glazing him, calling her a goddess. Maya blushes at this, but urges Kai not to exaggerate the whole thing. However, she would have basically lost her mind if Lucas were the one who called her a goddess. She soon gets the thought out of her head because it would be better for Lucas not to get injured in the first place. The team soon proceeds into the cave, and they are blown away by how huge the inside is. Mina provides lighting for the team, and as they go deeper, they realize that it even has a bigger space than they thought. Kai lets them know that with how big the cave is, a small-scale army can actually fit through there. However, Lucas believes that the cave is not a naturally formed cave, as it seems to have been excavated. Lucas tells them that the underground section would probably be crawling with magical beasts. Mina agrees with him, saying the deeper they go, the more dangerous it becomes. Moments later, a bunch of goblins show up, but before they can even reach the team, Julia fries them with her lightning magic. Mina figures out that the goblins have been underground for a long time and their vision has completely deteriorated. Moments later, Kai informs the team that he has a plan because they can't be sitting around, waiting for the monsters to come to them. Kai kicks his plan into action, and a little while later, Kai is seen running back to the team with a ton of monsters running after him. By doing this, Julia and Mina are able to set a trap for the monsters, and they easily wipe them out. Maya is blown away when she sees this, and Lucas agrees that the method is pretty efficient. He wonders if Kai is making use of the area of effect attacks that are common in games back on Earth, leaving him to think of the possibility that Kai is also a reincarnator. Basically, Kai lures the enemies to one spot, and the two overpowered ladies take care of them at once. Kai lets the team know that the technique is only possible because he is wearing advanced equipment. Kai makes fun of Lucas, saying he is already taking all the glory from him. But deep down, Lucas doesn't care about attention. However, thanks to Kai's suggestion, the team moved steadily, defeating magical beasts on the way, and they gradually approached the center of the dungeon. They even walk past a section that contains treasures. Moments later, the girls stand back to take a break, but Kai is enjoying the hunt so well that he just runs off so he can lure more enemies to them. Moments later, Kai returns with a bunch of monsters, but to his surprise, the team is no longer where he left them. Unknown to him, they have hidden themselves in an opening since Kai is not ready to give them a break. Kai is forced to run toward the entrance of the cave with the monsters chasing him. Lucas sarcastically says they have to sacrifice him since it's his own fault, and Julia says a prayer for the afterlife. Instead of following the sarcasm trend, Maya decides to be the fun guy at parties, saying she is going to save Kai no matter what. The others cannot believe that Maya is taking the whole thing seriously. Suddenly they hear a loud scream, and Maya believes that it is Kai. But Lucas lets them know that it came from the center of the cave. Lucas is confident that the survey team has found the dungeon boss. Mina suggests that they go check it out, but Lucas can smell blood in the thickest form coming from the center of the dungeon. Mina then gives the girls recovery potions to use, and in no time, they start moving again. Mina tells them that their strength might not even be needed because the survey team is enough to take care of the danger. Not long after this, they run into a horrific scene where the entire survey team has died. Fear grips Mina, and she tells the team that they have to retreat immediately. Suddenly, a scary minotaur appears out of nowhere, holding the survey team leader in its right hand and a giant axe in the other hand. The minotaur appears close to Mina, and she freezes in fear since she wasn't expecting a disaster-class monster to be in the cave. Mina watches as the minotaur makes a move to crush her, but Lucas is already rushing toward her. Lucas knows fully well that something is up because such a dreadful monster shouldn't be around the cave. Lucas then pushes Mina out of the way, ready to take the full force of the minotaur's blow, but suddenly, the axe gets stopped by a wall of ice. Julia rushes toward her brother, asking him if he is fine, while asking who cast the ice shield. Lucas then tells the team that the person who cast the shield is the dude getting crushed in the Minotaur's hand. The Minotaur is pissed that the dude got in its way. The team is also impressed that even though the dude is suffering from fatal wounds, he still endeavored to save them. The soldier then urges the kids to run and call for help from the Imperial Army because the ancient seal that was in the cave has been broken. Pissed, the Minotaur squeezes hard on the guy's body, causing him to scream before passing out. The Minotaur threatens to wipe them all out, but just as it seems that all hope is lost, the dude regains consciousness again, and he unleashes a massive ice wall to trap himself and the Minotaur. He then screams at the kids to run away and report what is happening in the cave. Lucas is gutted that he couldn't save him, but he promises to come back and avenge him. The team then starts running away. But as the dude dies, his ice trap weakens, and the Minotaur breaks free. Annoyed, the Minotaur prepares to consume the soldier for getting in his way. However, Julia stops this by hitting the Minotaur with a powerful lightning strike, while telling the Minotaur that the dude is a great warrior, not an insect it can treat however it wants. Mina then grabs the falling soldier with her wind magic and they dash toward the exit. Lucas decides to stay back, telling the team that he is going to hold off the monster. However, Mina doesn't think Lucas can do it because the Minotaur is a disaster-class beast. Lucas knows it won't be easy, and while they are still trying to escape, the Minotaur catches up. It hits the roof of the cave, causing massive destruction. Lucas turns around to fight, but Mina jumps in, saying it is her duty to protect everyone as the vice president. Lucas is impressed by this because he already assumed that she was a selfish girl, but she turns out to be braver than expected. Julia also stays back, saying she can't leave her brother and Mina behind. Maya then reveals that she already sent a message spell to Kai, who is at the cave entrance, to call for help. Since she's done this, she believes that it would be better if they all fight together. As they prepare to take on the Minotaur, Mina says they might not even be able to beat the Minotaur if they all work together, but Lucas urges them to believe. Lucas is the first to dash toward the monster with his chi-infused fist, saying there is no way they are losing to the monster. The Minotaur angrily swings at Lucas too, leaving a large hole in the ground, but Lucas easily dodges the strike. Lucas then goes after the Minotaur, delivering another powerful blow to its body, and Mina tells him to keep up the pressure so she can attack while it's distracted. The Minotaur is pissed that Lucas is giving it a big problem, but unknown to it, Julia has been cooking up a powerful strike. By the time she is done, she suddenly appears from above, with a warning to the Minotaur to stop bullying her brother. She hits the Minotaur with the big lightning, ultimately causing it so much that it screams out loudly. Lucas also uses the opportunity to punch the Minotaur in the weak points to keep its movement locked. With the Minotaur trapped, Julia hits it with a powerful spell, the Thunder Arrow Bell. Mina also joins her by hitting the Minotaur with a powerful spell, Wind Cutter. With the two combining their powerful attacks, the Minotaur coughs up blood and crashes to the ground. However, it lets them know that it is going to kill them once its legs heal. Maya then tells the Minotaur that she is not going to let this happen, and she hits the Minotaur with a water blast. Surprisingly, the Minotaur's legs have healed, and it makes fun of them, saying a little water doesn't hurt. The Minotaur gets even more aggressive, threatening to eat all of them. But Julia appears above, telling the monster that it will soon find out what happens when a body is soaked in water before getting shocked. Julia assures the monster that it is going to pay for killing the soldiers, and she hits the Minotaur with a powerful lightning strike. Thanks to the water, the lightning courses through the Minotaur's body, penetrating every nook and cranny of its body. Lucas is impressed when he realizes what his sister and Maya just did. With how powerful the attack is, the Minotaur cannot tank it, and it crashes to the ground, totally unresponsive. Lucas then jumps on the Minotaur, preparing to deliver the finishing blow. Suddenly, the Minotaur unleashes a massive dark aura from its body, forcing Lucas to leap backwards, while everyone watches in horror. Before they know it, the Minotaur is back on its feet, and it looks more dangerous than it was minutes ago. At the entrance of the cave, Kai senses the immense pressure coming from the cave, and this is when he realizes that the situation is critical. He quickly rushes off to call for help, while hoping his team members hang tight. As the Minotaur comes back to life, the demon insignia appears on its chest, releasing a massive shockwave. By the time it is done healing, the Minotaur looks like a scary demon, and Lucas realizes that things have gotten serious because his ears are bleeding just from the monster's shockwave. Lucas turns around to check on the girls, hoping that they are fine. To his dismay, Mina just used the last of her strength to shield the others. But even this wasn't enough, as they had all been gravely injured. Mina loses the rest of her strength, and she immediately passes out. To make it worse, Lucas sees his sister bleeding from the head and totally unresponsive. This immediately turns off whatever restraint he has, and he goes after the Minotaur with a powerful chi punch. The Minotaur tries to block Lucas's punch with its hand, but Lucas is already determined to kill the beast, and he easily shatters the monster's hand. Lucas doesn't stop there as he goes after the monster's second hand, shattering it too. However, the monster continues raging, and this is when Lucas realizes that the monster is really crazy because it is acting as if it can't feel pain. Surprisingly, the Minotaur regenerates its arms, and before Lucas knows it, the beast swings its giant axe at him. Lucas manages to jump backwards, saving himself from dying to the strike. Lucas soon realizes that he is coughing up blood, thanks to the monster's roar. The monster commends Lucas's strength before going after him again. Lucas is forced to run around the confined space, but this causes the Minotaur to start crashing into the cave. Lucas knows this is bad because the falling rocks would eventually fall on the girls. Just as predicted, one of the boulders goes straight for Julia, but Lucas is there to block it, saving his sister. The Minotaur then lets off another resounding roar that bounces off the rock wall, causing it to be more intense. Lucas tries to block the roar, but it is so intense that it crushes his insides. Lucas coughs up blood, causing him to be temporarily immobile, giving the Minotaur the chance to come after him with the intention of striking him down. However, the Minotaur's axe gets blocked by Lucas's strong defense, and he punches the Minotaur back. telling it that it can only say he is finished after he's made sure that it has beaten him. The punch from Lucas rids the Minotaur of its axe, and Lucas grabs it, dashing toward the beast with it. Lucas lets the Minotaur know that it will never get to lay hands on his comrades as long as he is alive. Lucas slashes the Minotaur's head with the axe, causing it to scream out in pain, but Lucas doesn't stop there as he continues to deliver vertical blows to the beast's body. Lucas cuts him so badly that he leaps behind it after he is done cutting him from the front. The axe soon gets broken, but Lucas doesn't stop there as he continues punching the beast in the hardest way. The Minotaur manages to grab him at some point, but before it can even crush him, Lucas breaks free with a dangerous technique that crushes the Minotaur's hand. At this point, all the veins in Lucas's body have turned dark, and he is looking like he has lost whatever control he has left of himself. Even though the Minotaur looks really dangerous, Lucas looks more dangerous as it dashes toward it with a punch. The Minotaur never learns, and it tries to block Lucas's strike, but Lucas breaks through as usual. Lucas continues the attack with a kick to the chest that destroys half its body mass. While delivering several blows to the monster's body, Lucas lets it know that he is definitely going to kill it. At this point, Lucas has lost every sense of humanity and control. The only thing he is thinking of is the monster in front of him and how to ultimately kill it. Before the beast knows what is happening, its upper body has been severed from its body, leaving it to wonder what just happened. The beast crashes to the ground, but Lucas is not about to pull back as he continues to tear it apart. The scream from the beast's pain soon wakes Julia and Maya, who are surprised that they are still alive. Julia looks around for her brother, only to see him stomping on what appears to be a dead Minotaur, and he looks like a complete beast while doing so. Julia is horrified when she realizes that her brother is losing himself, and she gets more proof of this when Lucas lets off a huge scream. It turns out that the insignia on the monster's chest is already feeding Lucas's anger, causing him to lose control. A moment later, a powerful demon emerges in the Hall of Wrath and it screams out in anger that it is back in such a filthy world. Apparently, the beast is Valsaba, the demon lord of controlled wrath, and it is pissed that the martial god previously defeated him. The demon lady, whose name turns out to be Gelsida, the demon lord above, also shows up in the Hall of Wrath. Gelsida is impressed that Valsaba finally awakened, and this is because of the key that they chose. Valsaba heads to his throne, and he asks Gelsida if Lucas really has the potential, but Gelsida doesn't give a definite answer. Valsaba then points out the fact that Lucas is trying to break free of Gelsida's restraints. Back in the cave, Lucas had almost lost himself to rage while punching the Minotaur to death. Julia quickly grabs him, begging him to wake up. Maya also hurls a calming spell at Lucas, but this doesn't work. Instead, Lucas prepares to launch a powerful attack, and Maya screams at Julia to get away because Lucas is about to land a full-power punch. As she is pulled away, she screams out, calling her big brother. Julia's scream and tears are enough to break through Lucas's anger. Julia and Maya watch in fear, waiting for what will happen. Fortunately, Lucas breaks through the demon insignia on his back, and he returns to his senses. The first thing he does is to apologize to Julia, and he urges her to step back a bit. Julia does as told, and Lucas takes a breath before activating a purifying technique that cleanses him of whatever has gotten hold of him. The amount of energy that emanated from his body also cleared out the remains of the Minotaur. Once they realize that Lucas is finally himself, Maya and Julia rush over to check on him. Julia asks him if he is fine, and he assures her that he is good. Julia talks about how scared she was, and Lucas assures her that he won't do something like that again. Thankfully, Kai's message came in at the right time, telling them that he had brought reinforcements. Back in the Hall of Wrath, Gelsida tells Valsaba that they don't need to rush because they need more trials with Lucas, and part of the trials she is talking about is killing Lucas's family, particularly Julia. Soon afterward, Lucas hears a voice calling him to wake up. He slightly opens his eyes to see his family members standing in front of him, but he looks around to see that he is not in familiar territory. Terrified, he unleashes a powerful punch to destroy whatever is in front of him. He soon realizes that his body is moving on its own, and he is getting consumed by the anger again. He screams out, calling his family members, and by the time he finally opens his eyes, he finds himself in the school infirmary. He had just punched Kai in the face, and Kai could not believe that he had just been punched by a half-asleep Lucas. Kai tells him that he would have whooped him if not for the fact that he was injured. Lucas apologizes for hitting the dude, and Kai walks away with a red nose. After he is gone, Lucas is left wondering why he had a dream like that. He starts thinking if the weird power from the cave is still messing with him. He also senses the feeling of losing control, which turns the dead bandit into a monster. It soon dawns on him that he actually lost himself because he allowed anger to control him. This leaves him wondering if there is anyone who can hold back their anger in the middle of a fight. Lucas starts thinking of a way out, and he figures out that he would just keep someone who can stop him nearby when a fight is about to break out. However, it dawns on him that the idea is trash because the only ones who would be with him in missions and training are students. He knows fully well that it is going to be dangerous to have them stop him when he is on a rampage. Just then, it dawns on him that the only way is to stop himself. Later on, Segalt is seen on his way to the infirmary. He hears two nurses talking about Mina, who was badly injured. The two talk about how Mina was left protecting two deadweights from the martial arts department. Suddenly, Sigalt senses the aura of an advanced martial artist coming from Lucas's room. Immediately he sees this, he dashes toward the room, leaving a strong wind behind. In Lucas's room, it turns out that he has managed to get the clone technique right. There are 2 other Lucases in the room, and he remembers from the book he read that a clone's strength tops out at half of the original. Basically, this means that if there are 3 clones of himself, the power gets evenly split, so each one of them has 1/6 of his original strength. Lucas immediately discards the idea and the clones because he knows that this is too weak if he ever goes berserk. However, he still believes that it would buy him time to escape. Just then, Sigalt enters the room, and he looks pretty serious. Sigalt then mentions the strange things that have happened since Lucas got to the academy. After listing them out, Sigalt comes out bluntly, asking Lucas what he is and why he came to the academy. Lucas takes a minute before nervously answering Sigalt, telling him that he has no idea what he is talking about. Lucas says the reason he came to the school is to learn martial arts and get stronger. Just then, Sigalt makes a move and he appears behind Lucas, ready to hit him on the neck, but Lucas blocks the attack. Sigalt stares at Lucas in a way to let him know that he has found him out, and he asks him what his ability is before that. Lucas acts dumb again, asking Sigalt what he means by his real ability. Deep down, Lucas knows that Sigalt is not a joke, and it would be nice if he had someone capable like him watching over him, but at the same time, Lucas is hesitant. Before Sigalt can do anything else or ask any more questions, Catherine shows up at the door asking Sigalt who he is. It suddenly dawns on Sigalt that it is the day off, and the parents are allowed to freely enter the campus. With a stern voice, Catherine tells Sigalt to step away from her son. Julia is with Catherine also, and she asks Lucas who the man is. Lucas quickly takes control of the situation, revealing that Sigalt is his homeroom teacher for the martial arts department. Lucas tells them that Sigalt was only giving him some coaching, saying one shouldn't take on a powerful enemy head-on. When Sigalt hears this, he realizes that Lucas is taking a subtle jab at him, and this is because he had noticed his mother coming from her footsteps. Catherine believes Lucas's claim, but suggests that he rest, since it is a day off. Catherine also turns to Sigalt, subtly suggesting that it is time for him to leave. Sigalt figures out that he has no choice but to leave, since he hasn't seen Lucas cause any trouble so far. After Sigalt's departure, Catherine reveals that she had to stay at the Miranda estate because Lucas and his team decided that the next thing on their bucket list is to risk their lives. Julia is surprised to hear that her mother has been in town for a couple of days, and tears roll down her face as she tells her mother that she would have loved to see her sooner. Julia jumps on her mother and starts hugging her in every possible way she can. The woman almost gets choked out, forcing her to beg Lucas for help. But Lucas is not about to stop Julia from enjoying herself. Lucas then asks Catherine if Holt is not with her. She reveals that the situation on the front lines is looking grim, and after he dropped her off at the Miranda estate, he went off to the front lines. It then dawns on Lucas that the Miranda family is willing to accept Catherine back, but they won't take Holt. Catherine then tells Lucas that his father told her to give him a present for taking first place in the entrance exam. She opens the box, and sitting inside is the treasured sword passed down in the Ryan family. Catherine reveals that the sword was damaged some years ago in a battle against the Beastman army, and they have not been able to repair it, which means it's no longer practical. Nonetheless, it is still a family heirloom. Lucas's eyes light up in joy as he takes the sword, and he assures his mother that he will do his best to keep it, so he doesn't betray his father's expectations. Deep down, Julia is jealous, and when the two notice this, they start smiling. Julia notices this and almost rips their heads off for smiling. Lucas then draws her closer, patting her on the head while telling her that their mother dotes on her the most. Just then, Catherine opens a small box containing beast pills, and Catherine tells Lucas that she brought them for him. However, she also baked sweets just for Julia, and the moment she sees the sweets, she immediately forgets that she was angry. She jumps up in joy, telling her mother how much she loves her. Catherine then brings out a letter meant for Jeremy. Catherine reveals that the letter is from their father, and he also prepared some pills for Jeremy. It turns out that Catherine took the pills to deliver because Jessica didn't follow them this time around. Julia takes the letter and says she will deliver it even though she doesn't like Jeremy. Later on, Julia heads to the boys' dormitory, and Jeremy's friends tell him that he has a visitor. The boys are shocked to see the genius Julia at their dormitory. When they later find out that Julia is Jeremy's sister, they start swarming around him, urging him to take Julia on a mission next time. This only pisses Jeremy off, and he slaps off the dude's hand. Jeremy walks off in annoyance and jealousy, leaving the boys to wonder what is wrong with him. Apparently, he is pissed that since he has been in the school, his father and mother have never come to see him once. But they came and even decided to give Lucas the treasured sword because he took first place in the exam. Jeremy is pissed that Lucas is getting all the love from everyone, and because of this, Jeremy vows that he is going to take back everything that should have been his. Before Julia and Lucas knew it, the fun time had gone by and their mother had no choice but to return to the Miranda estate because she would be staying a while in town before leaving. Even though Julia and Lucas know that they can't see their mother, they are happy that she's nearby. Mina, on the other hand, remained badly injured, but Lucas made a potion for her. He lied that it was from the Miranda family, and thanks to this, no one questioned the potion's incredible effect. Things continued smoothly, and 2 weeks later, the Allen Tower event arrived. While the martial arts students are busy celebrating the event, Sigalt shows up, telling them to quiet down. He lets them know that the tour of the tower is part of their education, showing the importance of the event. Just as expected, the mages started bad-mouthing the martial students the moment they entered the venue. Kai is pissed that they have started picking on them again, but Lucas urges him to calm down. Lucas knows fully well that not everyone likes the fact that they are around because most believe that they got lucky to have gotten the slots. In fact, the first-year homeroom teachers of the mage classes even complained to the headmaster, saying martial masters are not needed in the Empire. Because of this, they demanded that the martial arts department hand over their slots. But in all of this, Sigalt didn't seem to be worried. Lucas is left wondering if Sigalt really trusts the headmaster this much, or if he has something else he is relying on. Sigalt soon gathers his students to give them a pep talk, and he tells them that every year, the third years are the first to enter the Allen Tower to set an example for the new students. Moments later, the third-year students are told to get ready to enter the tower. It turns out that Jeremy is also part of those entering the tower, and he is glad that after 3 years of being at the school, he finally has a chance to enter the tower. Basically, this has been his own fault because he never ranked in the top 100 until that year. While they are preparing for their entrance, Julia shows up to cheer him on. While the other students are glad that the genius from year 1 is there, Jeremy couldn't even acknowledge his sister's presence. Julia is disappointed, but it turns out that she only did it because her mother told her to. As the students prepare to enter, Jeremy makes the vow to surpass Lucas. Upon stepping into the tower, the students are required to place their magic staff in front and then close their eyes. Jeremy recognizes the voice speaking to them, but can't recall where he heard it. It turns out that the person in the control room is Director Otani. Once everything is ready, Otani pulls his power together to open the tower. A golden light encompasses the tower, and Lucas immediately recognizes the fighting spirit of a martial artist. He is surprised that there is a stronger martial artist than Sigalt in the school. This is when he fully understands that Sigalt wasn't worried about their slots being taken, because the only one who can open the Allen Tower's doors is the strongest martial artist. Weeks earlier, the headmaster had a meeting with Otani, telling him about the complaints he was getting. He lets him know that there are loads of people demanding that he revoke the martial arts department's entry slots. To get a better grip on the situation, the headmaster asked Otani to tell him more about the anomaly. Otani replied that he already told him that there is no anomaly that can harm the school. Otani leaves the meeting, telling the headmaster to keep everything as it is, and he will open the Allen Tower as scheduled. This is when it dawns on the headmaster that if the martial department doesn't get a chance, nobody gets to enter Allen Tower. Now, in the present day, Jeremy lands in the Allen Tower, and he realizes that only his consciousness landed in the tower. However, everything looks so different because even his magic staff looks the same as the one he always used. His teammates notice he is looking around because this is his first time in the tower. Instead of supporting him, they just tell him to meet up with them so that they can continue the mission. Meanwhile, on the outside, Lucas has figured out that he can sense the mental energy waves so he can see what the students are doing inside. He sees how Jeremy's teammates are treating him and realizes that he is already getting picked on from the start. Sigalt sees Lucas sitting still, and he probably figures out what he is doing. He then decides to explain the whole process to his students. He tells them that when the trial begins, they are going to be teleported to a random location in space. He lets them know that they can decide whether to go solo or form a team. However, if they decide to form a team, the maximum number of people that can be on a team is 3 people. He tells them that they have to work in groups if they want to reach the upper floors. When Kai hears this, he automatically assumes Lucas will be forming a team with him, but Lucas breaks his heart, telling him that he is only teaming up with Sharp and Collins. Lucas says that based on the tournament rankings, the 3 of them will end up in different groups, but Kai can only think about how he is going to end up alone. Moments later, 3 of the third-year students step out of the tower. The first-year students are shocked because they didn't even waste time in the tower. Sigalt then continues his explanation, revealing that the phantom enemies inside Allen Tower change in strength based on the student's ability. He tells them that there are students who underestimate this and get knocked out right away. Lucas then decides to check out how Jeremy is doing inside the tower. Apparently, Jeremy has caught up with his teammates, and they are heading to the second floor. Upon arriving on the second floor, beasts launch a surprise attack from behind, but Jeremy quickly latches onto this, and he uses his power to grab them, giving his teammates the chance to finish them off. By defeating the beasts, they get a ton of points. This immediately tells the team that the rumor about the second floor being dangerous is true. Nonetheless, the team continues moving, taking down a bunch of monsters while earning points too. By working really hard, the team makes it to the third floor. However, they get knocked out on the third floor, and as they step out of the tower, Jeremy's teammate notices that he has been quiet. He asks him if he is not happy, but Jeremy replies that he is, and this is because he finally gets a feel of what his father usually feels whenever he is on the front lines. Because of this, he believes that he is now one step closer to his father. Hours later, Lucas figures out that he could use the mental energy sensing to see what is happening up to the third floor. Apparently, in the trials, phantom enemies with different characteristics appear each time, and even the same type of enemy gets stronger with each floor one climbs. Lucas wonders if the phantoms are created from real beings that exist in the world. And if this is the case, he wonders just how terrifying Otani's combat experiences are. He believes that Otani has also noticed his true abilities, just like Sigalt, but he can clearly see that they are quietly observing him. This leaves him wondering if it is goodwill or if he should be worried. Not long after this, Mina and her group gather to enter the tower. Apparently, the leading group managed to reach the 4th floor, and everyone is rooting for Mina's group to catch up too. Julia, being Julia, jumps up from where she is, cheering Mina on, telling her to do her best. Unlike Jeremy, she turns around to thank Julia. The teacher asks Mina if her injuries have healed, and she assures the teacher that she has recovered completely. The teacher then urges her to do her best, and the other students are amazed at how good she is with the teachers and even Julia. One student reveals that Mina is quite talented, which is why she became a VP in her 2nd year. They believe that her abilities are unmatched, except for the president back then. However, they know that she is not popular, and when Mina hears this, she realizes that they are bad-mouthing her already. In no time, Mina and her team make it to the 3rd floor. However, they dash through the floor, avoiding unnecessary fights just so that they can get to the 4th floor. Lucas is impressed that they made it to the 4th floor in 30 minutes, which is quite impressive for the strongest in the 3rd year group. Upon arriving at the 4th floor, they encounter elite beastmen that are about twice as big as the ones on the 3rd floor. It dawns on the team that this is why most of the students get knocked out on the 4th floor. Instead of sitting down and discussing with the rest of her team, Mina one-shots all of the monsters standing in her presence. By doing this, she realizes that the last mission has helped her abilities grow. She knows fully well that the monsters in front of her are nothing when compared to the Minotaur from the cave. After wiping out the first batch of monsters, Mina tells her teammates that she is going to leave the cleanup to them, while she searches for the passage to the 5th floor. As she continues her search for the passage, she encounters more monsters that she is forced to defeat. After a hard-fought battle, the team makes it to the 5th floor, blowing everybody's mind. Kai is impressed, and he wonders when he will get to reach the 5th floor. Sigalt lets him know that there is no need for him to rush, because making it to the 3rd floor is enough. Sigalt lets them know that if they steadily improve their abilities, the enemies on the 5th floor won't be scary. When Lucas hears this, he figures out that Sigalt has entered the tower before. Moments later, Mina and her team step out of the tower, and judging by how distraught she looks, Lucas could see that she couldn't achieve her goal. It turns out that Theod is watching from his office, and he mocks Mina for thinking she can surpass a genius like him. Later on, Julia, Lucas, and Mina meet in the cafeteria, and Julia congratulates Mina on taking 1st place in the 3rd year trial. Lucas also commends her, saying she managed to reach the 5th floor. Mina looks disappointed, and she mentions that she wasn't able to beat Theod's record. Julia is confused because she knows that Theod also finished on the 5th floor, which means that they are tied. Mina reveals that by the time she saw the stairs to the 6th floor, she was already exhausted. In Theod's case, he managed to climb the stairs and got as far as almost opening the 6th floor door. Because of this, Mina believes that she is still inferior to Theod in stamina, tactics, and magic control across the board. Mina then shifts the discussion from herself, asking Julia and Lucas if they have gotten a team. Julia excitedly reveals that she is teaming up with Iwa. Iwa had boasted that she was only teaming up with Julia because her father told her to. Lucas, on the other hand, believes that the Miranda family has fully acknowledged Julia's strength, which is why they are trying to get close to her. Lucas then tells the two that he is teaming up with Sharp and Collins. Julia is shocked when she hears this because she was expecting him to be with Kai. Lucas lets Julia know that their rankings are way apart, which is why they ended up in different groups. Even though Lucas has explained everything to Kai, he is still grabbing onto him, calling him a heartless traitor for leaving him behind. Kai is without a team, and while he is still crying about it, Teishi shows up, telling Kai that he can join her team because she is looking for one more member. The moment Kai hears this, he immediately jumps to Teishi's team. On the training ground, Sigil is impressed that everyone has found a team, and he tells them to get fired up because they are all aware of what people say behind their backs. Since they know the trash things that they are always saying behind them, Sigil suggests that they work to make sure that none of the insults come through. Teishi also motivates the team, saying they are going to work hard so that nothing goes the way the haters want it to go. The others join her, saying they are going to prove that they earned the Allen Tower entry slots. Lucas is impressed by how Sigil has managed to motivate the team, contrary to the trash that has been flying around. Sigalt's motivation worked brilliantly as the team started working hard in training. During breaks in training, Sigil would explain things that they needed to know. In fact, Sigil sometimes played the enemy himself and sparred with the students. Even though the training was brutal, no one complained because they all knew what they were training for. Finally, the day of the freshman trial arrived. The school is informed that the martial arts department will be participating in the trial because their results in the monster taming tournament are valid. The martial arts department then gathers to listen to Sigalt's speech before entering. He tells them that once they enter, the first thing they should do is meet up with their team at the central stairs. He tells them to run if they can, and if they can't, They should fight like their life depends on it so that they can at least take down an enemy. When the mage students hear this, they start making fun of the martial arts students, saying that even their own homeroom teacher doesn't trust their strength. They are even excited to see what is going to happen to the martial arts students when they run into magical beasts. They are all confident that the entire martial arts department will be wiped out in 3 minutes. This time around, Kai isn't pissed or agitated, and Lucas is pleased to see that the dude has grown a bit. Once they are ready, the examiner calls on all 12 students to step forward. Watching everything from behind the scenes is Otani, and he believes that it is time for the legacy left behind by the war god to finally fulfill its purpose. With this, Lucas leads the line, and the students march into the tower to face the first great trial of their lives. Upon entering the space, Lucas realizes that everyone is following Sigilt's instructions to avoid enemies and head for the central stairs. Lucas then figures out that he just has to go the opposite way. Apparently, most of the first floor is filled with goblins, and these monsters use magic to block the enemy's vision before they fight. Lucas soon notices where the goblins are, and he tells Sharp and Collins to wait for him. He lets them know that he wants to run a test, but he assures them that he is going to catch up very soon. Lucas then unleashes his clone to take down a goblin. But just as he suspected, he didn't gain any points from this. He figures out that the energy making up the phantoms in the tower is the same as the energy he is using to create his clones. This immediately tells him that the phantoms are being created by the martial artist who opened the tower. Since the energy is the same as his clones, he figures out that using a clone shouldn't get noticed. Lucas concludes that he is going to use a clone to protect Sharp and Collins while his real self continues moving through the floors. Just then, it dawns on him that he can actually change a clone into a magical beast. He tries it out, and just as he suspected, it works out pretty well. His clones turn into goblins, and Lucas smiles because he finally has what it takes to move freely in the tower. When Otani realizes that Lucas has managed to master the cloning skill, he is blown away by how fast he is. However, he is interested in what Lucas plans to do. He wonders if he is going to rack up points for his classmates just like he usually does, because helping them every time will definitely be detrimental to their growth. Later on, some of the team members get surrounded by 3 goblins and a giant, posing a big problem because the highest they can handle at their level is just 2 goblins. Just then, one of the students got the tip that the goblins have poor intelligence and they move slowly. The dude then suggests that they put some distance between them and the giant, which will give them the chance to take out the goblins. The team kicks their plan into action, forcing the goblins to chase them down. Just when one of them is about to get overwhelmed, another dude swings into play. They attack the goblin, pushing it down. They manage to get themselves together, but the goblins keep coming, and they manage to impale one of the goblins, thus killing it. The kids are surprised to see this, and it dawns on them that Sigilt is right because if they work together, they can actually clear the first floor. Building on the momentum, they go after the other goblin too. Standing in the distance is Lucas, who is watching their every move, and it turns out that the goblin they just killed is one of his clones. Basically, he is doing this to train them so that they can understand just how fun fighting is. Some minutes earlier, Greg and his team of haters had seen the martial arts team get surrounded by monsters. Because of how much they hated the martial artists, they already assumed that they were going to die. Greg is confident that the students are just going to embarrass themselves, but by the time the students win, Greg almost loses his mind. It soon dawns on Greg that the tide of the game has turned. In the tower, the martial arts students have gained more confidence and are going after goblins without fear. By working together, they push the goblins back and finish them off. When Greg realizes that the students just took down 2 advanced goblins, he is left fuming. Sigilt, on the other hand, is pleased and he uses the opportunity to motivate the others. The rest cheer up in agreement, but the mage class students still believe that it's nothing but luck. Suddenly, they notice a strange energy vanish around the team that just took down the goblins, and Sigilt wonders if Lucas has pulled off something again. Later on, Lucas meets up with Sharp and Collins, and the two are happy to see him because they were already getting worried. Lucas mentions that he got teleported far away, and he asks if they have seen anyone else. The two tell him that there is still a team that hasn't arrived yet, but aside from this team, everyone else is already at the meeting point. When Lucas meets with the rest of the team, he realizes that they are a bit tired, but no one is seriously injured. Lucas knows that the team that defeated the goblins will be showing up very soon, and he tells the team that once everyone is accounted for, they should proceed to the second floor. On the outside, their haters don't want to acknowledge the fact that the martial arts department is doing well for itself. They all assume that the team is running from enemies, which is why they made it to the second floor. Greg almost bites down on his tongue, trying to understand how the whole team managed to reach the second floor, because all first-year mage students usually drop out on the first floor. Because of how things are going, Greg knows fully well that the martial arts department will soon grow to become a threat to the mages. Upon arriving at the second floor, the team gets teleported randomly, and this depends on the group's performance. Apparently, the stronger the team, the tougher the trial gets. To avoid casualties, he sends out his clones so that they can quickly locate the other classmates. His clones move out in the form of wolves to find the others. Sharp and Collins soon show up, asking Lucas how he is faring. Lucas reveals that there are a lot of enemies, and to make it worse, they are moving in groups. Sharp confirms this, saying it is pretty hard to completely avoid combat. Lucas then reminds the two that the whole trial is meant to give them combat experience. Collins agrees with Lucas, saying running away would just defeat the purpose of the trial. Suddenly, an enemy launches a surprise attack from above, targeting Lucas. The attack lands, leaving a cloud of dust as his teammates scream out his name to confirm if he is fine. When the dust clears off, Lucas remains unharmed, and he assures the two that he is fine. Collins is surprised that Lucas was able to dodge because he couldn't even sense the enemies coming toward them. Sharp adds that he would have been dead if he were the one. A battle immediately ensues, and the team maintains its stance when engaging the enemies. After defeating one of them, Lucas tells Sharp and Collins that they need to take out the first batch of enemies because if they don't, they are going to get swarmed by the main force. Suddenly, Collins starts to panic because he lost his dagger while he was shaking in fear. While they are distracted, another enemy approaches, but Lucas is able to warn them in time. Sharp blocks the attack, but the monster steals his weapon from his hand. This reminds him of what Sigelt said about the monsters on the second floor being completely different from the first floor. The enemies are basically stronger and smarter, giving them the capacity to launch surprise attacks and even steal their weapons. Instead of being scared that his weapon has been stolen, Sharp is actually motivated to teach the monsters a lesson. Suddenly, the monster gets attacked, and it turns out that Sharp had gotten himself a gauntlet before entering the tower. Sharp then dashes toward the monster while letting it know that no one rivals him when it comes to strength. Sharp almost lands the hit, but the monster manages to leap backwards, dodging the strike. However, this turns out to be a well-laid-out plan by Sharp and Collins. Collins meets the monster halfway and cuts it from behind. While the monster is still crying from what Collins did, Sharp finishes it off with a powerful punch to the chest, ultimately winning the battle. Lucas is impressed, and he commends the two's teamwork. Lucas has already defeated his own monster too, and he suggests that they continue moving forward, all for the glory of the martial arts department. On the outside, Greg can't believe that none of the martial arts department students have dropped out. Greg knows that they should have been surrounded by monsters the moment they reach the second floor, which is a mystery of how they are still alive. The mage students have started cooking up assumptions, saying the Allen Tower difficulty was lowered because the martial arts students are pretty weak. However, one believes that this is not the case because the teachers would have complained by now. Meanwhile, on the second floor, Lucas and his team are busy taking on monsters without fear. They go against skeleton monsters, wolves, and the like. Even when the monsters appear to be dangerous, none of the team members backs down. Whenever one loses track of the enemy they are fighting, there is always a teammate to cover up for their lapse in judgment, showing just how crazy their teamwork is. Shortly afterward, Collins and Sharp start talking about how they are already getting tired. When Lucas hears this, he subtly engages the hero's battle cry to release a surge of energy into the two to keep them going. Apparently, the technique is exclusive to the Ryan family, and with this, Lucas believes that they should be able to clear the second floor together. Not long after this, a monster suddenly launches a surprise attack on Collins and Sharp. The attack catches them off guard, giving them no room to move. Just as they are about to be crushed, an arrow flies from behind them, taking out the monster. The assistance turns out to have come from another student from another team. Simultaneously, the teams take down their enemies, gaining a ton of points in the process. Following the momentum, the team believes that they can actually make it to the third floor. Moments later, Greg realizes that everyone on the team has reached the third floor stairs, and he almost pisses his pants. Even the other teachers have started talking about this, saying the martial arts department students are moving as if they are not freshmen. Before they know it, they are already praising Sigelt, wondering what he taught the kids. Suddenly, Greg lets off a huge smile, saying that not everyone will reach the third floor because they are already at their limit. He confidently mentions that they will have no choice but to forcibly eject from the tower. Just as he said, the students are already tired as they reach the stairs. In fact, some are about to collapse, forcing their friends to grab them. Collins is among those who are totally exhausted, and he suggests that they leave him and continue the journey. Before Lucas knows it, others start to fall down, urging Lucas to make it to the third floor for them. Surprisingly, Sharp speaks up, reminding the team that they have already come so far, and it would be nice if they could at least reach the third floor together. Lucas is glad to hear this, and he supports Sharp, saying they are a team. Lucas tells them to fight hard so that they can pass through the third floor door as one. With Sharp and Collins' motivation, everyone agrees to use every last strength that they have to reach the third floor. Moments later, the announcement comes on, telling everyone that all 12 students have made it to the third floor. Upon arriving at the third floor, they are immediately swarmed by monsters, taking down the team members one after the other. The first team that got knocked out talks about how brutal the third floor is because they couldn't even see how many enemies were attacking them. It turns out that Lucas was also knocked, and he has already used this to figure out that the third floor is the martial arts department limit for that year. He also allowed his real body to drop out to avoid suspicion. However, his clone is still inside the tower, so he can support the second martial arts group to help them reach the third floor too. By doing this, everyone in the martial arts department would get better scores and he wouldn't have to stand out. In the end, Teishi got a total of 55 points, which is the highest, while Lucas settled for 43 points. It then dawns on Lucas that he might not have stood out, but he helped the entire martial arts department to stand out. When Greg realizes that every student in the martial arts department made it to the 3rd floor, he concludes that they are in a mess, because only the elite course department usually does something like this. Greg is immediately left with the desire to defeat the martial arts department in both points earned and floors reached. Not long after this, the mage class enters the tower, and right from the 1st floor, they start unleashing their magic power like crazy. When Otani sees this, he wonders if it is a crime to lose to the martial arts department. However, he is patiently waiting to see what magic power the mage class will use on the 2nd and 3rd floors. Otani is disappointed that the mages have already lost their composure from the very start. Soon afterward, reports start coming in about the mages getting knocked out. The lowest number only managed to make it to the 3rd floor, making the whole situation bad for Greg. Greg refuses to accept reality, and he grabs one of the examiners, asking if they multiplied the monsters when the mage class entered the tower. However, Linda stepped forward, urging Greg to accept reality and not embarrass himself in front of the students. Linda says she is pretty sure that the tower is functioning the way it should, unless he is saying his own abilities have deteriorated. Greg is left in the cold, and he watches in horror as Linda walks up to Sigalt to discuss with him. It turns out that Linda was praising Sigalt for surpassing the mage class. Sigalt humbly replies that the students worked hard to get to the top themselves. Sigalt then reminds Linda that the elite class is about to enter, and she should be there, but Linda replies that there is no need for her to be there because she trusts her students. In addition, she has confidence in her class representative, Julia. Meanwhile, Julia is busy glazing her brother, saying he can easily get to the 4th floor if he wants to. The examiner manages to cut her short by telling her that it is time she and her team enter the tower. Lucas then cheers his sister on, telling her to do her best and also eat her candy. The examiner is surprised that Lucas went out of his way to tell his sister to eat her candy. Just as Julia throws the supposed candy in her mouth, the examiner takes a closer look, and he realizes that it is a magic power pill that rapidly restores magic power. The examiner is surprised that Julia was given something so expensive for just a school trial, since martial artists who can make the pills are pretty rare. Just as usual, Julia realizes that she has been tricked after she has swallowed the pill. Deep down, Lucas knows that Julia already has plenty of magic power, but since everyone is always taking medicine before trials, he doesn't think it's a crime to make her take one too. With this, Lucas is confident that Julia will perform exceptionally well. Upon entering the tower, Julia's first lightning attack shocks Aiwa so much that she couldn't even close her mouth. As if she did nothing special, Julia smiles at Aiwa, casually telling her to stay close to her. As they continue further, Julia easily takes out the enemies, leaving her teammates little to no stress. While her other teammate, Derek, is glad that they have Julia on the team, Aiwa is indifferent. Aiwa talks about how she could have controlled the monsters to kill each other if it were the real world. Julia agrees with her, saying Aiwa would be terrifying on a real battlefield. Since her mental magic is useless in the tower because the monsters have no conscience, Aiwa figures out that the best she can do is use her power to scout out where enemies are. Aiwa is sad that she is a dead weight, but she is surprised that Julia is not even complaining. In fact, she even acknowledges her abilities. Aiwa, being Aiwa, walks past Julia, telling her that she is going to leave the spotlight for her for the moment. Suddenly, Aiwa stops, causing Julia to run into her. Julia asks her why she suddenly stopped, and Aiwa says it's nothing. Deep down, she is worried because she keeps sensing something off that is neither an enemy nor a classmate. Not long after this, Julia and her team reach the 4th floor, and it turns out that the presence Aiwa was sensing was Lucas. The teachers are blown away when the announcement comes on that 3 freshmen have made it to the 4th floor. They start praising Linda, but she tries to return the praise to the students, saying it is all them. Lucas hears this and he agrees that Julia is excellent on her own. Even though the magic pill is going to increase her magic power, reaching the top floors solely depends on her actual abilities. Since he trusts in his sister's strength, Lucas has decided to just watch over her without interfering. In the tower, Julia is running through the enemies, but suddenly, 4 enemies appear behind her before Aiwa can warn her. She is about to be taken out when Derek comes in clutch, burning all of them up. Derek then says Julia must have been tired from everything she did on the 3rd floor. He offers to handle the enemies, but even he almost loses his head to one of the monster's arrows. However, he dodges and roasts all of them at once. After taking them out, he tries to aura farm, but the ladies ignore him and just continue forward. Aiwa lets them know that about a dozen enemies are moving in their direction at a great speed, and they need to move. Just as they are about to cross to the other side, the entrance is blocked by steel bars, and by the time they look back, they see a giant pig-headed monster and a wolf staring at them, ready to tear them apart. By the time they look around further, they realize that they are surrounded by a bunch of pig-headed monsters and the wolves as their subordinates. This makes it worse because they believe the metal gate behind them can only be opened by those who use metal magic. However, Aiwa lets them know that there is another way to go about it. One of the monsters comes charging at them, but Julia protects them with a lightning barrier, throwing off the monster. Iwa then reveals that metal melts at high temperatures, which means it is up to Derek to get them out of there. However, the monsters keep charging at them, even though Julia's barrier is active. At some point, Julia starts feeling the pressure, but she continues going. Suddenly, she notices Iwa holding her staff to her head and not moving. Julia calls her name, and Iwa replies that she doesn't have the time to explain, but she quickly gives Julia a good call out about where the next enemies are coming from. Julia is able to act on this, and she delivers a fatal shock to the enemies before they can even get to them. Iwa maintains her mental magic to try to fish out the monsters. Seeing just how crazy and powerful the monsters are, Iwa realizes that the fourth floor is no joke. After analyzing the situation, Iwa tells Julia to take out the right side first, and she follows Iwa's instructions. However, at this point, Julia is already worried because she is running out of magic power. She then tells Iwa that the best she can do for now is to seal the giant's movements. Iwa then suggests that she waits for an opening to take down the wolf. Julia acknowledges the order and goes after the wolf. Deep down, Iwa is pissed that she is the one holding back the team while Julia is pushing herself to the extreme. With powerful lightning, Julia is able to take down all the wolves, but can only manage to restrain the giant. With a bright smile on her face, Julia asks Iwa if she can brag about protecting her classmates like a proper class representative once they make it back outside. As usual, Iwa replies that Julia is already getting full of herself, and Julia has a laugh about it. Suddenly, a monster appears right in front of them, shocking the two. Iwa is gutted because she was carried away to have noticed that a new group of monsters was already there. Before Iwa can move, she gets crushed by the monster, but she urges Julia to run. Seeing how dreadful the situation has become, Derek manages to open a small space for Julia to pass through. Julia cries out, telling Derek that they should move together. However, Derek tells her that it would be bad if Julia exhausts her magic power on the floor. The monster becomes more agitated, but this only forces Derek to go all out, unleashing a massive firestorm, while telling Julia to go ahead. When Derek finally got knocked out, he tells Iwa that he had to instinctively protect Julia, but he believes that they did quite well. Iwa also acts all tough, saying she only returned the favor of Julia saving her. Iwa lets Derek know that she would have gone above everyone else if not for the fact that mental magic users are at a disadvantage at the tower. Meanwhile, Otani is impressed with the team's performance because they basically split themselves into the right positions to cover up for each other's weaknesses. It turns out that Otani is aware that there is still a clone of Lucas in the tower. Lucas is busy clearing the tower, and he is right behind his sister. Julia, on the other hand, is worried about reaching the safe zone as fast as she can because she is already running out of magic power. She runs through the enemies with the utmost determination. Without holding back, she hurls lightning strikes at the enemies. Even though she is already exhausted, she wants to keep pushing because she wants to make sure her comrades' sacrifices don't go to waste. Suddenly, she notices that something went past her, and her fatigue suddenly vanishes. Unknown to her, Lucas is the one who just went past, and he used the hero's battle cry to help her out. Basically, the hero's battle cry reduces fatigue by boosting fighting spirit. Defense and attack power also increase by 30% for 10 minutes. Lucas is confident that with this, Julia should be able to clear the fourth floor. Since the tower will be closed once all the students are done with their trial, Lucas figures out that he has to be really fast if he wants to explore the upper floors. Moments later, he arrives at the fifth floor, which is basically underwater. As he moves a bit further, he notices a dangerous water monster, and since his aim is to reach higher floors, he figures out that unnecessary fights should be avoided. He hides himself from the monster, and then creates a clone of himself that he turns into an even scarier monster to chase the other monsters away. Thanks to this, Lucas is able to move along well on his path. 15 minutes later, Lucas is still advancing, and his sister is also pushing with everything she has. 20 minutes later, Julia finally reaches the safe zone inside the tower, and she heaves a sigh of relief. At the same time, Lucas makes it to the sixth floor, and the moment he steps inside, he finds himself in a void space. Lucas is surprised that there are no monsters whatsoever on the sixth floor. However, the only thing that exists on this floor is a weird monument. Lucas moves closer, and he realizes that the monument is actually absorbing his fighting spirit. This causes the monument to react, and a golden light appears around it, displaying Mars's weapon. On the other hand, Otani is impressed that Lucas finally made it to the sixth floor. Staring at the monument, Otani figures out that it is the legendary legacy of the martial god. However, the whole situation is kind of bad because Julia is nearing her limit already, and the moment she drops off, the tower is going to close too. Staring into the monument, Lucas suddenly sees Mars having a showdown with a giant entity, which obviously represents evil. The evil entity tells Mars that he might have won back then, but apparently they have planted their seeds throughout the world. The evil being assures Mars that even if it takes tens of thousands of years, they are going to return. Mars, being the chill dude that he is, ignores whatever the dude is saying and activates his ultimate technique, Destruction Fang, punching the guy into oblivion. Lucas finally returns to his senses, with sweat running down his face, wondering if he just saw the martial god's past battles. Even though he has no idea when it happened, he remembers the evil dude talking about leaving their seeds in the world. Lucas starts piecing it together and he figures out that the monsters like the Minotaur and the zombified creatures might actually be from the evil dude. Lucas then places his hand on the monument so he can investigate more, but suddenly he senses an enemy attack behind him. With his super fast reflexes, he leaps backward, but to his surprise, it turns out that the enemy wasn't even aiming for him. Apparently, the enemy was going for the monument. Just then, Lucas finds himself outside the tower, and it dawns on him that Julia is done already. Since the monument is also gone, Lucas doesn't think he even has any reason to stay in the Allen Tower again. Just then, he notices that something has changed inside him, and he figures out that this is because he saw the martial god's technique. With Julia out of the tower, the students are informed that the trial is over, and the tower will now be sealed. Julia is welcomed with a resounding applause, since she is the first freshman ever to reach the 5th floor. When Otani returned to the library, he found the headmaster already waiting for him. The headmaster then asks him what happened with the Allen Tower trial, and Otani replies that there was nothing unusual that occurred. The headmaster mentions that the mage class freshmen's results being poor is basically abnormal because there were many students who didn't even earn a single point. Otani then replies that there are 18 students with 0 points. He adds that the previous year there were 12, which means everything is still within the margin of error. The headmaster then argues against this, saying the number of students who reached the 2nd floor is half of last year's. Otani simply tells the headmaster to ask Greg and his fellow teachers about this. Otani says he would also like to know how they were able to teach students to lose their composure in the worst way. Otani then tells the headmaster that he has been totally focused on the mage class and that he didn't even notice the anomaly with the martial arts department. The headmaster is surprised to hear this and he asks Otani what anomaly the martial arts department has. Otani reveals that after finishing the trial, 4 martial arts students have loosened their innate restrictions and are now attempting to level up. In fact, Sigurd is currently helping out with that. The headmaster is shocked to hear this because if he heard right, this means Allen Tower might have an effect that promotes martial artists' growth in ability. The headmaster realizes that there would be chaos if this information were to get out because there are countless martial artists out there who are desperately looking to level up. Deep down, the headmaster would have stopped the Allen Tower trial if not for the fact that they were searching for a talented martial artist to become Allen Tower's next administrator. The headmaster then tells Otani to keep the information to himself, and Otani assures him that he is going to do just that. Meanwhile, the mage freshmen are happy that the one who set a new record is still a mage, Julia. They are glad to have Julia as a mage, but they are all disappointed that she has a martial artist for a brother. Jeremy walks past 2 students talking about this, and he gets so pissed off because in everything, Lucas is always getting all the attention. He can't believe that Lucas is Julia's real brother, too. Later on, Theod heads to the cafeteria, and as he enters, the students cheer for him as usual, and he smiles with pride because he believes that he is still the school's idol even though Julia broke his record. Suddenly, his worst fear comes to pass when everyone notices Julia where she is sitting, and they immediately turn away from him. Theod immediately loses his composure, and he flies over to where Julia is to tell her that she might be excellent, but she should not get cocky because she reached Allen Tower's 5th floor. Julia doesn't even pay attention to whatever the dude is saying, as she is more focused on her food. Theod is about to explain himself better when he realizes that all the students are swarming over Julia. Annoyed, he flies off, telling Julia that she is going to regret what just happened. Julia is totally confused as she asks her brother what is wrong with Theod. Lucas tells her that she has nothing to worry about, so she should continue eating. Unknown to Theod, his intimidation technique doesn't work because Lucas kept the battle cry active to boost Julia's defense. Mina soon shows up, talking about how unusual it is for Theod to leave without saying his signature line. Mina then congratulates Julia, saying she is even more talented than she thought. Julia humbly replies that she made it far because her teammates helped her. Mina then asks if Derek and Iwa would be useful for the Goddess Memorial Festival too. This is new to Lucas and Julia because they know nothing about whatever the Goddess Memorial is. Mina then explains that the school, along with Kyoto Magic School and Holy Magic School, is considered the Empire's 3 magic schools. Every year, 9 outstanding freshmen are selected from these 3 schools to determine who is the top genius. Since Julia is pretty talented, Mina is sure that Julia will be competing. Lucas hears this and admits that it is interesting, but he wonders if Julia will be interested. Soon afterward, Lucas tells Julia that he is not going to wake her up again, since he already sees her as someone who can take care of herself. The first day of this change, Julia wakes up late, forcing her to use the Thunder Dash just to try and make it to class on time. She ends up running into Iwa, who stares at her with the coldest expression, while telling her to watch where she is going. By the time Julia makes it to class, she realizes that she forgot her textbook. While wondering what to do, Iwa notices this, and she draws closer to her. She then drops her book on the table so that they can share. Even in the library, Julia tried taking a book from the shelf, and when her hand couldn't reach it, Iwa helped her out. Before she can even thank her, she has walked out already. Later on, Julia asks Lucas to tell her how Iwa feels about her, but he lets her know that she will be the one to figure this out herself. Sometime later, Julia sees Aiwa watching an old man perform a magic trick with his power, but since she can't do it, she looks distraught. Julia notices this, and she immediately creates a bird using her own power to give it to Aiwa. However, she crushes the bird, and even almost crushes Julia with her mental magic, forcing the girl to run off in fear. Later that night, Julia returns to the dorm to find Aiwa already sleeping. However, she left a heartfelt note for her. She apologized for what happened, and then dropped cookies for Aiwa while suggesting that they hang out the next day. Aiwa smiles when she sees this, and she decides to go out with Julia. The following day, Aiwa went to the meeting point early, but Julia showed up late. Aiwa is still about to complain about her lateness when she realizes that she brought Lucas with her. Julia excitedly tells Aiwa that Lucas promised to pay their bills. Aiwa's expression immediately shows that she doesn't even want Lucas there, and Lucas can clearly see this. As if this isn't enough, they run into Maya, who asks them where they are heading. Julia immediately uses the opportunity to ask Maya to follow them, and since Lucas is going, Maya quickly accepts. With this, the group heads out to Daktown's Gourmet Street. And while the girls are rejoicing, Lucas is crying because his bank account is about to take a huge L. Upon arriving at Daktown, Julia is the happiest because she knows what she is there to enjoy. Seeing how excited she is, Lucas is already crying inside because he doesn't even know how much he is going to spend. In addition, he is stuck with the annoying Aiwa and his ex-fiancée, which is basically some kind of punishment for him. It turns out that the ladies all have different reasons for coming out because Aiwa only wanted to go out with Julia but ended up getting dragged along, and Maya is also glad that she's getting the chance to talk to Lucas outside of school. Julia excitedly leads them to a sweet shop, but to her dismay, there are only 2 slots left for the day. Julia falls to her knees in horror, talking about how she really wants to visit the sweet shop. Maya reads the room and immediately uses her intuition, telling Julia and Lucas that her doctor told her to avoid sweets. She suggests that Julia and Aiwa go inside instead, while she and Lucas wait outside. Julia asks her if she is sure about this, and she says yes. Excitedly, Julia pushes Aiwa into the shop so that they can have all the fun they want. After they are gone, Lucas thanks Maya for her help, but Maya lets him know that she is just glad that the siblings are happy. Maya tells Lucas that Julia is so energetic, which always reminds her of when they went out together as kids. Lucas asks her what she means by this, and she reminds Lucas that she and he once went to the exotic beast exhibit in Daktown with their family members. Apparently, they snuck away from the adults to go see the dark world together. She asks Lucas if he has forgotten the incident, but Lucas can't even answer properly, since he only has a faint memory, but there is no way he is going to remember something that happened before his soul took over the body. Seeing how Lucas reacted to the situation, Maya is forced to ask him if he holds a grudge against her because the engagement was called off. Lucas is shocked by the question, and Maya says she always has the feeling that Lucas is avoiding her. Maya believes that Lucas was hurt by the whole engagement thing being called off, and she didn't initially understand the meaning of this when she was little. Maya finds the words to explain how she is feeling, but she can't. She ends up standing up to tell Lucas that he is not an incompetent fool. Maya lets Lucas know that he is the most excellent martial artist that she knows, and this is when she summons the courage to ask Lucas to be her friend. Lucas is blown away by how well she carries herself, and he tells her that he never held a grudge against her. He ends it by accepting to be her friend, and this leaves Maya the happiest girl on the planet. While Julia and Aiwa are eating the best candies in the shop, Lucas and Maya are getting it done outside. The two return to find Lucas and Maya holding hands like a couple. Maya and Lucas freak out, trying to tell the two that it is not what it looks like, but there is no way that they are convincing the two that they don't have something going on. Moments later, they arrive at the town's shopping district, and while they are busy having fun, Julia's magic candy reacts to something interesting in the distance. The candy leads them to the Five Saints Hall, which Julia explains is a dojo. Apparently, the dojo's master is a treasure collector, and if one goes inside and is able to clear all 5 trials, one can get a magical treasure item. Lucas reminds Julia that they are not there to challenge a dojo, but Aiwa cuts in, saying it sounds more fun than just eating around town. Maya agrees with her, saying she is interested in seeing whatever treasure lies inside the dojo. Since the ladies are willing to challenge the dojo trials, Lucas has no choice but to agree, but just as they are about to enter, they are stopped by 2 scary gatekeepers who tell the kids that the dojo is not a place to kill time. Before the head guard knows what is happening, Lucas has gotten to him and tapped him on the shoulder, releasing an overwhelming aura that puts fear in his body. Lucas tells him that he heard that they could try the treasure challenge in the dojo, which is why they are there. The gatekeeper is ultimately terrified by Lucas's fighting spirit, and Lucas is also impressed that a mere gatekeeper is actually a level 4 martial artist. After showing the dude what he can do, Lucas asks him if they can now enter, and he quickly opens the door for them, telling them that they are welcome. Aiwa is surprised to see that the gatekeeper's attitude has changed suddenly after talking to Lucas. Upon entering, they are welcomed into the Five Saints Hall, and they are informed that the first trial is the Beast Trial. There is a clown overseeing the first trial, and he runs a circus where he keeps dangerous beasts. He tells the group that they are free to pass if they can clear his checkpoint. The dude then calls forth his fire lion, which turns out to be a scary, fiery beast. He releases the magic chain used to hold down the beast, and he orders the beast to go after the group. The beast rushes forward as if to tear them down, but Lucas stands in front without moving an inch. Suddenly, the Joker notices that his beast is not attacking, and, unknown to him, Uru's spirit residing in Lucas's body has overwhelmed the beast so hard that he finds it hard to move. The Joker rushes after the beast to beat it, but the lion ends up hitting him so hard that he lands face down. The lion rushes back to his cage to escape Lucas's aura, and Lucas nervously asks the knocked-out dude if this means they have cleared the trial. Aiwa cannot believe that Lucas actually won without lifting a finger, leaving her to wonder what sort of trick he used. As they proceed to the next checkpoint, Aiwa talks about how weird it is for the lion to have been terrified of Lucas. Julia whispers to Lucas, asking him if Uru's presence was what came in clutch, and Lucas gives her the sign that she is right. Not long after this, they arrive at the second checkpoint, which is the wind corridor. They meet a mage who tells them that the rules are simple. They just have to shoot the arrow through the moving rings to pierce the balloon at the very top to clear it. Basically, this is a checkpoint that tests not just magic power control, but also sharp judgment. The mage lets them know that he is also going to be the one to manage the corridor's environment during the challenge to make everything even more interesting. Once he is done explaining the rules, he asks them who among them is going to take the challenge. Julia steps up, saying she is going to handle the challenge, and the mage hands her the controls, since she is so full of energy. Julia immediately takes charge, sending the arrow through the circles in a smooth way. Even Maya is blown away by how good she is. But the mage lets Julia know that what she is doing is just a warm-up. He then presses a button that releases fire cubes to get the arrow of trajectory to make things even more interesting. Julia takes on the challenge wholeheartedly with a candy in her mouth, sending the arrow through the circles. However, a water obstacle soon emerges, pushing the arrow down so much that Julia finds it hard to even keep the arrow from falling. At this point, Julia realizes that she has to give it everything she has, but the mage urges her to give up already. Before Julia knows it, she is already facing several obstacles, from fire to even wind magic. Julia's smiley face disappears and she puts on her serious face. She remembers Lucas telling her that magic control has improved, and if she ever feels like she can't control her magic well, she has to assume that something is interfering with it. Julia had asked him what she was supposed to do in situations like this, and he let her know that she had to destroy the source of the interference. Remembering this, Julia fires off the arrow with a powerful thunder spell that shatters everything in its way. Even the mage is stunned, and Aiwa realizes that the whole thing is more or less a combat than a trial. The mage has no choice but to accept defeat and congratulate them for clearing the second checkpoint. As they move forward, the mage tells them to be aware of something important. He lets them know that not all checkpoints can be cleared with brute force, and moments later, they arrive at the third checkpoint, which is the alchemy workshop. Basically, this is a checkpoint where technique and concentration are tested, not strength. The alchemist in charge tells them that they would have to compete with her to see who can quickly create a legendary magic potion. The alchemist reveals that the potion they will be making this time around is the legendary magic potion called Trivia's Tears. There are 108 rare ingredients to be used for the potion, but the mixing ratio is unknown, and every ingredient is practically unstable. This means getting it even a little wrong can cause a massive explosion. Julia holds her head in frustration, saying with that high number of ingredients and no ratios, there is basically no way to make it, and Aiwa agrees with her that it is a game of luck. Lucas mentions that their forte is offense, so something like this doesn't suit them, but Maya steps in, saying she would like to take the challenge. The alchemist is surprised to hear this, and she commends Maya for being bold. The challenge begins, and as the alchemist cooks up her ingredient with accuracy, Maya shocks her teammates by doing hers with elegance. Using her magic power, she is able to organize the ingredients while figuring out which one goes with which. In fact, her knife work when cutting ingredients leaves Lucas totally blown away. As she continues cooking, she notices that the smell is bitter, and to counter this, she adds a sweet-smelling ingredient to balance the flavor. Maya does this effortlessly, so even Aiwa is impressed by how she does her thing. When she finally gets to the most volatile ingredient, the alchemist panics, urging Maya to be careful because she might cause a massive explosion. However, Maya proceeds diligently with what she is doing, and in no time, she is done with the potion, leaving a shock on the alchemist's face. In fact, the purity in her potion is so high that the alchemist asks her if she learned from a great master alchemist. Maya says no, revealing that this is actually her first time making Trivia's Tears, and she also has no idea how she pulled it off. But she wants to believe that it is thanks to all the cooking that she does. Maya reveals that she focuses on the smell of the ingredients and thinks about the best combinations and proportions, which is why it is more like cooking for her. Maya admits that making the potion seemed like making a hearty medicinal soup to her. The alchemist cannot believe that Maya just compared a legendary magic potion to medicinal soup. Julia commends Maya, saying this is basically why her sweets are so amazing. She adds that the cookies she made the last time were so good that she almost cried. Aiwa commends her, telling her that her cooking talent is one of a kind. She even teases her so that Lucas can hear, telling her that whoever marries will be a lucky person. Maya almost passes out from excessive blushing when she hears this, as she tries saying cooking is just a hobby for her. However, deep down, she wonders what Lucas thinks of her. Lucas, being the dumb dude, doesn't even think of her cooking as a marriage skill, but is thinking of having someone like her in the unit to cook good food during long deployments to boost morale. Iwa can hear his thoughts, and she basically tells him that he is the densest guy she's ever met. The alchemist admits that she never thought she would lose to a young girl's cooking skills after honing her mixing technique for half her life. The alchemist then gives Maya the potion, telling her that it is hers. Maya doesn't want to accept it because of how valuable it is, but the alchemist lets her know that it is fine since she is the one who made it. She tells her that when it really matters, it is going to save her life. Even Lucas urges her to take it, telling her that it is proof of her own ability. Maya finally accepts the potion, and with this, they proceed to the next checkpoint where a scary lady awaits them. Upon arriving at the fourth trial, they are welcomed by the scary lady who informs them that the fourth trial is a crucible of mental strength. She informs them that they are going to play a card game that is most popular among the Empire's upper class, and it is a game called King's Lie. Basically, the rules of the game are simple. Each player draws one card, and whoever has the higher number wins. However, the lowest card, which is the assassin, can defeat the highest card, which is the king. One is allowed to use magic to change their card's number, but the more one changes it from the original value, the more magic it consumes. If one's bluff is exposed, the real value of the original card is used to decide the winner. And finally, if the number on a forged card matches the opponent's real card, the forged card loses. To put it simply, this is a trial that tests how well one can see through lies and deceive their opponent. Lucas assesses the situation and realizes that the checkpoint is not made for him, and even Maya says she is bad at tense games. Julia can't even remember all the rules, so there is no way she is going to survive. However, Iwa steps forward, saying it actually sounds fun because this is the kind of thing the Miranda family excels at. Iwa tells them that the fortune teller lady has a special magic circuit around her eyes, which means she can use eye-based magic. The lady is surprised that Miranda is able to figure this out, and she is pretty impressed by the amazing challengers who have come to meet her that day. Once Iwa is ready, the lady suggests that they begin the test. The card game begins on the table, and Iwa first pulls the king's card, which has a higher number than what the lady pulled, which is the archbishop. Julia assumes that they have won with this, but Iwa isn't celebrating because she knows that it is not that simple. She can sense that her flow of magic is strange, even though it is faint. Just then, Iwa uses her magic to figure out that the lady's archbishop card was a fake, and the lady is blown away as she doesn't expect Iwa to have quickly seen through a forged card. Just then, the lady starts laughing, telling Iwa that she might have seen through her disguise, but she still loses. Instead of panicking, Iwa also started laughing, saying she already thought about it, and it appears that she was right because the lady had put a second layer of disguise on her card. Iwa then reveals her hand, and the lady is shocked when she realizes that the assassin card she produced was a fake. She starts freaking out because she actually erased every trace of the magic. Iwa then tells her that she is not the only one who can erase traces of magic power, and from the beginning, she already had a feeling that the lady would try something like this. This is why she kept her eyes on her hands to make sure she drew a certain card. Iwa then reveals that her real card is the assassin card, and going by the rules that say if a forged card and the true card have the same number, the forged card loses, Iwa automatically wins. Iwa tells the lady that her strategy was quite clever because she initially disguised her card as the Archbishop 8, which is the strongest non-king card, to test the waters. Apparently, if Iwa's card turned out to be king, the lady plans to win with a double-layered bluff using an assassin card. However, this is a tactic that only works with opponents who have less insight than the lady, and she has basically lost because she underestimated Iwa. The lady is forced to admit that it was an impressive match because her insight was top-notch and disguised perfectly from the lowest, which is an assassin, to the highest, which is the king. The lady then says Iwa could have just waited for her to reveal that her assassin was a fake since she's already seen through her plan. Iwa confidently tells her that, as heir to the Miranda family, she doesn't like letting others take the initiative. Deep down, Iwa knows it was a close one, and her mental strength was nearly at its limit. The fortune teller tells Iwa that with her talent, she is definitely going to become someone that history will remember. Iwa confidently replies that she knows. The fortune teller then proceeds to tell her that she is bound by the threads of fate to Lucas and co. She mentions that in the near future, when a great calamity descends upon the continent, she and her friends will be the ones to save the world. Iwa is shocked, and she asks her what she means by this, but she ignores the question, telling her that it is time for the final trial. She reveals that the final trial is overseen by the master of the hall, and their strength is completely above theirs. Upon hearing the lady's prophecy, Lucas is already thinking about it, and he is worried about it because it doesn't appear that the lady is joking. As they proceed to the next checkpoint, Julia excitedly talks about what the lady said, saying it is pretty cool, but her brother suggests that they focus on getting their treasure first. They arrive at the last checkpoint to meet a beast of a man who just punched a big iron ball into the wall. Even Lucas is gripped with fear because the killing intent from the dude is so overwhelming that he is forced to question if he is human or not. Nonetheless, He's looking forward to how much fun the whole thing is going to be. The blonde head, a fully jacked man, flexes with weights in one hand and tells them that he has been waiting for them to come. He is actually impressed that they made it this far, which means that they are not pampered brats relying on their family status. The dude then drops the weight so he can explain the rules to them. He tells them that they are all free to attack him at once, and if they are able to force him to take even a single step back, they win. However, if they can't, it is his turn next, and they would have to block his attack no matter what. After this, they can take turns attacking each other until one of them finally goes down. The ladies are already freaking out because they can't believe that they have to block an attack coming from the dude's giant arms. The man tells the group not to hold back, and if they don't want to die, they should just get lost. Just then, Lucas asks the man to allow him to take the challenge alone. It turns out that Lucas is eager to see what the man is made of because his aura is even stronger than Sigild's. Julia panics, telling Lucas that they can just go home because the treasure is not even that important. Maya offers to fight alongside her, but Lucas tells them to stand back because it is a trial meant for martial artists. In addition, he even wants to test his own strength. The man, Barzan, laughs out loud, saying that since it is a fight between men, he doesn't have to hold back. Barzan tells Lucas that he is not going to get off with just a broken bone or two, so he has to know if he is ready for this. Barzan's familiar, an iron bird, appears out of nowhere, screaming at him to put on the magic gloves because he hasn't finished paying for the barrier and repairs from last time. Barzan reluctantly agrees, and he grabs the gloves off the wall. He gives Lucas a pair of gloves too, revealing that the gloves generate a barrier, so no matter how wild the fight gets, people and things around them won't get destroyed. The moment they put it on, a barrier is generated around them, and Lucas excitedly goes after Barzan. He punches Barzan in the chest, but he is shocked when his punch doesn't even evoke a reaction on Barzan's face. Barzan tells Lucas that he has good form, but he still has a long way to go. Barzan prepares to punch back, and Lucas puts up his guard. Lucas knows that he is about to get hit really badly, but this doesn't even protect him as he is punched into the distance. He coughs up blood, but Barzan doesn't care, telling him that it is already too late for him to surrender. Lucas notices a sword in the room and he grabs the sword. He imbues his sword with an aura and goes after Barzan. He hits Barzan with all of his strength, but Barzan takes a deep breath before exhaling with great force to send Lucas into the wall. However, Barzan notices that Lucas cut him, and he commends him for it. However, he lets him know that this level of damage won't be enough to beat him. Lucas replies that he is not even done yet, and he dashes toward Barzan while creating clones of himself. Using his clones, Lucas keeps Barzan in place and he goes after him with a powerful punch, but Barzan easily breaks free by unleashing his scary aura to blow Lucas away. Barzan commends Lucas, telling him that he actually has the brains and courage to keep trying different tactics, but in the face of overwhelming power, his tricks are useless. Barzan then lunges towards Lucas, telling him that it is time to finish the fight. Lucas closes his eyes in fear, but just as he is about to accept defeat, he remembers the vision he saw on the 6th floor of Allen Tower. He remembers that the martial god infused his strikes with a mysterious technique. Lucas then focuses his mind while calming his heart, and he is able to pull out the same attack that the martial god used. He meets Barzan's punch halfway, leaving Barzan shocked as he doesn't expect that Lucas was hiding a move like that. As Lucas breaks through Barzan's defense, he throws another punch at his chest, but holds back before the punch makes an impact. Julia freaks out when she sees her brother standing still, believing that he's lost. Barzan then takes a deep breath before asking Lucas if, by any chance, he is Otani's disciple. Lucas replies that he is not, and Barzan asks him why he held back, because if he had gone all out, he could have broken a few of his ribs. Lucas replies that it was his first time using the move, and if he had killed Barzan by accident, there is no way he is going to get the treasure. Barzan smacks Lucas on the back to commend him, while admitting that he lost. Lucas crashes to his knees in pain, and Maya rushes over, offering him Trivia's tears to heal himself, but Lucas rejects, saying he is not ready to waste something so valuable. Just then, Barzan throws him a pill, telling him that he can use it to heal his injuries. Lucas takes it, and his injuries immediately vanish. He realizes that the healing potion is similar to the elixirs he makes. Lucas then reminds Barzan that they have cleared all 5 trials, so this means they can finally have the treasure. Barzan then starts blabbing about what is not important instead of producing the treasure. His familiar is forced to step in, yelling at Barzan, telling him to hand over the treasure quietly because he is only going to let it go to waste. Barzan shamelessly agrees to give out the treasure, while claiming that he is not stingy. Barzan then gives Lucas a cute toy bunny, telling them to put some magic into it. Julia takes it and pours magic into the bunny, and surprisingly, it starts moving. Julia throws it in the air with a smile on her face because of how cute it is. However, Lucas is not entirely impressed because they had to go through 5 trials only to win a toy. Deep down, Lucas believes that they have been ripped. Barzan pats Lucas on the shoulder, telling him that it is not some magic toy, but when he grows up, he is going to know how useful it is. In addition, he tells Lucas not to use the martial god technique unless his life is on the line because if he uses it carelessly, he might find himself in trouble. Lucas acknowledges this and then asks Barzan if he knows Otani. Barzan says he really doesn't know him, but they fought side by side on the battlefield a long time ago, taking down beastmen. Barzan then suggests that they get going before it gets dark. Surprisingly, everyone agrees that Julia keeps the bunny because it suits her best. On the other hand, Lucas wonders why Barzan told him not to use the martial god style carelessly. Suddenly, they notice a commotion in the distance, and they rush over to check it out. It appears that the fight is going down in the black market, but they decide to just check it out. Surprisingly, Jeremy is seen fighting a black market dealer whom he claims has defrauded him. However, Jeremy gets stomped on by the dude, who tells him that what he sold for him is a genuine ancient forbidden spell. The dealer mocks Jeremy, telling him that it is his fault that he can't learn it. As the dealer turns back to leave, Jeremy fires off a spell to attack from behind, but the dude easily blocks the attack while sending Jeremy into a wall. The dude mocks Jeremy, telling him that he is a joker if he thinks he has a chance with his trash magic talent. The dealer then tells his boys to go after Jeremy, but they suddenly get roasted by lightning. Before they know it, Lucas and Julia emerge on the scene, and Jeremy almost chokes himself to death because he can't believe that his siblings would see him in such a pathetic situation. Julia, on the other hand, is happy to help, since her mother was the one who told her to look after Jeremy. Just as the fight is about to escalate, the patrol squad shows up on the scene, demanding to know what happened. The black market dealer wastes no time giving the captain of the squad a bribe, telling him that Lucas and his friends tried to shoplift. The captain takes the bribe and immediately looks the other way, blaming Lucas and his friends for causing trouble. Iowa steps in, telling the captain that she is from the Miranda family, but the captain arrogantly replies that he doesn't care what family she's from because he is the law when it comes to that region. Things are about to escalate when a voice echoes through the street, telling everyone to stop where they are. The captain turns around in fear because he recognizes who it is. It turns out to be Iowa's father, Cyan. He's also accompanied by Lucas's mother. Cyan tells the captain that he is really brave to have thought he could arrest the children of the Miranda family. Cyan says it appears that they have to clean up the patrol squad too because they have become bad. Both the dealer and the captain of the squad are both dragged away from the scene while they scream out, begging to be spared. Iowa walks over to her father, asking him why he hasn't cracked down on the entire place if he knows that it is a hotbed of crime. Cyan taps Iowa on the shoulder, telling her that the slums have their own rules, and they have tried all sorts of ways to stop the collusion between low-rank soldiers and the black market, but it is a never-ending game of whack-a-mole. Catherine also cuts in, telling Iowa that she doesn't have to worry herself about adult business because as long as they are there, they don't have to deal with things like this. Julia rushes over to hug her mother, and she commends her, telling her that the spell she cast earlier was amazing, saying this was expected of a Ryan child. Julia blushes as her mother pats her on the head, and just then, she remembers Jeremy. Catherine asks him if he is hurt anywhere, but he replies that he is fine. She tries to ask further, but Jeremy yells at her saying he is fine. Iowa cuts in, telling Jeremy that it appears that he is sick in the head. Jeremy replies that it was a sneak attack, but Iowa scolds him, telling him that he is a student of the Allen Magic School. But he still lost to small fries like the black magic dealer. In fact, he had to be protected by little Julia, which is embarrassing. Jeremy lashes out, saying it was a sneak attack, but Iowa cracks down on him, telling him that he must be so dumb to think a genuine forbidden spellbook would be sold at such a trash place. Iowa says even a kid would have figured out that it was fake just by looking at it. Cyan is forced to come in, telling Iowa to chill out. Catherine offers to heal Jeremy, but he refuses the help, running away from the scene. As he runs off, he imagines them staring down on him like a pathetic failure. As he runs off, Catherine tries to call him back, but her brother tells her to leave him so he can have some time to himself. Cyan then suggests that they celebrate at a restaurant because he heard that the kids cleared the Five Saints trials. As they leave the alleyway, Iowa senses something strange in the distance, but couldn't figure out what it is. Later on, Jeremy is seen lashing out in the woods about what happened when a dark presence appears behind him, calling him a pitiful child. Jeremy turns around in shock, demanding to know who is there, and the dark presence reveals that it was his mother who told her to bring him something. Just then, the dark presence transforms into her humanoid body to reveal that it is Jelsida. Jelsida claims that Jessica personally came to see her because Jeremy was having a hard time at school. Jelsida brings out a pendant, telling Jeremy that with the pendant he is going to become stronger and take back all the dignity that was stolen from him. Apparently, Jessica was losing her mind about Lucas saving her child when Jelsida showed up in her room, telling her that she was going to grant her wish. She shows her a green snake, telling Jessica that she's going to give Jeremy the power he needs. She then imbues the snake into a pendant, telling Jessica that Jeremy will become a massive wall for Lucas to overcome. This is the same pendant that Jelsida gives Jeremy, and she tells him that once he wears it, no one will look down on him again. Jeremy excitedly takes it because he can't wait to defeat Lucas so that Julia can finally acknowledge him. At the same time, Greg is seen meeting with the black market dealer from earlier to procure a magic item called the Slow Snail from him. Greg plans to use this against the martial arts students to make them useless. He's excited about his evil plan because he can't wait to see the look of despair on Seagalt's face when the magic item kicks into play. Some days later, the first-year students went to check the board for results, and they found out that the martial arts class is actually doing well, with the mage class 2 stars behind the martial arts department. It turns out that the mages are already freaking out, and some have even gotten letters of warning from their parents telling them not to lose to the martial arts department. It turns out that the yearly Goddess Memorial Festival will be held at the Allen Academy too. The other two schools, Holy and Kyoto, will be coming to the school, and the mages are already freaking out that they are going to be disgraced if the other schools hear that the martial arts department is topping them. The mage students are talking about how embarrassing this is going to be when Greg enters the room, assuring his students that they have nothing to worry about. He tells them to leave the martial arts students to enjoy their time when they can. It turns out that Siegald is hellbent on wiping out Lucas's team because he just can't stand the fact that they are having a good time. Meanwhile, at the martial arts department, the students are going at each other like crazy. They train like animals without holding back, which helps them to grow even further. To make it better, none of the students are being forced to train, as they are always ready to stay behind after school to train individually. Teshi is cleaning the office when she notices the slow snail material, but she doesn't think too much about it. She proceeds to put it in the lost and found box, believing that it belongs to one of the students. Finally, the day of the Goddess Memorial arrives, and the martial arts students are designated as the welcoming committee, leaving them to stand at the entrance for over 30 minutes. Lucas urges his friends not to sweat it because the party they are waiting for has finally arrived. The principal, Jerika, welcomes the guests, and suddenly, the people notice that it is getting chilly. Suddenly, an ice dragon appears overhead, and riding the dragon is Kyoto Magic School's top freshman, Dien. Just when the dude is about to steal all the spotlight, a fire phoenix appears on the scene too, rivaling the ice dragon. It turns out that the one who conjured the Firebird is the Holy Magic School's top freshman, Aurora, and their arrival just steamed things up. The people watch as the two display their immense power in the air. Realizing that Aurora is trying to steal the spotlight from him, Dien enlarges his ice dragon, making its reach even bigger to suffocate the Firebird, but Aurora decides to show him what it means to go all out. The two end up going head-to-head, leaving a majestic scene in the sky to entertain those who are watching. When Lucas sees this, he finally understands why the two are called geniuses. While the two are busy toying with each other, a lightning magic suddenly pops out of nowhere, breaking through their defense, and it turns out to be Julia's magic. The two immediately turn around to see who it is, and Julia conjures a lightning bird to rain down water on them. With a bright smile on her face, Julia lets them know that they can't forget about her. Cyan is blown away because he didn't think they would get to witness something so majestic before the main event. The Holy Magic School principal, Silwyn Taran, agrees with Cyan. Dien finally descends, and his arrogance shows as he stares at Julia weirdly for trying to show off out of nowhere. Suddenly, he is silenced by a magic spell, and when he looks up, he realizes that it was his principal, Atticus Rosso, who was telling him to keep his mouth shut. Suddenly, golden feathers drop from the sky, and it brightens up everything in the surroundings, leaving the people totally blown away. Just then, everyone's attention turns to where the feathers are coming from, and it turns out to be from a purple-headed stunning lady who is descending from the sky, but Lucas doesn't even know who she is since she has a mask over her face. Aurora and Dien, on the other hand, happen to know who she is, and they are hoping she is going to notice them, so they plan to put up a good show. The moment her feet touch the ground, even Miranda's father bows to her. Golden feathers fly all around as she offers her greetings to everyone in attendance, telling them the festival is definitely going to be good. Just then, the school principal takes over, telling the students to proceed to the banquet hall in the cafeteria, while the spectators are to leave the area. Kai calls Lucas's attention to the fact that Miranda's father bows to the masked lady, which means she is some big shot who probably came from the capital. Lucas replies that he is even more curious about her magic attribute than her status. Lucas is basically interested in what is going to happen at the festival. At the cafeteria, the students from the Allen Academy quickly notice how arrogant Dien is. In fact, his own school students won't even go near him, but Aurora, on the other hand, is more approachable. Aurora soon walks up to two students, telling them that she would like to be friends with Julia. Their mood brightens up, but as they are about to give her an answer, they suddenly change for the worse, and they walk off. Aurora is surprised by this because it definitely feels like they were controlled by someone. Nonetheless, she is willing to find out everything she can about Julia. It turns out that Iwa was the one who used her mental magic to control the two to stop them from giving Aurora anything. Silwyn catches on to Iwa's mental magic, and she admits that it is quite impressive, but she can't believe that such a talent is being wasted on mere information leak prevention. Jerika says the pre-ceremony is being held so that everyone can relax, but with the look of things, it appears that the battle has already begun. Atticus then boldly says he is pretty sure that Kyoto will win again that year, but Silwyn cuts in, saying they were close to winning the year before. While the two are busy arguing about this, Jerika can't even say anything, since Allen Academy took last place the past year. Silwyn then tells Jerika that she heard about the issue that happened in the Magical Beast mountain range. She wants to know where the final is going to be held that year. Apparently, to let the students show their full strength, the finals are usually held in a forest far from the city. The chosen forest is prepared so that matches can proceed smoothly, and magic circles are placed to ward off beasts. Jerika then tells the two that the issue has been resolved and their staff, plus the Imperial Army, have finished preparing the area. He lets them know that they are going to hold the finals in the illusory forest just as they planned. What is left is to draw lots for preliminary matchups. The other two principals are glad to hear this, and they raise a toast to the success of the event. The following day, which is the preliminaries, the rules are announced. Apparently, each school has 10 participants in the prelims. However, Kyoto Magic School has 11 participants since they won the event the past year. Surprisingly, the students from the martial arts department are tired, and they all feel sleepy. However, they are trying their best to make sure that they don't sleep. Lucas wonders why they are all feeling sleepy, but doesn't even think too much about it. It turns out that the first match is going to be between Dian from Kyoto and Derek from Allen. Kai concludes that Derek is done for because his rotten luck puts him against Dian in his first match. However, Lucas thinks Derek might have a chance since Derek uses fire magic, and it is the direct opposite of what Dian uses. The fight starts, and Derek goes after Dian without holding back, but Dian doesn't even move an inch before pulling up an ice wall that stops Derek dead in his tracks. His fire goes off in an instant, and before he can even react, he gets knocked out by one strike from Dian. With this, Kyoto wins the first match of the preliminaries, and he expresses his disappointment at the level of talent they have at Allen Academy. When Lucas sees the level of strength that Dian possesses, he realizes that Julia doesn't stand a chance. The second match is between Aurora of Holy and Iwa of Allen. However, Iwa appears to be confident even though she is going up against Aurora, as she is willing to show everyone what she can do. The students from Holy Academy encourage Aurora, telling her to take Iwa down, and she subtly blushes while assuring them that she is going to win. The moment Aurora unleashes her fire magic, Iwa can sense just how much power she wields, but instead of being scared, she is actually eager to take Aurora on, just to prove her strength to everyone. Iwa taunts Aurora, telling her to stop acting all flashy and just come at her. Aurora waves her hand when she hears this, and this unleashes so much firepower that Iwa is forced to put up a barrier to protect herself. Aurora is impressed when she realizes that Iwa actually turned mental strength into a barrier. Aurora figures out that this is going to be fun for her and unleashes another wave of fire magic that sets everything around in flames. Iwa is forced to defend again, and Aurora rides her flames into the air, mocking Iwa. She says all she's been doing is defending, while asking her if she has no room to attack. Aurora unleashes another fire attack that hits Iwa so hard, forcing her to scream out in pain. With the fire taking over everything in the arena, Aurora concludes that it is over, but Iwa lets her know that she is wrong about this. Iwa's eyes suddenly turn cold as she tells Aurora that she is the one who is about to lose. Aurora suddenly gets hit with an overwhelming mental attack that leaves her screaming in pain. She stares down at Iwa, asking her how she is able to get to her, but Iwa continues increasing the tempo of her attack, telling Aurora that it is going to be hard for her to slip out of her mental attack. Just then, Iwa chokes Aurora, aiming to finish off the job, but suddenly Aurora smiles, telling Iwa that she was just messing around. Aurora breaks through Iwa's mental attack before releasing a powerful fire attack to overwhelm Iwa. Iwa screams in agony while asking Aurora how she was able to do it, since she is supposed to be trapped in her illusion domain. Iwa gets knocked to the ground, but witnessing the whole thing, Lucas could see that something was off. Initially, Aurora fell under Iwa's mental magic and she lost control, but Aurora suddenly broke free to turn the tables around. Aurora tells Iwa that she only played along with her game, and she mocks Iwa, saying she is full of herself, just as the rumors suggested. Aurora admits that she might have fallen for Iwa's magic if she hadn't seen it at the pre-festival. This is when Iwa realizes that Aurora actually noticed everything back then. With this, the second match is concluded, and Aurora comes out as the winner. After the match, Derek helps Iwa away from the arena, asking her how Aurora was able to break free from her mental magic. He believes that Aurora has mental magic too, but Iwa says this is impossible because one can only receive a blessing from a single god. This basically means no one can use more than one type of magic. However, she is pretty sure that Aurora is hiding something, and she urges Julia to be careful around her. Lucas, on the other hand, knows that if one trains their mind through martial arts, they build resistance to mental magic. This is how Julia was able to block Iwa's magic the other day when she attacked Julia. This leaves Lucas wondering if Aurora can also practice martial arts. Just then, Lucas starts to notice that the students from his department are low on energy, which is pretty weird. Greg notices that his plan is already working, and he smiles evilly. It turns out that if this persists, they are going to slowly lose their strength, and in the end, they are going to die. Soon afterward, it is time for the fifth match, which is between Julia and Tegan from Kyoto Academy. The moment the match begins, Julia unleashes her lightning magic, but Tegan manages to defend with his earth magic. He knows he would be defeated if he hadn't put his defense, which basically means he has to find a way to avoid clashing head-on with Julia. Just then, he surrounds himself with a giant wall, and Julia tries to break it down with lightning. The moment she does, she realizes that Tegan has disappeared underground. She is trying to figure out where he is when she is hit with a petrification spell that slows her movements. While staying underground, Tegan could sense that he's hit Julia already, and he believes that he has the match in the bag thanks to Julia's lack of combat experience. Tegan continues throwing attacks at Julia and even raises the ground where she stands before hitting her from multiple sides. Julia gets trapped between the rocks, causing her to lose her staff. The students freak out because if Julia loses, it is basically going to be the third loss in a row, which is pretty bad. Suddenly, the students notice that Julia is smiling, and before they know it, they see a big lightning ball coming together in the sky. Tegan freaks out when he sees this because there is no way Julia is able to cast magic in her current state. Julia ignores him, and before he knows it, the giant ball of lightning hits the ground, electrocuting the dude so hard that he starts calling for his mama. Julia's attack hits him so hard that he is forced to return to the surface, but he has already lost his strength. Tegan lies defeated on the ground, and Julia descends on him, telling him that she's actually been stockpiling magic before he hid. Tegan cannot believe that Julia already predicted that this would happen, even before the fight started. This is basically why she didn't dodge Tegan's attacks. Upon realizing all of these, Tegan has no choice but to admit defeat, and Julia is crowned the winner of the 5th match. With this, the matches for the day are concluded and the students from the Allen Academy finally see a glimmer of hope. However, they still believe that Aurora and Dian are stronger than Julia, since the fire and water elements are stronger than lightning. While everyone is celebrating with Julia, Julia suddenly receives a coded message from her brother, and that night she meets with her brother in the mountains. Julia wonders why her brother is calling her out so late in the night, and she wonders if he is there to praise her for doing so well in the prelims. Just then, Lucas asks Julia an important question with a straight face. He asks her if she would like to win the next match, which is the final. Julia simply replies that she would like to win, and Lucas pats her on the head for giving such a beautiful reply. However, he lets her know that if she goes up against Aurora or Dian with her current level, there is no way she is going to beat them. Lucas lets Julia know that the two actually outclass her in magic level and battle experience. Lucas tells her that Dian is the most dangerous because his resistance to magic is incredibly high, and this is the kind of strength that only comes from countless real fights. Lucas tells Julia that she uses lightning magic, which means hurting a hair on Dian's body is going to be really hard. Julia then asks her brother if he knows a way out, and he says he does, but lets her know that it is a pretty harsh one. Julia assures Lucas that she's willing to do whatever he wants as long as it means she's going to win. Since Julia is willing to go for it, Lucas tells her that it is time for the real training. Suddenly, Uru appears out of nowhere, knocking Julia to the ground, and just as she is getting back on her feet, she gets hit with a powerful ice wall. Julia looks up to see Lucas riding Uru, and Lucas tells her that he plans to make her stronger by taking her through a harsh environment. Lucas tells Julia that he is not going to hold back, and just then he unleashes massive ice shards at Julia, forcing her on the run. Julia screams out in fear, asking Lucas how he is able to use magic. Lucas explains that this is because he formed a contract with Uru. Apparently, when one makes a subordination contract with a high-ranking magical beast, one gets to the contracted beast's power as long as they are touching the beast. Lucas reveals that Uru is a level 6 beast that can control both fire and ice, and by combining it with his own power, the power shoots beyond incomparable numbers. Before Julia knows it, she finds herself getting stomped on by her brother. Even Uru urges Lucas to go easy on Julia, and Lucas assures Uru that he is actually holding back. Lucas urges Julia to hurry up and build up resistance to ice magic because if she doesn't, she is going to freeze to death. Julia unleashes her power, telling her brother that she is going to show him what she can do, while reminding him that she is called a genius for a reason. Julia breaks through the ice shard that Lucas placed around her, but just as she is celebrating this, a giant ice maze appears around her to trap her in. Julia screams out in pain, but Lucas lets her know that he is not even done yet. Lucas tells Julia that she has to find a way out, or she dies. Just as she breaks free, she finds her brother already waiting for her. She gets hit again, forcing her to unleash a huge amount of magical power. It soon turns into a beat around between Uru and Julia. At some point, Uru runs out of magical power, and Julia thanks her stars, believing that it is already over. However, Lucas feeds Julia and Uru recovery pills so that they can return to training, while telling the two that they have not even started. Before Uru knows it, it is already begging just as Julia is begging. Some hours later, Iwa wakes up to notice that Julia is not in the room. She is still wondering where Julia went without saying a word when Julia appears in the hall lobby, looking totally battered. She can barely stand, and this is thanks to her staff, coming in as a walking stick. She crashes to the ground, and Iwa rushes to her aid while asking her who beat her up. She faintly replies that it is nothing serious because she was only training for the finals. Iwa carries her into the room, and Julia reveals that her brother has assured her that she now has 200% resistance to ice magic. Iwa cannot believe that Lucas put Julia through so much training ordeal when he knows that the final is the next day. Julia subtly tells Iwa that it is fine because this only means that she is going to win the next day. In fact, she is willing to make her opponent feel every bit of suffering that she went through, and Iwa freaks out because she looks like a battle addict while saying this. The following day, which is the Goddess Memorial Festival Finals, Holy Academy currently has 2 points, Kyoto Academy has 2 points, and Allen Academy has 1 point. Basically, in the finals, each school sends out one representative. The final is also held in a special domain so that one can cast magic freely without worrying about the surroundings. Once the principal is done with preparations, he tells the representatives that they can enter the arena through the magic circle. Dian confidently steps in, saying he is going to win with overwhelming strength. Aurora cannot believe just how cocky the dude is, but this makes her want to fight him even more. On the other hand, Julia looks like she is still sleepy, and the other students assume that she can't win, which is why she doesn't care about what happens. The martial arts students also believe this, and this earns them a painful knock on the head from Lucas. Apparently, after training, Lucas and Uru even had to soak in medicinal baths for half a day just to recover, showing how brutal the training was. Julia, on the other hand, drank a healing potion but still slept through the entire day. However, none of his friends know this, and since they have been acting weird, Lucas decides to give them some tonic pills. Aiwa is also worried that Julia is not fine because she slept throughout the day before, but Julia assures her that she is fine. Aiwa then hands her bunny before she enters the arena. Julia thanks Aiwa for the help, revealing that she forgot it in the dorm when she went for mountain training. She has said it before she realizes that she is not supposed to say anything about it. However, further efforts from Aiwa to hear more prove futile. Moments after giving his friends the tonic pills, they recover their strength, and they start cheering for Julia. Julia thanks them as she prepares to step into the battle zone, but Aiwa is left wondering what Lucas had done to Julia. Aiwa pats Julia on the head, telling her not to overexert herself because even if she doesn't win, it doesn't mean she is not exceptional. However, Julia assures Aiwa that she is definitely going to win. The moment she steps into the arena, she is transported to a random location just like the other representatives. Julia remembers that Lucas told her to hide first until Dian and Aurora have fought so she can conserve her strength. Julia then decides to do exactly this, but suddenly Aurora notices her presence behind a tree. Julia freaks out when this happens, and the spectators already believe that a fight is going to happen between the two. While everyone else is worrying that they are about to fight, Lucas appears calm, as if he knows something that they don't. Moments later, Aurora backs off after seeing nothing, which is pretty weird to her because she's pretty sure she heard someone behind the tree. Suddenly, she spots an ice attack in the distance and immediately figures out Dian's location. She is not surprised, since Dian is the only one who will confidently announce his location. Aurora then heads in Dian's direction, and Julia finally resurfaces from her hiding spot. Everyone is stunned when they see Julia appear out of nowhere, leaving them to wonder what sort of magic she just used. Lucas just laughs this off because he has already seen her use it before. Apparently, it happened during their training. Julia was so frustrated that she wished that she could disappear. Out of that frustration, she is able to conjure a spell that suppresses her presence. However, this didn't really help her against Lucas because he is able to find her and drag her back. Lucas is glad that things are going according to plan because it is going to be Aurora versus Dian first. Then, whoever wins will fight Julia. A fierce battle soon ensues between the two, and they are surprised that Julia is hiding out. Dian confidently tells Aurora that he was expecting a 2 versus 1 because he wanted to take them both down at the same time. Nonetheless, he decides that he is just going to wrap things up pretty fast. The two go head-to-head, lunging at each other with immense power. This is when the spectators realize that these two were actually holding back in the prelims. They notice that Dian also fights up close like a martial artist, which prevents him from having any openings to his opponent. Basically, Dian chose the path of a mage since it had more room for growth, but he also trains in both martial arts and magic, so he can get stronger. Lucas is impressed with Dian's method because he is seeking strength without being picky about methods, which is the right mindset. Lucas wishes everyone is like Dian so that martial arts wouldn't get bad treatment. Kai then asks Lucas who he thinks is going to win, and Lucas says that based on pure strength, it might be Dian. However, Aiwa appears out of nowhere, saying Lucas might be wrong with his perception because she believes that Aurora is still holding back a trump card. Kai almost freezes to death when Aiwa suddenly shows up on the scene. Seconds later, the match is decided with Dian beating Aurora up, ultimately defeating her. Kai teases Aiwa, telling her that she was wrong. Just then, Julia shows up on the scene just as planned. Julia asks Dian if he really defeated Aurora, and Dian confidently reveals that his ice magic is the strongest in the world, which means there is no way he is not winning the festival. Dian then unleashes a powerful attack, aiming to end the fight with one shot, but Julia puts up a lightning shield to protect herself. She also dashes backward at lightning speed to try to reduce the impact of Dian's attack. Before she knows it, Dian appears behind her, unleashing a powerful ice attack that puts Julia on the back foot. However, she is not entirely threatened by Dian's movements, because compared to Lucas's movements during training, Dian is actually slow. Dian is pissed that all Julia can do is run away, and before Julia knows it, several magic circles appear all around her. A giant ice tower emerges in front of her with Dian standing tall on the tower, telling Julia that he intentionally picked a spot with lots of groundwater for something like this. The ring on his finger glows bright as he unleashes his power to show Julia what it means to be the top student in Kyoto Academy. A giant ice spear dives toward Julia's direction, and Dian believes that Julia is done for, but Julia is able to block the attack with her lightning spell, even though she is straining. Even Dian is surprised that she is able to block the attack, and he admits that she is moving better than she did in the prelims. After successfully diverting the trajectory of the attack, Julia taunts Dian by flicking her tongue at him. Julia then looks to put some distance between herself and Dian, but to her surprise, the ice has spread across the whole area. Before she knows it, she gets hit by another surprise attack, but she still manages to block it to prevent any major damage to herself. However, Dian's attacks are so overwhelming that she finds herself blocking ice attacks from all directions. Dian holds all the cards in his hands as he confidently tells the struggling Julia that he is going to freeze her down to her soul. Julia is knocked to the ground and the spectators panic, but Lucas remains calm. He knows that Dian is pretty powerful, which is why he boosted Julia's resistance to ice magic to 200%. He is pretty sure that there is no way Dian's freezing attacks will shut down Julia's counterattacks. Dian is surprised that his cold attacks are not getting to her, which means she came into the battle really prepared. However, he doesn't care because this only makes it even more fun for him. He teases Julia, saying he loves seeing a weak girl like her suffer and struggle alone. Dian freezes the entire area with his magic, turning it into a cold wasteland. As if this is not enough, Dian unleashes ice golems to attack Julia, but Julia remains mentally strong. She conjures a powerful lightning attack, which she aims at the tower and the surroundings to destroy the golems and the tower. Even Dian is forced to run to avoid getting hit, and he commends Julia, telling her that she is putting up a good fight. However, Julia's efforts appear to be in vain as the golems regenerate again. Julia doesn't give up as she surrounds herself with lightning spheres to keep the golems away, while chipping them down. However, this beats down Julia's strength, and Kai cannot believe how shameless Dian is to be using ice golems against Julia. Lucas then tells Kai that this is exactly why Julia stayed hidden until Dian had fought Aurora, because she wanted him to drain a bit of his magic. When Kai hears this, he realizes that Lucas is hinting that Julia can still win. However, Aiwa is worried, since she is not seeing a possibility of Julia winning. The entire area has turned into ice, and Julia is being hit with cold from all directions. The moment Julia notices that the ice golems are regenerating more slowly, she teases Dian, asking him if he is not already running low on magic power. Dian is forced to admit that Julia is stronger than he expected, but he tells her that there is nothing she can do again because she is going to get crushed no matter what. Dian descends to the ground, and he prepares for one final attack to finish the fight. Dian then creates a freezing zone to whittle down Julia's strength, assuring her that there is no escaping this. Dian teases her, telling her that all of her efforts are about to go to waste, and he can't wait to see the look of despair on her face. The ice golems start chasing Julia around, but Julia is able to dodge the attacks because Dian has gotten slower. Julia can see that the dude is already running low on magic power, but he is still forcing himself to maintain the extreme cold field. Julia soon unleashes a powerful lightning attack to hit Dian's main golem. Dian confidently stands as the lightning travels toward him because he is pretty sure that ice can block lightning. Julia lets him know that he is wrong because lightning only fails to pierce ice when the lightning isn't strong enough. However, if the lightning is truly powerful, even ice won't be able to stop it. Julia proves this to him by releasing so much lightning power that it covers the entire area. Dian can sense how dangerous it is, and he realizes that he has to get out of the ice field before his ice armor shatters so he doesn't get hurt. Just then, he sees an opening to go after Julia, but before he knows it, a lightning sphere appears before him. Julia then tells him that he has no escape route because, inside an electromagnetic field, lightning magic actually gets even stronger. Julia unleashes so much magical power that it courses through Dian's body, causing him to scream in agony. The spectators are left in total shock because what they are watching doesn't even look like a fight between two freshmen. Even one of Jeremy's friends is forced to ask him if this is the type of lightning that Julia drops on him, but Jeremy is so stunned to even speak. Back in the arena, Dian is knocked to the ground and is totally exhausted. Julia smiles because she cannot believe that she just won. She walks over to where Dian is, asking him if he is fine. Dian is left thinking about how embarrassing it is going to be to face his sister and tell her that he didn't win. However, knowing his sister really well, he knows she is not going to take defeat as a result, and he has to win, even if it costs him his life. Apparently, any injury one takes in the arena shows up on the real body, and Julia is blown away that Dian was able to take the full power of her lightning head-on without passing out. Suddenly, Julia notices that ice is forming around her feet, and before she realizes it, Dian is back on his feet. Dian looks totally different as he tells Julia that he has also built up resistance to lightning. Dian's eyes turn faint red as he dashes toward Julia, screaming that he is not a weakling who is going to be taken down by little lightning. Julia is forced to retreat, but before she knows it, Dian appears behind her. She is only able to react at the last second to dodge Dian's attack. Dian totally loses himself to his power as his appearance starts to change, and he tells Julia that he is going to finish the fight with his next attack. Julia finds herself straining against Dian's overwhelming strength, leaving her to wonder where Dian got his new strength from because he clearly burned through his magic. Dian continues dashing toward Julia even though all of his body is already burned by lightning. Julia grits her teeth in pain because the cold from Dian's attacks is even worse than before. This leaves Julia wondering how the hell she is supposed to beat Dian. Even though he looks really tough and dangerous at the moment, Julia knows that Dian is already nearing his limit. Julia is not worried since she knows that Lucas has never misjudged an enemy's strength. With this, Julia prepares to put herself into it so she doesn't get overwhelmed. Dian dashes toward her, but she stands firm while cooking up a lightning attack. Dian gets close enough and launches an ice attack at Julia that gets partially repelled. And before he knows it, Julia's staff hits him on the cheek, passing a lightning strike into his body. Julia lets him know that what she just hit him with is a condensed strike with all of her lightning, which is 10 times stronger than anything she's used so far. With half of her face covered in ice, she tells Dian that he is incredibly strong, but she assures him that he is going to be the one to win this time around. Just as Dian is about to dispute this, he gets hit with so much lightning power that it depletes his energy, and he crashes to his knees in exhaustion. Julia smiles because it is finally over, but she knows that she wouldn't have had a chance against Dian if she hadn't trained with Lucas. Suddenly, Dian gets hit with a fire spell that knocks him to the ground. Aurora appears out of nowhere, talking about how relieved she is that Dian has finally been defeated, while admitting that he is a ridiculously stubborn dude. Aiwa panics, but she is not entirely surprised because she knew there was no way Aurora lost to Dian. Since Lucas appears to be wrong, she wonders what he plans to do in this situation. Surprisingly, Julia doesn't look shocked because Lucas had already told her that there might be a worst-case scenario. Aurora starts yapping, asking Julia if she is not curious about how she tricked Dian and hid herself. Julia admits that she is curious, but she wants to know if Aurora is really going to tell her without holding anything back. Aurora smiles when she hears this, and she reaches into her chest. Julia believes that she is about to strip, and she yells at her, telling her that this is not what she meant. Aurora tells her that it is not what she thinks and then whips out a red crystal pendant, which she calls Roral's Promise. She tells Julia that this is her secret, and as long as she is wearing it, mental attacks don't work on her. In fact, she uses the magic inside the pendant to control enemies with mental magic. However, the only downside is that once she fully drains the pendant's magic, it cannot be used again for a whole day. This is when Julia realizes that Aurora used this to make Dian think she lost, and then she proceeds to hide herself. Julia also figures out that this is why Aiwa's mental magic couldn't touch her. Aurora says Dian's mental strength is quite overwhelming, and it ended up draining the pendant's magic in one shot. Julia then tells Aurora that at their current level, it doesn't matter what methods they use as long as they win. Just then, Aurora returns to the main thing, telling Julia that she wants her to forfeit the match because she barely has any magic left, and there is no way she is going to fight, which is why she was willing to even tell her secret. Aurora continues yapping, but Julia sends a little attack her way to let her know that she is not ready to take her offer. Aurora is surprised that Julia is not backing down, and Julia lets her know that they will never know whether she can still or not until she tries. Aurora then decides to fight Julia, since this is what she wants. Before Julia knows it, a giant magic circle appears under her feet, and seeing the crazy power in the magic, she immediately activates her speed attack to get away from the point of impact. However, Aurora's fire catches up to her in no time while teasing her that she just wants to warm her up since she was frozen earlier on. The fire attacks get even more intense, burning Julia really hard. During their training session, Lucas had told Julia to keep some magic in reserve just in case, since they don't know what Aurora is capable of. However, Julia barely has any magic left after the last attack on Dian. Julia finds herself getting thrown around by Aurora's fire tornado while she teases her, urging her to give up. Aurora confidently tells Julia that she can't even run anymore, not to mention launching an attack. Just then, Aurora notices lightning brewing in the tornado. Julia tells Aurora that she is right, that she is exhausted, but if she uses the force of her own magic, she can still attack. A big lightning strike emerges from the tornado, hitting Aurora, but Julia doesn't stop there as she uses the melted water from Dian's ice magic to widen her attack range. Aurora gets hit hard, but she confidently tells Julia that this level of lightning is not enough to take her down. Suddenly, Julia takes another turn, telling Aurora that what she just hit her with was an attack meant to buy time because she is now going to hit her with every bit of magic left to finish the fight. Aurora reminds Julia that an explosion occurs when lightning and fire collide, which means Julia is in the most danger since she is inside the Phoenix tornado. As the attack hits, it leaves a big explosion that sends Julia tumbling down the distance with her bunny falling out of her hand while she coughs up blood. Julia lies down exhausted, wondering if her plan worked, but the smoke clears off and she can see a wounded Aurora in the distance. Aurora admits that it was close, and she is impressed that Julia is even ready to throw her life away just like that, showing how insane she is. Aurora gets back on her feet and unleashes a powerful fire attack aimed at Julia to finish the job. Even Lucas freaks out when he sees this because he believes that it is over. As the fire travels toward Julia's direction, she is left wondering if she is really going to die after how hard she worked. Suddenly, the bunny's eyes glow bright while asking Julia if she wants to win. Just as the attack is about to hit, a surge of lightning emerges, hitting it halfway, resulting in an explosion. Aurora believes that it is over until she sees Julia standing at a distance with lightning surging through her body. Aurora is left totally shocked as she can't believe what is happening right in front of her. Just then, Julia casts a really powerful advanced spell without even chanting anything. This releases an overwhelming amount of lightning magic that hits Aurora so hard that it almost shreds her down to her bones. Even those who are outside the arena are left in complete shock at how crazy Julia's power is. The principals have no choice but to admit that the 3 contestants actually showed strength far beyond what they expected. Silwan says they might have to delay the award ceremony because of the level of destruction, and Jarika tells the 2 that he has a proposal. He suggests that they grant the trio the right to an audience with the goddess, since it appears that the trio will be the pillar of the empire in the future. Some hours later, the students gather in the hall for the ceremony. Jarika reveals that Julia has set a new record as the youngest winner in the history of the Goddess Memorial. Dian is forced to admit Julia's strength even though he lost, but he promises that he is not going to lose next time. Aurora teases him, saying he is already talking about next time. Aurora drags Julia closer, hugging her, while telling her that she can always call on her if she needs a sparring partner instead of Dian. Aurora is amazed by Julia's brilliance because not many girls surpass her in every way. However, Julia is not about to let Dian hold any grudge as she finds a way to taunt him. Before the trio knows it, they are already getting along. Not long after this, the prize presentation takes place, and the principal of each school is asked to come to the stage. Surprisingly, the prize given to the trio contains the emblem that lets one enter the temple of the goddess of wisdom. This is unusual since the emblem is only given to the champion. Jarika says all 3 of them showed exceptional performances, and after careful discussion, they decided to grant the trio the right to an audience with the goddess. The other 2 principals are stunned that Jarika, the winning principal, is the one who suggested this. But since they don't know what he is planning and they can't throw away a golden opportunity, they gladly take it. Julia tells Aurora and Dian that they have to get along together, since they will now be companions visiting the temple together. Kai soon notices that Lucas looks worried, even though his sister just won. He challenges him on this, and Lucas claims that he is only lost in thought because he was thinking of what to give Julia as a reward. Iwa scolds Lucas, saying he should call it compensation and not a reward because, thanks to him, Julia almost died before the main event. Lucas then says he plans to give Julia good food, and after this he is going to let her soak and recover slowly in a spirit spring. Collins reminds Lucas that the closest spirit spring to Dacktown is a full day's round trip, and Lucas admits that this is going to be a problem. Lucas wishes that there was somewhere with good food and a spirit spring. Just then, Kai replies that there actually is, and he reveals that at House Taroy they have an incredibly effective spirit spring, and excellent chefs. In fact, his estate is big enough to invite the whole class. Kai immediately suggests that they all come to his house, and he dashes off to tell Teshi. While Kai and Teshi are busy discussing, Lucas is left wondering just when the 2 became so close. Soon afterward, the group arrives at the Taroy estate, and they are welcomed by the maids. Collins and the others are blown away because the house is so big it looks like a castle. Kai boastfully tells them to chill out while urging them to soak in the spirit spring before dinner. The group is led to where the spring is, but Lucas notices something strange in the hall. There is a portrait on the wall that feels like someone is watching them. Before Kai can join them, he learns that his parents are calling for him. Later on, the maid mixed up Julia and Iwa's bathrobe, giving Iwa a hot look, while Julia looked like she was thrown into the robe. As Kai steps into his father's office, he can perceive cigarettes everywhere, and he figures out that something has happened. His father then tells him that his grades at school are pretty okay, but this is not the reason why he called him. He tells Kai to inform his friends not to cause any trouble because they might be receiving an important guest later. Kai acknowledges this, and deep down he is relieved that his father didn't call him to scold him about the mess he caused at school. At the same time, he doesn't understand why his father and mother are worried when his friends are just there to soak in the spirit spring. Meanwhile, the purple-headed maid who mixed up the robes is already thanking Julia and Iwa for forgiving her. She knows that she would have been fired if her master had found out about what happened. Julia urges her not to worry about it and then asks Iwa when she plans to enter the spring. Iwa claims she is only going to enter when the maid leaves because she doesn't like anyone nearby in the bath unless it is someone she really trusts. Just then, Mina and the squad show up on the scene without prior notice. Julia jumps in excitement when she sees them, and Iwa immediately jumps into the pool. She stays beside Julia while wondering if they rushed over to grab the spot next to her. They all get in the pool to soak, and the maid even brings snacks for them. It turns out that Julia was the one who invited them, and while discussing with her friends, she makes mention of her big brother Lucas. The maid then asks Julia if she has a big brother, and she confirms this, saying he is the kindest big brother in the whole world. Iwa disagrees with her, saying Lucas just put her through some hellish training some days before. Julia forces Maya to say something, and Maya has no choice but to say Lucas is a wonderful person. Even though Maya is praising him, Iwa still doesn't want to agree that Lucas is cool. Mina cuts in, saying Lucas is not a bad person whatsoever, but he is overprotective of his sister. While the group is busy arguing about whatnots, the purple-headed maid stands in the distance, staring at them intently. Teshi is the first to get out of the spring to change, and just after changing, she runs into Kai. Kai almost dies from blushing when Teshi moves closer to him, telling him to take her to where he usually trains. With his face red like a tomato, he tells her to follow him. Kai is left wondering what Teshi wants to know about him, but little does he know that Teshi is just curious about the estate's training ground. Meanwhile, on the boys' side, they are also having fun. Everyone except Lucas soon leaves the spring to play cards. Being in the pool reminds Lucas of his past life and how he was bullied every time by his colleagues. Just remembering this causes Lucas to punch the spring's floor, leaving a crack in it. The purple-headed maid rushes into the room, asking Lucas if everything is fine because she heard a loud noise. Lucas subtly replies, lying that his hand only slipped. The maid then rushes into the pool, telling Lucas that she is going to help him with his injuries. Before Lucas can tell her that this is not necessary, she is already in the pool with him, saying she is going to be fired if she doesn't do her job properly. This leaves Lucas wondering if the Turoi house is really strict with its servants. Since she is already in the spring, Lucas tells her to do whatever she wants to. The maid then grabs Lucas from behind and starts saying gibberish. She massages his arm while talking about how good they are because he is a martial artist. While she is talking, she mentions Julia's name, saying she enjoyed her company. The moment she says this, the mood changes, and Lucas enters his crazy persona. The maid imagines a giant hand trying to grab her, while Lucas asks her what she's done to his sister. Before Lucas can grab her, she leaps out of the water, and Lucas immediately figures out that she is a martial artist, since her movements have nothing to do with being a maid. Lucas also leaps out of the water, and as he prepares to engage her, he asks her what she is doing in House Taroi. The maid walks to where the towels are kept, claiming that she is just a poor martial artist working for money and nothing more. The maid then tells Lucas that she's heard about how incredible he is from Julia and the others. She admits that she is a fellow martial artist, and because of this, she deeply admires Lucas. She then hurls towels at Lucas, telling him that she came there to see his skills with her own eyes. She follows the cover of the towels to close down on Lucas, but he easily dodges her attacks, while saying he actually didn't feel any killing intent from her when she snuck up on him earlier. As the two draw closer to each other, Lucas asks her what it is that she sees in him. Lucas punches her backwards, and she reveals that she is interested in him because she heard that he is strong. The lady then turns the towels into a whip to attack Lucas, but he easily blocks the attack with just one arm. She wraps the towel around his arm and tries to pull him, but she gets pulled instead. Lucas then hits her on the face with the towel, knocking her to the ground. Lucas walks up to her, trying to understand who she is, but can't even recognize her from anywhere. Just then, he hears Kai from outside, asking Lucas if he is still in the spring. This is when it dawns on Lucas that he can actually subdue the lady until Kai enters, so he can ask him who she is. Lucas grabs her, but she tells Lucas that they will have to continue their play another time. Lucas tells her that there is no way he is letting her go, but before he can knock her out, a strange magic comes into play, and she vanishes. Lucas is wondering what just happened when Kai enters the room, yelling at Lucas, telling him that it is time to eat before Julia finishes everything. Lucas defends his sister, saying she is not a glutton, but Kai argues, saying everyone around her turns her into a glutton. Basically, Iwa and the others are fond of spoiling her with sweets, and Julia is not one to reject. In a sudden turn of events, the purple-haired lady is seen in one of the guest rooms putting on a mask, which is the same as the one the lady who arrived at the festival was wearing. Kai's parents enter the room, and they address her as the Saint Princess while asking her what the hell she is doing. She romantically shushes them while telling them that what just happened that day is going to be their little secret. Some days later, the students gathered to send off the 3 students who would be going to the goddess temple. The whole area is bubbling with a crowd until Jirika shows up, telling them to keep quiet. He makes his speech while revealing the origin of the goddess of the Memorial Festival, which has given many talented students the right to stand before the goddess. He lets everyone know that Julia, Dian, and Aurora will be heading to the temple. However, there is something this year, and this is the fact that they won't be going with a teacher escort, even though the road to the temple is filled with danger. Jirika conjures a small bird with his magic and hands it over to Julia, telling her that it is going to lead them to the temple. Because of how plump the bird is, Julia is already thinking of keeping it for emergency rations. Jirika then tells everyone to offer their prayers as the trio departs. Maya and the others hold a silent prayer for them, praying that they return safely and bring greater glory to their school's names. As they leave, Julia thanks their well-wishers while promising to return safely. As they leave, Jirika tells the students to return to their classes. Kai walks over to Lucas, saying it is pretty sad that they are not assigning an escort for the trio. Collins and Sharp also say it will be bad if something evil happens to the trio. Lucas is surprised that his friends are all saying all sorts of negative things, and they try to apologize, saying they didn't mean it. Lucas remembers that his friends were in a similar condition some time ago, so he had them take the pills. However, it appears that the symptoms are back, and he figures out that he has to look into whatever it is that is happening to them. However, before that, there is something important that he has to take care of. Later on, Julia and her companions are steadily making their way away from the school when Dian notices something strange approaching them. Without hesitation, he immediately puts up an ice shield to block the projectile, which turns out to be a stick. Julia assesses it and says it is weird because it doesn't look like a weapon for ambushes. Aurora teases Dian, saying he is so sweet because a small stick is enough for him to worry. Julia notices that the end of the stick is actually scorched. At the same time, Lucas finally catches up to the trio and he maintains his stealthy presence in building roofs. Apparently, he had left a cloning class to attend his lectures for him. It was this clone that punched off the stick while he was training. It turns out that the clone only has about 10% of his actual power. Back at the academy, Sigult is watching the clone train, and he is surprised that Lucas lost control by punching off a stick from the training dummy, which has never happened before. At the same time, Lucas feels something strange happened during the finals because there is a strange presence residing in Julia's dummy that he doesn't recognize.